We'll take a second. We can like tweet everything out and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. One person's in here. Who do you think it is? Is
Live.
it me?
It's the Chief, Ben C.
Yeah, Ben C. Is he in here? Ben C,
chef.
give us a shout when you're in. The chef.
Oh,
Will Knight, first one in. There come the boys. Oh, there they come. Let's go. This is great.
I'm closing the chat so I don't get spoiled on picks.
Yeah, that's true. We are gonna have to. We'll tell them that when they come in. We can keep it open during the. We'll take questions during the pre, I guess, show. Right.
Good point.
Let's let me tweet this out.
These links.
Yeah, let's get our links out there. Okay. I guess I'm gonna have to unpin something. All my stuff's pinned right now.
This is great broadcasting. I'm proud of us.
Yeah. Oh, here we go, Zachary. Here we go. Adam says we in here. The people. Yes, Oliver Inwards is in here. Nacho's in here. Zachary's in here. Oh, let's go.
Gotta know what the drink situation is, what the snack situation is.
Let's go, Matt. Matt says, let's go, boys. Hope you've got the beer on ice and at the ready. Need Drunk Ollie for picks 25 plus.
It's happening, people.
Oh, it's going to be great. It's going to be great.
John can let me know at what stage I'm allowed to become unprofessional and have a couple of beverages during the draft order.
There you go. Now is fine. If anybody has any questions as y'all are getting into the chat, let us know. Just blast out any questions you have. We probably will close the chat, and I'll say this a couple times. We'll probably close the chat in case anybody is kind of tipping picks in the chat, which is, if you guys are cool with that, fine. I'm not going to monitor the chat. I can't do that and be live. But if in case anyone's tipping the picks in the lot, we want to actually react live to actually watching the picks on TV and not seeing anything at a time. So we're going no phones, no anything. So we will probably be behind what you already know if you're following along on TV or something like that, or not following along on TV, following along on social media or something like that. But we're just going live off the actual TV reaction to each pick. That's kind of our plan. That's how we want to do it. And if people want to find out things ahead of time, go for it. But, if you're in the chat, I would love for you not to post it in, but we're actually going to close the chat in case anybody does do that in here. We don't want to have to see it and then it spoil things for our reactions. So that's the plan, just so you know. But if there is any questions from anybody in the chat, I always see you, Thomas. If there's any questions from anybody in the chat, let it fly, and we'll happy to answer any of those as we get here for about 25 minutes until the first round gets underway, probably about an hour before the first pick is announced, right, Ollie?
Yeah, currently watching Mike Vrabel give a very somber press conference an hour before he has to decide the future of the organization he's supposed to be leading and running. Looks like he's not slept in 7 weeks, which would make sense.
I'm going to tweet out this link here.
Real background for John. That is a real Look how much better John's background is than mine. Grade the backgrounds. John's A+, 10 out of 10. Mine 5 to 6.
Listen, my wife, Britt, does like flower walls for events and things like that. That's kind of her deal, and she has a business doing all that kind of stuff. So this is actually, if I were to able to zoom out, you would be able to see like this is an actual like one of her greenery walls that she uses for events behind me. And today she kindly texted me and asked, "Hey, would you want this set up for tonight?" And I was like, "Look, she's been running around to a million different things too, and still found time to set this up for me." So shout out, Britt, absolute legend.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable. We say, hey, let's do a live broadcast for the draft. You have a set designer in-house.
Yep.
Designs a set for you. I'm there putting the big board together, crunching right until the draft begins. You got set designs everywhere.
I truly do have a set designer in home, and yet my background is typically what it is, which tells you everything you need to know about me and where my priorities are. Every second's fed on the tape and on the content. Okay, let's get to some of the questions as they pop up in the chat. But first, Ollie, I wanted to start this as we've got now 56 people in here and people are kind of filtering in slowly and steadily here. I want to jump into talking about just the second pick because there's so much discourse about the second pick. And I think I was on a show in, I think it was Canada. I don't even know where I was on a show for, but it was like an hour ago, and they told me on the show Arvell Reese's odds to become the second pick have increased recently. And so I don't follow betting odds, so I actually haven't even checked that myself. That's what they told me. I'm What is kind of your thought process as it relates to the second pick right now?
I still think it's going to be Arvell Reese. Understand that all the national insiders are still saying David Bailey, and I think that the betting odds they usually track with what the national insiders are saying. It's not that they have any greater intel than anyone else. I don't think Darren Muji is on the phone to Vegas to give them a tip of the pick. I still just think if you look at the system Aaron Glenn wants to run, the player profile of how Arvell Reese plays, you factor in the lack of the 30 visit, you factor in that David Bailey didn't appear to know the GM's name. Um, you
Yeah.
factor in the timeline for the Jets, all that still just stacks up to me that the logical selection is Arvell Reese. Now, would it be the Jetsiest thing ever to draft a player who they did not meet with, who has some maybe background stuff they should have probably checked in on, and draft a player who doesn't seem to know where the team plays or who is going to be signing the paychecks? That would be the most Jetsiest thing ever. But it's the first pivot point of what's going to be a fun night.
No doubt. I mean, I think that there was a couple things that you said that I completely resonate with. The other part of this that's interesting is, and to me, I asked you earlier today, are we overcomplicating it?
Mhm.
Is the reality that Arvell Reese is just more of an Aaron Glenn type of player? Like I keep coming back to that on. I can't escape that. Just that Arvell Reese just seems like he's wired like a guy that Aaron Glenn would want to coach and want to be. And so everything that Arvell Reese says, Aaron Glenn told me I'm part of the solution here. He laid out for me how he wants me here and how I fit into the team and with the defense and everything that we do. And then Bailey's got his visit canceled. It just seems like Aaron Glenn found who his guy was. This is probably a make it or break it year was how bad they were. I mean, they need to at least show improvement, not a make it or break it year in the way that some coaches have it. His hot seat is like, can I get to 6 wins?
Yeah.
Probably. But if I think he's going to know that this pick he's going to be tied to. Are you going to want a guy with absolutely zero questions? I think there's zero questions, in my opinion, about Arvell Reese. Certainly not in the way he's wired. Or are you going to, like, when you call Ohio State's coaching staff and you hear them talk about Arvell Reese, I just think Aaron Glenn's going to be compelled by that. I think that matters a lot to him at the end of the day.
I agree with you. I think the question is, you said his hot seat is 6 wins. It might be 6 weeks. And it seems like their messaging is, although we completely disagree with this concept of, hey, Bailey, you know what you're getting with Reese, maybe a bit more with the versatility of the play, you don't quite know what you're getting. We disagree with that. Maybe they do buy into that. And they're like, well, if we can prove that this guy can get 3 sacks by week 7, we hold on to our jobs until the
Yeah.
end of the season. So I wouldn't completely discount that being the logic. I don't see it personally. I have it graded out going into night one that I have Caleb Downs as the number one player in the draft class. I have Arvell Reese second. Their grade is essentially neck and neck. There is nothing to really put between the two. Just go and take the best player in the draft who can actually fill in at multiple spots for you, correct issues along your defensive front. You're a coach who lives and breathes defensive front structure tied to coverage. This is a guy who can fix a whole bunch of problems for you. I'd rather have that than just the outside swooping all gas guy to try and rebuild my defense. There will be more all gas, all speed pass rushes coming in the next 2 and 3 drafts, and they have all the ammunition to go and do that in future seasons. I don't think Arvell Reese is going to be coming out of the draft in the next couple of seasons.
Yeah, I think you're just trying to get one of the most special players. You just don't have a lot of those in New York, and you just traded one of them, traded 2 of them actually in the last draft. So you need to restart on the special player front, and you've got an opportunity to do that. Obviously, they may see Bailey as that too, and I think we can discuss that more maybe when the time comes, just when we know what the pick is. But let's get to some of the people's comments in the class here. Oliver says, if the Jets actually select Bailey and all this leak stuff is true and they canceled the top 30 visit, they are dumber than we thought. Yeah, I mean, not getting the intel you need before you make the pick, I would think. I mean, even if you're just like, well, we got it from another way. This is the second overall pick in the draft. Like, it just feels like it matters a lot, and you better get it right. And I have real skepticism that you wouldn't want to go through more of an interview process. So I think it's a really good point by Oliver in that regard.
The intel they appear to have gathered is that they were cool with Texas Tech. Going back to Stanford is where there's maybe more of the question marks and concerns, and that they feel they have great information because of Frank Reich and his ties to that program. They did not overlap at Stanford when Frank Reich was the coach there, but they got real good ties to be able to figure that stuff out without having to sit down and maybe go through the BS of a guy going through the interview with them. Still, you're investing the second overall pick. What is the harm in an extra visit just to find out That to me just feels slightly like corporate malpractice to put that kind of investment in someone and not have and to cancel a visit with them.
I'm seeing some of these comments now about the backdrop behind me. Is that a well-trimmed hedge or astroturf? Fake trees or real trees?
Britt once again, the
Yes.
star of the Read Optional podcast.
That's right. Jacob says, or Tom says, I thought John was broadcasting from the outfield of Wrigley Field. Will's going to be having an Austrian white wine tonight. I just have water in here. I would just like it to be known. You're going to see me drinking from this often. And at some point, I may get up and actually have to refill it because we're going to be live for the entire first round, breaking down every single pick with y'all and how it all fits into the grand scheme of things in the league right now. So
people do really want me to drink. It's interesting. And I gotta be professional. I gotta do the show. The podcast is gonna go out. People are gonna listen. I have to write after the draft. But why don't we say the first time a tier 2 player? Oh, that doesn't work because of Varvel Reese. The first time a tier 3 player on my board goes in the draft, I'll open the first beer.
You've got to chug one. Oh, just a sip. Oh, okay.
We'll just go from there. That could be like the 4th overall pick. So we'll find out.
That's true. That's just based on your board. You're saying
on my board, based on my board.
Okay. Somebody asked today, did Derek get a clarification on which Tennessee cornerback that text was about? Oh, I'm sure you haven't heard this, but earlier today when I was on with Derek Bell and we were previewing the Steelers pick in this draft, he got a text and it had some intel and he shared that intel on the podcast with us. And it went through like the players that the Steelers kind of like valued a lot. And then he said, the Tennessee corner. And we were like, wait, which Tennessee corner?
Oh.
This is very important. This is critically important. And when we were on the show, he still had not gotten a follow-up text. So I will ask AJ, I will text Derek right now and ask any follow-up on the Tennessee corner. And if he's cool, I'll share it with you.
Is there any other intel you want to share with the people before we kick off here?
Yeah, I mean, that Derek talked about this on the podcast too. A lot of you haven't necessarily heard this probably, but the Steelers' interest in Venga Ioane, very real, I think. Could they move up for him? I think it's a possibility. Monroe Freeling, real interest there. Would they have to get up? Could they get up for him? Is he going to be the first tackle off the board? Is he going to go at 6? Is he going to fall into the team somewhere? That's kind of the questions that they're mulling around. Mekhi Lemon, definitely a possibility. Somebody that they like. I mean, Omar Cooper, if they stay at 21, I think would be, but they might not get him at 21. The Jets, everybody's mocking him to the Jets at 16. So there's a lot of potential options. But the O-line and wide receiver seems to be where things are zeroed in on right now.
Oliver Inwood says, drink everything in your fridge if TJ Parker goes round 1. Deal. I'm in. I loaded up for draft weekend knowing we were doing the shows. So the real takes will come flying out. We'll have to discuss draft experts at that point. And we'll really get into it. Nuggets that I have, the Vikings are really, really keen on CJ Allen, trying to figure out how the board's going to play out, whether that's going to have to be round 1, move down. Can they move back up in the second round to try and get CJ Allen? Jacob Rodriguez to the Texans. That's one of the Texans' guy.
Oh, are you kidding me? You couldn't let me know that earlier, Ollie. I was mocking for them, and I almost put him with them. And I was like, wait, there's no buzz there at all.
This was in a conversation about the Nico Collins stuff, which I think is out there now. We discussed that a while back, that there was some tension and friction with Nico Collins.
Credit on social media. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
You mentioned the Nico Collins thing months ago, and people were like, wait, what?
I was trying to figure out, because I knew they were hugely interested in Jacob Rodriguez, but thought there was better value in where they're picking the first round for other positions. And obviously the line and finding someone who can play multiple spots in the line is the go-to thing. And then interior pass rush is kind of the second thing on the board. I was like, you guys are not going to trade Nico Collins to be able to draft Jacob Rodriguez in the first round, are you? Please, I love Jacob Rodriguez. Please tell me that's not the mode of operation. Crickets in reply.
Crickets.
That is certainly not a sign of that's what's happening. But Rodriguez is a guy they're really interested in. We went through Casare's hit list, what he does with his first and second round picks and the criteria he feels you have to hit to do that. They've always loved Rodriguez. He hits all that criteria and then some. So that's the one I'm keeping my eye out for the most, I would say.
That's pretty good. I mean, it's definitely a possibility. I could see it making a ton of sense for them. The reason I stopped was like, wait, I just haven't heard anything about this. So I actually, in my final mock draft, I had them taking and this could be flipped too. I don't know why I did it this way, but I just didn't want to undo the picks when I got to it. So, but I had him taking Chase Basantis and then trading up from 38 because you know how Casario loves to trade, trading up from 38 to 32 with the Seahawks and taking Caleb Lomu with the last pick.
Ooh.
So getting two offensive linemen. My thought is that if somebody is trading back up into the first round, other than Ty Simpson, which I already had that, Caleb Lomu falling out would be the reason because there's a huge gap right between him and the next tackle. I think there will be for most teams, but there is for almost all analysts too. Just a massive gap. And the other ones are projected to go for sure. He's the question mark one. So I think if somebody wanted him, it's like, well, we got to get ahead of these other teams at the top of the second that want a tackle too. So I think there would be some temptation to jump up for could be the Titans too. Honestly, they could be jumping up too because J.C. Latham may have ran his course in Tennessee.
J.C. Latham has run his course in Tennessee by day three of the
Okay.
draft. By day three of the draft,
But
he'll be playing somewhere
his
else.
course is not yet fully run, but it will be run by Saturday.
No, the house is on Zillow. He's trying to find out where he's relocating. I think the other interesting one there is Jamal McCoy. Is there a team who is finding themselves kind of at the 10th, 12th spot in the second round, being like, we don't want to get one of these rebuilding teams getting a guy we have graded out as a blue chipper on our board, but we're a bit squeamish about the medical. But if it's not going to cost us that great volume to get to 32 because the Seahawks just want out to move 8 spots back, I could see a team deciding to go back in for McCoy.
Yeah, that would be a really fascinating one. Where he goes is a huge question mark. If he goes in the first round, where he goes in the first round, which teams are cool with him. We know a lot of teams aren't cool with him just because of the injury. And so if the team that isn't, are they going to be kind of zigging while everyone else zags? There's a real risk to that, I would say. It's worth questioning the process. The track record of the team will probably matter a lot too in terms of assessing kind of how that part of it goes. But that's a fascinating one very easily. I had the Dolphins with their second pick at the back end of the first round, picking him up there, which I just thought was just like, yeah, too good a value. We maybe have the worst corner room in the league. I know that the positional need part probably isn't going to register too badly with Miami because they just need great players, but he's probably the best player on the board available. You got this extra first round pick. You know how to use it.
He'd definitely be the best player available. My question for them is just timeline wise, if this is a second contract situation, where he may not be able to get through to a second contract, which was the same buzz on Will Johnson last season. Is it worth for a fully rebuilding team to go and do that? I would say take the swing. If you think you can find an all-pro corner that stage of the draft, I would take the swing. I guess, is Jay Glazer on air yet? Is this trade happening with the third overall pick? Come on, Jay. What are we waiting for?
I'm not on Twitter, so I'm not even following. Is there news?
I'm not. I put my phone on blackout.
Oh, so you're not seeing it either. Oh, you're just hoping.
I'm asking. I'm saying, where's Jay? I'm waiting on Jay. Is the trade up happening? Third overall pick. Okay, let's do this. Third overall pick. Most likely case. Saints trade up. Chiefs trade up. Cardinals stay in pick.
Okay, give me those again.
Saints trade up. Chiefs stay up. Trade up. Cardinals stay in pick.
Most likely.
Cardinals
stay in pick because they don't find a trade partner. That's probably the most likely scenario, I think. Do you agree or disagree?
I agree because I still in my gut think it's going to be a reset too, despite everyone in the industry telling me that's not what's happening. If Reese is there at 3, I think Mickey Loomis is pulling the trigger. And I think that if you're Brett Veach and you have the artillery to go and get Arvell Reese at 3rd overall, which you would never, ever have the chance to do again in the dynastic run of having Patrick Mahomes your quarterback, it would be a complete disservice to your organization to not get that thing done. You can give a 2027 pick to the Cardinals, loaded class, the one everyone wants. You don't care about it as much as everyone else because you're expecting to be in the bottom of the first round. So if he's on the board there, I do think the price will go up and up and up. And I would hope that the Chiefs would be the team who says, we don't really care about the price that much.
Yeah, that would be a fascinating one because they're the team that says, oh, we haven't been here very often, that we're not planning to be here very often in the future. So let's make the most of it. And let's take somebody that's going to make a huge difference for our franchise. And getting Arvell Reese with where they're at as a franchise would be a huge step in the right direction. They have drafted well in the margins. They did for a while, and that's really dried up, especially on the front. And so they just haven't been able to make the same impact with their entire front. I don't know whether now would he play on the edge for them? It seems like he's playing on the edge for anybody, even though you and I think he's linebacker.
Well, I think they use the walk linebacker as much as anyone. Would you like Leo Chanel, but significantly better?
Seems hilarious to think that he would be in the Leo Chanel role.
Anyone who's going to run some kind of amoeba front, morphing, changing the front every snap, matching the motion, like that's Spags to a T. Putting Arvel Reese and Chris Jones on the same side of the formation is complete nightmare fuel. So I think they would find a way to figure it out. I think he he went to the Chiefs, he would definitely mix and match between playing true off ball, playing heavy end, playing as a pass rusher, being released on some of the pressure stuff. That was almost like the best fit for him in the class. Like, what would be the best version of Arvel Reese in 8 years? I think you'd have to be a terrible organization to truly fuck that up, honestly. That's like hard to do. The one where it would be like the most guaranteed, like this is Super Bowl MVP type potential of like just changing a Super Bowl is with the Chiefs.
Man, that would be pretty fun if it happens. So it'd be fun to analyze, certainly fun for us to be able to assess as well. So the hope on my end is that we get some fireworks like that, which will be fun. I wanted to make sure, is there a way to hide the chat for viewers? Elliot asked.
I looked that up and it said yes, something to do with sliding. And
I think it's this on the top right-hand corner. I don't know how we're on our laptops, but I think in the top right-hand corner, something on your screen, there's like a little thing that you can click that slides it to the side. It does for us. I'm pretty sure it's available on the phone too, because I think I did it when we were live during free agency. So if you have your phone, maybe you can do that, Elliot. Let us know if that works, and people in the chat may want that too. Hopefully nobody in the chat tips picks and they know we're just not about it, but you never know when somebody pops in, is just feeling a little, can't help themselves, and they're like, oh, wow.
Probably fraudulent too. Probably
the Chiefs just traded up for Keldrick Falk. Yeah, we're trying to get us. Yeah, that's the other reason.
What was that? You just
sorry, I just
trying to wake me up.
Yeah. Elliot asks, how would John feel if the Steelers traded Nick Herbig to the Bucks for 15 and took TJ Parker? Come on. So they get 15 and they keep 21. They get 2 first-round picks, and then they take Parker with one of those first, I'm guessing. Either way, Elliot knows I would hate this, but yeah.
We'll force John to drink. That's what that one is.
Yeah, this will be filled with something else if that happens. I really don't think the Steelers are trading Nick Herbig, by the way, just to add some seriousness to Elliot's question. I think that Nick Herbig and Alex Highsmith are both going to remain Steelers through the weekend. We feel really strongly about that with Herbig. The only thing that would happen would change that with Highsmith, I think, is if there was like some medical thing or something like that, because his contract is great. So Highsmith's very tradable. I think people would be surprised by the compensation he'd bring back if he's healthy, because the contract is so good. What you'd be getting production wise for the contract is just really good. So I think that he would be he is a good asset. I just would, if they're trying to win right now, we know this. We know how the Steelers work. Nick says he's hearing Mendoza to the Raiders, by the way.
Oh,
really killing us in the chat right now.
Can I drink on that one? No. Is there any other vets you think are going to get traded this weekend?
I don't think Brian Thomas is getting traded. I believe James Gladstone when he's like, we're not trading him. No.
I believe they badly want into the first round for reasons that are quite confusing to me, honestly. I would say, okay sense of what it is that they're interested in going to get, and it feels okay. I'll say this. I think that they are really, really keen in Kenyon Sadiq. And it's if you just go through the board and the options for Kenyon Sadiq, once you get past the Panthers, let's say the Panthers take Dylan Thieneman, there's not that many obvious landing spots where the need matches up, unless a team is just like, we think super athlete, we want to be really 2 tight end centric next season. We just think he's such a talented player. We got to go take Kenyon Sadiq. But actually finding one where it's like a natural organic fit is not that easy to do once you get past the Panthers for the most part. So if he gets to like the 23-24 range, I could see that being the guy where they say, we're going to get Kenyon Sadiq, because I think they are huge admirers of his. Outside of that, because of what they think they could do with him and not necessarily a need, but amplifying the entire offense, I think the price would be too steep to be interested in doing it in this class. Like, I would love Casey Concepcion there. I don't even know if for them that would be worth it given what else they have on the roster. And I wouldn't be interested in giving up Brian Thomas or whatever it's going to require player-wise, I think, to get into the foot of that first round, when you could probably maneuver the board pretty well on the second day to kind of leap into the top 5 or so picks of the second round.
Yeah, I think that is one of the interesting parts of this, is just if the Jaguars biting off a little more than they can chew some of these times. We love Travis Hunter, and we were a fan of the move. And even if it worked great, I think I would still say, be careful. Be careful how often you do this. Living this way is a dangerous way to live. So they just need to temper themselves, I think.
You can live that way when you have Matthew Stafford as your quarterback.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Little Trevor Lawrence dig. No, I'm just kidding. You're right. I mean, that matters for sure. But even then, I think you run out of bullets pretty quick. I think, and I think you just need to be careful sometimes. You run out of bullets fast, and you need to reload faster than you think. And there's just a lot. There's just a lot that goes into it to trying to keep a team competitive in the NFL. And we've talked about this with the Lions, right? Thinking that you're just sweeter than everybody else has its limitations. And the Lions are in a state right now where
Well, you had that in your mock. Would you care to explain that to the audience? You had the Lions, which I've heard the same thing I think you've heard, which is everyone's talking about them moving up, and that the line stuff might be a smokescreen. I'm not quite there that the line is a smokescreen, but you had them going all the way to 7 to take Ruben Bain. So you think if they're going up for edge help rather than the line?
I think that if Jeremiah Love comes off the board before Washington, which he's going to, then Washington is open to trading back. There's a reason we haven't heard anything connected with Washington that's hard and fast. You know, people are looking and saying, oh, they need a wideout. I think Jaden Daniels wants Carnell Tate there. They're friends or something like that. You know, like we hear about everybody Jaden Daniels likes every year, by the way. He's just like very openly campaigning for people. It's awesome. But yeah, I think that's a big part of this is just, you know, I don't know who they feel like they're really connected to in a way that's like, I love it. I love this player and we're not going to move no matter what. I think they're really open to seeing the board as pretty neutral, pretty even across the board. And they would be really into potentially moving down. So I just think they're so a bitter. And then if you're the Lions and some people think they're moving up for a tackle, if so, you probably still want to get high. I don't know if you need to get quite that high, but I mean, the Chiefs could take a tackle at 9. Like that's really possible. I think that you would want to get ahead of the Saints and the Chiefs and some other teams probably too for Ruben Bain. There's a ton of teams right after the Commanders that he could go to, I think. And I think if you were trying to get up for that other pass rusher, go all in, and you were trying to put your team over the top, I think it would be a move like that for a Ruben Bain for a pass rusher, an impact player at that position.
Okay, question here from Wham Bam Chicken Jam. Gotta love our
What
audience.
a
Gotta
what
love
a
our
great
audience. Who might go in the first round that no one is expecting?
Okay, this is no one is expecting. I mean, this started to leak out at some points, but I mean, I don't think hardly anyone. I don't know if this qualifies. This is aggressive enough, but hardly anyone I don't think was expecting D'Angelo Pons in the first round, and that I think is not that far fetched of an idea. Is there anyone deeper than that that would be really out there?
That was going to be mine. Was D'Angelo Pons?
Oh, good. I'm glad I took your thunder.
Yeah, I think trading Stooks now is locked in as potential. Probably those bottom 8 overlapping picks, round 1 to round 2. Could there be a Keontae Scott admirer out there?
Ooh, that would be really interesting. I like Keontae Scott a lot. Is he in my top? I don't, I put my vertical board together and I just don't pay attention to it at all. He's 36 for me on my vertical board. So ahead of others who might go in the first round. Let me ask you this. Who is the lowest graded player on your board that has a shot to go in round 1? It's easy for me.
Scrolling.
It's the second to last player on my board. Third to last, I guess.
On your entire vertical board?
Yeah.
Who is that?
Carson Beck.
Oh, come on now. Pelissero out over skis. Do you think he just panicked and said something? Or do you think he really meant that?
I think he really got fed that intel. If he's right, I will hats off to Tom Pelissero if he's right. I said this earlier today on the show. I'm like, if he's right, great, but I don't think he's going to be. But if he's right, even that he goes in the second would be a good pull for him. But if he actually goes in the first round, it would be absolutely wild. Okay, more realistic than that.
Lowest graded guy I have tier 3, just looking through it quickly on the fly. Probably TJ Parker. He's almost a lock at this point, but I have him graded as a tier 3 player.
Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Other tier 3 guys would be Jadarian Price, I guess.
Oh, that would be a shocker. That'd be a shocker first rounder.
Pregnon.
Lee Hunter would be a throwback to. It's not going to happen, But there was 2 months ago, it was happening at the combine. These conversations were happening on TV. Lee Hunter going in the first round.
I'm looking
In the
through
year of
my
our
tier
Lord,
4 now.
2022.
Is there anyone in tier 4 who could stun us? I mean, that would be Carson Beck.
Yeah, I'm looking at my tier 5 right now, actually, and seeing just like, is there anything in here that would be crazy?
Oh, Jalen Kilgore.
That would be a funny one. All right, that's a good one. Yeah, the South Carolina slot / safety that is just going to have some weak GM is just going to be like, I think he's Nick Evenwari. Same school, body type, athletes. Let's just do it, and we'll see what happens. It's not going to be in the first, but
unfortunately, Chris Greer is no longer in the league. If Chris Greer was still in the league and he had those 2 Dolphins first round picks, Jalen Kilgore would go for that exact reason.
Gosh, you're probably right. The funniest first round pick, Genesis Smith, would be. We would bust a gut if Genesis Smith.
No, the funniest one would be Beck. Beck would be the funniest.
Beck would be the funniest, yeah, of the realistic ones. That's true. There's a couple in time. I mean, Ty Simpson's a tier 4 for me, but he's not that low on my board. I mean, I don't have a lot of tier 1, 2, and 3 players. So a lot of my class is in tier 4 and tier 5, but so it's a lot of volume. But I would say that I don't think anybody in tier 5 has a real chance to go. We'll see what ends up happening. I think the draft has officially started, but is Goodell announcing it now?
Goodell's kicking it off.
Is that? Oh, yeah. Hayward Mott maybe on the stage. Let's go. Good. All right, we're gonna hide the chat now because we never know when some of you animals are gonna tell us who this first pick is. Gosh, can't have you tipping this first round pick for us.
All right, chat is hidden.
Is this the longest that we've known who the first overall pick in the draft would be that you can remember? There's been no question about it at all.
I think the Eli one was from like week 4 of the college season, and then they had to negotiate with 2 teams to figure a trade out. So I think that's probably the longest one. Like he was the player, no one knew who the team was because there was going to be a trade. Clowney,
that's right. Yeah,
Clowney from the hit at the Outback Bowl. They just said, yeah, he's the number 1 overall pick,
and they happen to be right. I wonder if that one was. I guess I'm thinking from the moment the Raiders secured the first pick, we knew this was going to be. There was like no question. I don't think we ever talked about anything else from the beginning of the college football season, though. Yeah, if you're just saying like this player has a real shot to go 1, obviously there's been way longer.
I know. I saw a friend Duffy put together today a composite of all the mock drafts, and I just saw in Todd McShay's first mock draft he had Dante Moore as the first overall pick. So not actually in this class. So
wow, that's. Probably, well, we'll talk about 2027 down the road, but I feel like that's as far out as we are. It's probably realistic at this point. Morgan asks if I'm in a bush. No, I'm not. This is an actual greenery wall behind me. It's real. It's not a. Oh, you can't even see my hand. It's real.
Adam Atkins, Andrew, look. That's right. Teams threw their season. He was the number 1 pick the year before. Teams threw their seasons away.
Ben, you got to give us your trivia. Ben's got trivia. I know that. So give us your trivia question, Ben. Don't make it too hard. Don't make it impossible. I mean, make it hard, though. I want it to be difficult. Ben's sent me a couple trivia ones, and I think I've done pretty well on some of them, but he also sent me edge defender ones, and he knows those. That's my strength. So I think that he's playing to the crowd a little bit with that one. Okay, the Raiders are they officially on the clock? Have they said it yet? The clock is not counting down on my screen.
We still got a few minutes. Cam is giving a speech. More clapping, more players.
Good.
Jordan Tyson's wide receiver coach coming out.
I see what you did there. That would be one if the Steelers were in a range where he might get drafted, would have been talked about ad nauseum.
Oh, if Tomlin was still there, it would be over.
Yeah, that would be one that would be talked about a ton going into the process, I think. Well, the Raiders are going to be on the clock here in a second, Ollie, and we've talked about this one at length, but just the idea that Fernando Mendoza, by the way, you want to hear this is one of the greatest mistakes that I've ever made as a draft analyst. I put my big board out today. Obviously, you know how little I've slept over the last month. Fernando Mendoza's on it, but do I call him Fernando? Did you see this? You didn't even tell me?
Someone else texted me about it. I didn't want to embarrass
Ollie!
you.
I think it was written in as, was it Francisco Mendoza or something like that? I don't know if it was like an autocorrect when I put it in or if I just literally wrote the name Francisco. Incredible. I was like, yeah, good. All these months of draft work only to misspell the first name of the first pick in the draft. Absolutely brutal. Here's my big board, everyone. Spent months and barely slept working on this tape. Don't know the first name of the first pick.
Well, you just gotta say number 15 from Indiana or whatever. You know, you gotta go
Yeah.
old school scout. You
Just
just
has to be.
put the Indiana kid number 1
Yeah.
overall.
I mean, everybody knew. No one even said anything until it was like an hour ago. Somebody was like, "Who's Francisco Mendoza, John?" And I was like, "Thanks a lot. Thanks for letting me know earlier, brother."
Okay, we're on the clock. Only 8 minutes per pick this year. Someone is going to screw this up. All these trades, all the indecision, the ball being as cramped as it is, someone is going to have a blunder. Either a trade will not get executed in time, someone's going to miss that pick. 8 minutes, fast. We're going to fly through this thing.
When do you think the Raiders told? Mendoza actually might answer this. When do you think the Raiders told Mendoza, "We're making you the pick. Start getting ready for our offense"? Can they even give him a playbook? I forget
He
that.
has a playbook and
He
he's
can
been
do.
working out with their full install.
Oh,
So,
okay then. They told him a long time ago,
yeah.
and that's fine with the league. I mean, I'm assuming you're not saying that. We're not behind the paywall, so if you're saying that, that means it's fine with the league. So
Uh,
he's preparing.
Yeah, he was in between building one of his beautiful Lego sets. They said, "Hey, Fernando, could you get up from the Lego table and pick up the
So
install?"
there's this funny thing. My 9-year-old Kaylee is a contrarian to the max. So when we pick the NFL games every week, and the Raiders a couple years ago beat the when we started doing this, beat the Chargers. I think it was like the end of the Brandon Staley era, and they beat the Chargers and they crushed them, right? She remembers the game. It was like 63-7, something crazy like that. She remembers the game. So in her mind, this is when, well, I don't know, she was 6 maybe when this happened. In her mind, the Raiders are awesome, right? So she knows now, she's old enough. She knows they're bad. She knows they're one of the worst teams in the league. She's continued to pretend every week. She picked the Raiders like every week. So now she's like a Raiders fan. I mean, no, she doesn't really care about that much about football. She's more into basketball, and so she was basically has been like laughing about them having this pick because they're the best team, she says. And then tonight I was telling her this first overall pick, he builds Lego sets, like you actually might think he's a pretty cool guy. And she was like, okay, maybe I will actually get interested, because she's a huge Lego builder. So yeah, it was.
You got to get her a Francisco jersey.
That's right.
And prepare her for the Mendoza era. Do you
It
want to
might
give?
happen.
Do you want to give the new listeners your Mendoza rundown? Give people your Mendoza
Yeah.
scouting report.
I think the thing I like most about this pick for the Raiders is that Mendoza is the right kind of person, and I think that matters a lot. Like, he's going to come into the situation, lots of positivity. I've actually been really impressed with the watching him through the pre-draft process, a little more of a serious side of him. And I don't mean that, but like after these games, he's so jazzed up. You just see this like really goofy kind of energy, and he's just like all bubbly. And I think people have said, how will this play in the locker room and stuff like that? And I always said, we're too far away to know that. But through the pre-draft process, we've actually been able to see him sit down with people, break down tape, talk about his life, talk about kind of his ethos as a person, and just like what drives and motivates him, and just a grounded dude who I think is not going to get rattled by a situation. Toughness on the field shows up all the time, just has the right mentality. The stage isn't going to be too big or change anything for him. His process and his disciplines will stay the same. And so I think it's just the type of person you want your organization to be married to at this type of a pick, this type of a moment in your franchise history. Moving away from Pete Carroll is a disaster. It's been one disaster after another, and the Raiders, no team has drafted worst. And so you at least want to know, is there somewhat of a floor here? Are we going to get totally humiliated by this pick? And I know that's a kind of cynical way to look at the first overall pick, but I do think that is part of the consideration, is that even if he doesn't become this great ceiling player, I think you do have that floor. And then as a player, I think the biggest things, accuracy, and I think mental process are going to be a real strength for him. There's a lot to work with from those building blocks. So in terms of the intangibles, and then what I would say are like the baseline gotta have it tangibles, he has those. There are other things I question whether he has to the degree that he needs to elevate from being like a good starter to like a top-notch starter. But I think he has enough of that floor stuff that you feel like really comfortable with this pick, and not like it's a dart throw like some of the quarterbacks that have been taken in the top 10 are.
I agree with you. I think the flaw to me is Kirk Cousins. Is it's the guy who can play on time and in rhythm, and if the offensive infrastructure is ideal and you've got blue chip playmakers, you can be a playoff caliber team. I think the ceiling here is can he get close to Matt Ryan with more downhill athleticism, where it's more Daniel Jones like athleticism with the mental power of Matt Ryan, who had an MVP season, took a team to a Super Bowl. To me, it's about the toughness, the decisiveness, the precision with which he plays, the level of anticipation throwing the ball to all areas of the field, second level bucket throws, deep out breaking throws. Just really admire how he plays the game from the pocket. I do think there are some concerns about how that moves up to the next level. I think that the footwork is really mechanical and robotic. He's really got to speed everything up in terms of the footwork department. I think the question of arm elasticity and can he become a guy who can make awkward deliveries and some off-platform throws, and not just in terms of when the pocket gets money and crashes around him, because he just wants to stand in there big, tall, like Ben Roethlisberger, and he'll get drilled and throw the ball. And if there's a guy coming in, there's kind of arms out towards his helmet or grabbing on his shoulders, he'll just stand in there and deliver it. I think in the league, he's got to really quicken up the pocket navigation, improve the feel in the pocket. Too many sacks, too many negative plays in the Indiana tape. But the thing that I love about him, you mentioned all the intangible stuff and kind of like this slight goofy side or what have you. I love the attitude when he does have a negative play, that he comes back for the throw immediately every time. And that to me is so Brady like. It reminds me of Goff when he was in college, he played the same way. So it's somewhere from Cousins to Goff to Ryan. And then out there on the edge is his new owner who's going to draft him, which is Tommy Boy at the very, very far end outcome.
I think you're talking about a bunch of quarterbacks who don't rely necessarily on their mobility outside of maybe functional mobility, which I think he has definitely enough of. But what we're asking, I think more than anything, is just how he utilizes the functional mobility. Like I think the ability to move is in there within the structure of being able to pass in the offense and stuff like that. But how quickly does he get to that stuff? Can he reset? Can he find throws down the field? Is there second reaction stuff in his game, or does it all have to be first reaction stuff? And if there is second reaction stuff, how much of that is positive and how much of that is negative becomes negative plays, him trying to be outside of maybe who he naturally is as a quarterback. That to me is going to be one of the big questions with his career. Just like, does he have that ceiling to elevate his game to special playmaker, or is he point and shoot? I'll run the offense. I'm probably going to be efficient. If we stay in neutral game situations, I can be effective for us in those situations. But in a lot of these situations, we know he has the mental makeup to be in these late game situations, and he did it a bunch for Indiana when they needed to as well. He made so many clutch plays for them this past season. They did not cakewalk like that LSU team did to an undefeated season. They had to come back late in a lot of games, and frankly, in a lot of games against opponents that weren't like absolutely unbelievable or anything. But in those situations, he really did play lights off football, and so that gives you a lot of hope that he can be that in the NFL too. It won't probably happen right away, but man, it would be really fun to watch a quarterback like this elevate to those levels again. Because to be honest with you, Ollie, it's not necessarily where the game is going right now at this position either.
No, and it fires me up to get another one in who could maybe be Goffian towards Matt Ryan-ness. I think he's got more mobility on the move than Kirk Cousins. I think he's a great thrower on the move, and it's going to be a boot-based offense that he's walking into. That will be new for him. We'll have to see how he handles that, how he handles the turn the back play action system, what happens when there's post-snap rotation, when teams change the picture on you, and you don't have the panoramic vision to just sit in the gun and see it and react to it. And it's going to be, as you mentioned, can he become a second reaction playmaker within the pocket, the way Goff does, I think, better than he's given credit for. The way Cousins, I don't think, ever truly got to that level. Ryan was not there early in his career, got there later in his career. Brady was not that early in his career, got there later in his career. Manning was there the whole time. These pre-snap kind of high-end football IQ type plays still have to be able to create in the pocket, which is slipping and sliding and navigating the rush, being able to find second and third read throws down the field. And I just love that he challenges things vertically, that he wants to eat and feast at 15 plus yards, whether it's 20-yard backbreaker, whether it's a return route, whether it's a middle of the field dig shot. I like that that's the kind of player he was in college and that's in the bag there, which makes me think he's going to be more in that Matt Ryan vein than he's just going to be in the Kirk Cousins one.
Now, let me ask you this. Do you put a lot of stock into the fact that he will be going from an RPO heavy, shotgun heavy offense to now an under center offense, turn the back play action, and a different process than it's happened before for him? I don't think that is like derailing a career type of stuff. Do you think it slows down the transition into the league to where somebody else needs to obviously have another option, but somebody else needs to start right away, or maybe he's not comfortable through his rookie season, or like how hard is it, do you think, to acclimate your game and change your game to a different style of offense, and what translates and maybe carries over from the way he
Ooh.
played in Indiana to where they are now? Oh, the
I,
pick is
I would
already
love
in
to
for the
answer that,
Jets.
but the pick is in. Make your call right now. The pick is in. Make your call. Bailey or Reese?
I think it's Reese. Yeah,
I think
I
it's
think it's
Reese
Reese.
too.
And we've got the chat turned off, by the way. If you're watching the live stream, Ollie and I have the chat closed, so we can't see any comments if anybody is tipping the picks in the chat, which hopefully they're not. But if anybody is tipping the picks in the chat, totally fine if people want to find out ahead of time. But we just like to watch it on TV and react live to that. So before they announce that pick, did you want to give me your Mendoza answer real quick?
I think it's fine for him to sit early on. They've got the ideal guy in there to learn from in Kirk Cousins, who's going to run the offense just fine. It's not a huge concern to me, more so than it would be for anyone else. We've had a bunch of these guys come from these RPO-centric systems. Mahomes has done it. Plenty. Lamar had elements of that in his offense. His was a bit more pro style, but it was still from the gun. So we've had tons of these guys come through now. It's a pretty normal learning curve. Jared Goff played in a full air raid offense. He's become a turn the back play action merchant by most accounts, right? So that Goff transition is the one that I'm looking at. It took Goff some time. He went to the ideal situation in LA, right? In the second season with Sean McVay. First year was a disaster in a terrible offense. They couldn't figure it all out. Took him some time to understand how much work he'd have to put in to maximize that side of his craft. So I could see it being that kind of situation where Mendoza's in by week 8. It's a little bit grim hero there. People are panicking. The second season, we start to see more of a takeoff.
Yeah, I think it's natural to expect some of that, right? Anticipate some of that as it goes into, especially because the Raiders are far from a finished product as a full offense either. So I think that part of it is worth watching as well. Okay, Goodell is going to the stand.
Here we go. Oh. It's got to be Arvell Reese.
This is a big moment. Do the Jets make the right call and take the best player in the draft for both of us? David Bailey.
Oh,
wow.
Wow.
Oh, man.
They did
this opens up things in the picks after this as well.
This means this trading this third overall pick now is massively in play. Are we going to
get
the Saints coming up
for the Cardinals? Yeah, a real possibility for the Cardinals, and a real possibility that the Chiefs are coming up here. The Saints could be in competition for this. A lot of things just open up. But first, we got to talk about the second overall pick. David Bailey, not Arvell Reese, is a New York Jet here, Ollie. What are your thoughts?
Not stunned, just because it's been going back and forth between the two. Clearly not the pick I would have made. I understand the ridiculous first step speed, the speed bend burst type pass rusher with some varied moves off the edge. He's got the ghost. He's got the counter back inside. There is some pop in his hands, converting speed to power. Just a little bit striking to me. They were trading away Jermaine Johnson. They have Will McDonald, who is a true dip and rip pass rusher. This is not usually the profile of player that Aaron Glenn would kind of build the defense around. This is more of the Robert Saleh variety, which they dismissed over a year ago now. So it's been in play. So I've kind of gotten acclimated to this could happen. I just am still somewhat disappointed that they passed on Arvell Reese to take David Bailey.
I'm disappointed in them for sure. For Arvell Reese, this could be great. and for the career trajectory that we expect Arvell Reese to be on, this could be great. But let's just talk about Bailey for a second. I think you're right. The super explosive first step, those traits being like really, really important for a pass rusher. Give him hope that he could work out because of those explosive traits. I felt like when you watched him, that was almost always on display. There is definitely counter moves mixed in. He can speed counter rush, which is a real factor in the league. If you're just a speed guy, everybody will push you up high. He shows enough speed counter that I got him in there. I snuck him into my tier 2 of players. I fought with myself every step of the pre-draft process, but still a far cry from where I ranked Arvell Reese. So we'll talk about that part of it in a second. But I think from a traits perspective, there's a lot to like here with Bailey. There's a couple questions. One, how he defends the run, and just whether he's going to continue to be how playable he'll be in those situations. I thought there was better stuff in this past season's tape, but anytime he has to be inside the end man on the line of scrimmage, there's a real problem. And there's going to be a problem with how teams attack him if they do scheme and attack him in the run game, which they will. And I know you want to talk about that part. more so probably than they did in college, especially because this past year in college, his team was really good. And so he wasn't in a lot of situations where he was getting attacked as much in neutral situations. Teams were throwing, trying to catch up with them. But I think if he's in a lot of those situations, he could be in trouble as an every down player. That's not going to matter if he's a double digit sack guy, though, is it? Because he has the traits for that. So you're really betting that he can transform the pass rush by himself. My biggest questions with just the pure pass rush ability: does he have the flexibility to maximize that speed when he gets to the top of the arc? Can he actually dip under people, or does he just need to beat guys out of the blocks every single time? Does he have any way to trim and make the corner of the pocket or the apex of the arc a little bit better of an angle to the quarterback for himself? Second thing to me is, as a pass rusher, how often is he going to execute a pass rush plan? And is he just going to float and drift and run into guys and kind of get held up? Because when he went with a plan, he was really, really good. I thought there were a lot of inefficient rushes where he came off the ball and was like, I'm not totally sure what I'm doing. I'm just going to kind of run up here. And if it doesn't work, cool, I'm going to get pushed too deep, going to push back on the quarterback. I could spin counter. I thought the Utah game, he has some good plays in that game. He had opportunities to dominate Spencer Fano. And I just did not think he played with that type of execution. It was a good game for him, a solid game. But I thought he could have really cooked him, and he just didn't seem to get that. But the way Fano was pass hitting, I thought there were lots of opportunities for him, and I just didn't think he played that potential. So that's my biggest question with him, just as a pure rusher.
2 minutes left on the clock for the Cardinals here, and they're clapping and cheering, and Michael Bidwell is smiling. So I think they are sticking and picking.
Are they taking Arvell Reese here?
They would be foolish not to take Arvell Reese here, to instead take Jeremiah Love and make him the highest paid running back in the NFL without playing a snap.
You said it, not me, brother. You're the running back. You're more likely to be the running back truther of the two of us. Arvell Reese is the top player on both of our boards. Him and Nick Rawls' defense would be a blast. I don't think there's any doubt about that.
I'm getting geared up to send a congratulatory text for landing the once-in-a-lifetime player in a draft. Somehow held on to his job as everyone else got booted out the door, and then gets handed Arvell Reese potentially.
If that's what happens. Now, Jeremiah Love's real consideration for them, too. There's a lot of teams that want him. Also, trade down is still a real possibility. I mean, you and I, again, pick is in. Okay, so they are staying and they are picking. So maybe it was a trade down if our guy isn't there. But if that was the situation, then because you would imagine they had offers for this. I would.
The offer would be for Reese over Love, obviously. Bidwell's smile is giving me a bit of concern right now. He seemed very, very happy. The rumors have been that Michael Bidwell wanted Jeremiah Love, and that maybe some people in the building wanted to go with someone who could maybe impact the football team over the medium term more. We'll see. We'll see. Just on David Bailey quickly, I agree with everything you said. I think he is so prone to accepting I can beat everyone out the stance in college football. And he has such good get off that he can probably do that as well in the league. That it could be a Brian Burns, it could be a Nick Benito type situation. I think he's got more thunder in his hands than he sometimes gives himself credit for. So even if he's not a naturally flexible, dip under, run under the table type player, can he at least set people and force people to overset enough that he can have real shock to fight back inside and just play that style of football? The big concern would be because of the lack of thumb in the run game, because he gets buried off the point of attack over and over again, that you wind up with a more explosive Chop Robinson would be the real concern. But I had him as the second highest rated edge defender on my board because I do just see a world in which he can have a Nick Benito style outcome.
That's interesting. Yeah, the Nick Benito comparison for him is one that we actually have for probably a couple guys, I would say, in this class. Is one we've talked about for Cassius Howell. R. Mason Thomas gets compared to him a lot, so he's a popular comparison right now for guys who maybe there was questions about whether they could play every down at certain points in their career. So here's the Cardinals selection. It is Jeremiah Love. Arvell Reese is still on the board at 4. Nick Rawls.
I told that smile of Bidwell, the Bidwell smile gave it away. Our boy is down bad.
No.
Our boy is down bad.
Michael Bidwell got in the room and said, "Get me the fast guy."
Jeremiah Love is a sensational player, a sensational prospect. We've said it before, but people who haven't heard us, I truly think just in terms of the way he moves, the explosivity, the raw juice, the way he can string different moves together, the jukes, the hurdles, the spin moves, everything, the fact that he can impact all facets of the game. He is willing to stick his nose in pass protection, has got really active eyes in pass protection, can do things for you in the passing game. that he reminds me of Reggie Bush with 10 to 12 more pounds on his frame, and he's also willing to stick it between the tackles. Just the use of resources. So I really love and admire the play they're showing on the NFL Network broadcast. My favorite play of the year, which is him doing the spin move on a safety and
The big
Kyle
game.
Lewis, and then the safety kneecaps Kyle Lewis on the play. I mean, he's an extraordinary athlete. Passing on Arvell Reese here for all he could do for you defensively. I understand they want playmaking. They've got themselves a dynamic playmaker. The finances of the decision is I think fair and questionable, both in just the value of the running back position and what the contract commitment now is to a player who's not played it down yet, and where that puts him in kind of the echelon of other running backs in the league.
And especially because they've invested a lot in that defense and with, supplemental, like a developmental, like supplemental guys who could help the cause overall. But like if Reese could go in and be a star and help you do multiple things, man, I really felt like that was the way to go, especially because where are they at? They're in the NFC West. They're in with Seattle and with LA and with San Francisco. They might be in a division with three of the top 7 or 8 organizations in all of football. And maybe the top 2 right now are in their division. And so it is just really hard to say, you know how we're going to catch up with those guys? A running back. That I just hard for me to sell me on that. A 3-down defensive difference maker in Arvell Reese, who you can tailor scheme around and helps elevate everyone else around him too. That's the direction I would have gone. Just no question about it. Now, having said all that, Ollie, Jeremiah Love, the explosiveness that he gives your offense as a pass catcher and as a rusher, no doubt that it is needed from an explosiveness standpoint in Arizona. I'd argue it's needed more in the pass game than the run game, where they have James Conner and they have Trey Benson still around, and they signed Tyler Algier this offseason. They have a crowded room. It stands to I mean, you would predict now that someone is going to get traded from that room. And we talked about this yesterday, but it would guess that James Conner, who they love, obviously, and I'm sure they liked him to stay around, and Tyler Algier did not sign up to be a number 3 back. And James Conner has been around there for a while. I just don't know what you do. Like, what do you tell Tyler Algier now at this point? Like, you are going to be our number 3 running back? Mm-hmm. How often is a number 3? He just went from being one of the best backups in the league. Bijan Robinson's rookie season, they were splitting carries because the coaching staff loved him so much. So, I mean, how often do you see a guy signed in free agency and then traded before they play a game? It just doesn't happen.
No, that's most likely not going to happen. This is a LaFleur pick. I mean, it's pretty clear that if you go through Monty Ossenfort's track record, he's never not taken a premium position in the first round or second round of a draft. LaFleur wants to run the ball, wants to get condensed, wants to do fun things in the passing game. He's probably seen all the Christian McCaffrey stuff. Well, he's certainly seen it with the Rams up close and personal. Seen the impact that kind of multifaceted weapon can have. It's still just ultimately, for all the talk of the impact he can make in the passing game, and I believe he can do that, it has to be to the McCaffrey levels to justify the investment. That is what you're betting on. We got ourselves the next Christian McCaffrey, which is just really difficult to do. Everyone talks about, hey, you can go and play in the slot. Hey, you can shuffle outside the formation. The primary job and just the snap distribution is they run the ball. And it's going to be a run-centric offense. I understand that. But this is most certainly not a Monty Ossenfort pick. This is a LaFleur plus ownership pick.
That's an interesting part of this. How much do you think that alienates Monty? Not that it matters, because he knows the organization he signed up for. And by the way, the pick is in for the Titans here, and you would assume that they're going to get Arvell Reese, or maybe they'll go Sonny Styles over Reese, and we'll just be an absolute shambles. But how much do you think this? I mean, just the room in Arizona right now, it is probably like easy to talk yourself into, well, at least we got an awesome player in Jeremiah, because they did. So it's not like disaster of all disasters in that way. But if Arvell Reese becomes the player that you and I think he can become, it's just going to be hard for them to stomach what they passed up on in that division, especially.
I'm looking at the Titans room now. A lot of hugs. I'm seeing that Brian Daboll is on the phone. Checking my phone isn't ringing, so it's not us. So if Brian Daboll's first on the phone, does that give us some kind of insight? Is that just a connection that Brian Daboll's very close to the Ohio State staff, and that could be one of 3 guys? Or is that we went offense first and we wanted to get Brian Daboll on the phone looking very cheery?
I'm tweeting out right now that we're talking about the Cardinals taking Jeremiah Love over the number 1 player on our boards. The number 1 player on our boards and the number 2 player on our boards. Is Downs number 2 for you?
Downs was number 1.
Number 1. Okay. So him
and Reese effectively had the same grade, but Downs was like a 100 percentage point, decimal point ahead.
Okay, the Titans selection. Here comes Goodell. Are they going to be the big winners
I
in
mean, if
our
they
eyes,
take
at least?
Arvel, give it to me, Roger.
Come on, Raj. Carnell Tate? This is an insane. This is already crazy.
When you see Dayball's first up on the phone, and you know he's super tight with the Ohio State staff. Wow.
Not the player you thought maybe they would be going for. And now, if you are the Chiefs and you are the Saints, wow, you might be trying to get up that board in a hurry right now, Ollie.
I'm not sure that the Giants would move down from having a chance to take Arvel Reese.
I don't think so either. This is throwing our mock drafts into disarray. The Giants have to be ecstatic right now. Maybe they already knew this was coming, but okay, Carnell Tate going this high, just not on my bingo card at all. I mean, the 6 would have been fine, would have been understandable to me. Help me wrap my mind around this one. In some ways, I love the fact that Cam Ward's getting this player. It's not at all what I would have done with this pick, although I like Carnell Tate quite a bit, just to give people an idea where he is on my board. He's 8th on my board, so I like him, but the number 1 player in the class, and he's in a different Arvel Reese, Caleb Downs, and Jeremiah Love too are in a different tier than the rest of the players in this class, in my opinion. And so I just think when you have a chance to drop that player, you take them. But I think we also do need to talk a little bit about just the actual players and where they're going to, and the fact the Titans are getting a real playmaker who I think could fit very well with Cam Ward.
Fits them really well, really fits Brian Dayball's offense. They want to have a vertical stretch element in there. Tate is a tall, lean, I would say smoother than fast receiver, bit of a long strider, has an unbelievable feel for how to stack and then break the leverage of corners down the field. So he gets open, he creates separation through every phase of the route. I would say there are some question marks about just straight bump and run coverage. He gets ridden off the route path more than you would like from your number 1 overall receiver in the class. He was my number 1 receiver in the class, but it was below the traditional tier of the Jamar Chase and Malik Neighbors people in that realm, purely because of some questions against true bump and run coverage. Going to an offense where that is going to be something that he faces a lot. This is not a heavily condensed offense. It's going to be super spread out. But Cam Ward wants to be a vertical player. Brian Daboll wants to be a vertical player. And though Tate is not a electric burner, he creates massive chasms of vertical separation, is a real threat to the intermediate portion of the field too. Catches everything. He's just automatic. Away from his frame, tough combat catches. I think he's got more in the bag transitioning catch to run. I think he's really smooth transitioning catch to run. It was just not a core feature of the offense at Ohio State. An unbelievable double move salesman, just unbelievable. And that's a big, big part of Brian Daboll's offense with the Cam Ward arm to go with it. I totally get from their perspective. If they were going offense and they put all that investment, free agency plus trades into the defense, they decided we want to go and get an offensive playmaker to go and help out Cam Ward. It's either going to be Jeremiah Love or our number 1 receiver. Tate was my number 1 receiver, very clearly their number 1 receiver. Makes sense to me.
Does make sense to me from that standpoint as well. And I don't know. I see this as more of a issue for the Cardinals than for the Titans, to me, passing on Reese, because I think if you're the Titans, you're at least investing in your rookie quarterback that you have. You know, I think that matters a lot. And so would you be able to get a player of this caliber? You know, to me, I have 2 wide receivers in this top tier, and he was one of them. He was the number 1 wide receiver for me in the class. And I feel the best about translating quickly to the league, being able to play in a lot of different systems, potential looks. I think that matters a lot too. So yeah, I think this is a totally reasonable selection for the Titans. Shocking selection, but a totally reasonable selection. But it should have massive implications behind them as well, Ollie, which we'll talk about in a second here. The Giants pick at number 5 is already in. They ran that sucker to the table, I'm sure, in a dead sprint. But it is really interesting, the thing you said before the pick was announced. Brian Daboll was on the phone. It seems like his influence is heavily felt in that room right now. With them going wide receiver and going offense with that pick, it seems like he has been at least a voice that is recognized in that room as one of the people leading the charge for who they're going to take with this pick. That's pretty unusual for an offensive coordinator to have that kind of influence.
It is. I guess, you think about it, they brought Brian Daboll in. Brian Daboll attached himself. He had multiple offers to attach himself to young quarterbacks. He chose Cam Ward. I'm guessing he chose that with the influence and understanding. Here is what I want to build that I think will best support the young quarterback. The future of everyone in the building relies on, is this quarterback good or not? even down to we're bringing in my center, bringing in Schlottman from the Giants. No one knows or cares who Schlottman is. Brian Daboll loves Schlottman. I need him snapping balls to Cam Ward. Here's the offensive architecture I think about. We're going to overpay for Wan'Dale Robinson. That's my guy. Fits my architecture. And then obviously having heavy say in which the receivers he prefers just for his system, and then who would best help Cam Ward. And I do think some of the spray and the lack of just rhythmic accuracy in Cam Ward's game right now, it suits you to have someone like Carnell Tate, who has just excellent tracking down the field, can create late separation, can grab the ball away from his frame. Is just a natural playmaker in the air too. He can really rise and contort. He might not be the highest of leapers, but he can go up and get it from anywhere. So I think that helps too, as opposed to maybe a more inconsistent, splashy type playmaker like a Jordan Tyson, who was number one on other teams' boards.
This Giants pick, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Jordan Tyson. Everybody's talking about those for the last week. Those are the three. Who are they going to choose? Styles hype was dying down. Caleb Downs hype, Jordan Tyson hype was picking up. 2 picks in the top 10. Could it be Downs and Tyson? Would they be able to get both of them? Do they want an offensive lineman? Probably not at 5, but later. Now they might have a chance to take RVL Reese. They're going to be able to choose here between the top 2 players on both of our boards at the number 5 overall pick. So assuming they don't mess this up, they are obviously going to be winners. Before we get, because the pick is in, they're on commercial break right now, so we don't know who that pick is yet, although I'm sure people on Twitter might know. But you and I, we've closed the chat, we've closed out Twitter, we're not looking at any of this stuff, which has been great, by the way. We're just live reacting to the picks and having our minds blown by what these teams are doing. The Giants stand to be huge winners already. Not to mention they've got the 10th pick. There's a real chance they could get 2 of these guys maybe in Sonny Styles. How much of that is going on in their mind right now in terms of like, okay, wait, 3 guys that we want are on the board, plus the Jordan Tyson's on the board? Like, it couldn't have played out better for them. Could not have played out better. It's almost so many options.
It's obvious. They were like, spoiled for choice. Like, oh no. I'd say this. I know the number 1 player on their board is Caleb Downs. Would they take Caleb Downs over Arvell Reese? I'm not sure they would do, just because the positional impact. They're chasing hybrid players. The hybrid player in the front 7 may be more valuable to them if he can be a true edge rushing threat and or just part of the pressure packages that Denard Wilson wants to run. That's just more inherently valuable than having the versatile dynamic safety. And they may think, hey, if we wanted to come out with offensive linemen plus Downs, or we wanted to come out with 2 of our premier blue chip players, we could still maybe get one of those other guys if we take Arvell Reese here at 5. But it also wouldn't shock me. They just said we're sticking to our board. We're taking who we have graded as the best player in the draft, which would be Downs.
All right, good. I was coming up to the podium here. Either way, I think they're winners. I both players graded super similarly to me. Downs probably does fill a bigger need for them, maybe, but if with Reese as an off-ball linebacker, both are really needs for them. And loving Downs the way they do, maybe that is still the pick, would be a correct one for our mock draft if it does end up going that way.
I'm almost nervous for them now.
So we have our sound off so we can hear each other. And so the mics aren't picking up our TV. So we're not actually hearing what he says. We wait till the text shows up on the screen.
I'm trying to lip read Goodell, get a sense of his body language.
Show the crowd, see what their reaction is.
The Commanders must just be on edge when they came filtered through them.
I think we did the Chiefs trade up to number 6. The Chiefs are on the Chiefs traded up with the Browns. They must have announced on TV, but I see they're next on the ticker anyway.
Oh,
so Kansas City's at 6 now. They
went up for Reese. They must have gone up for Reese. Who else
would
they go for?
So do they know who the Giants took then?
Yeah, they'll already know who the.
Yeah, so they must have already known and pulled the trigger on the trade.
It's either Tyson.
So the Giants took Downs. Did they? This kid's announcing it. No, we're watching this on mute is really killing us. Arvell Reese. So they took Arvell Reese. So the Chiefs are coming up for Downs. Maybe we'll see.
Tyson.
Oh boy. They can't. I mean, they need more bites of the apple. We've talked about that. If they're going up, it better be for special player. This is the dream for me, Ollie. I said this to you back in the beginning of the offseason, basically. Is there any way that Arvell Reese could get to the Giants pick? Because I just want to watch Arvell Reese, Abdul Carter. I would love to if Lawrence were here still too. That would be even more fun. Brian Burns and Thibodeau is still here too. All play together. Like, this is one of the most explosive defenses in the NFL right now already. And they've got the 10th pick. They could get Downs with the 10th pick. This will be like number 1 defense I want to watch this season if they're able to get both those guys. We'll see.
Completely agree with you. I mean, absolute no-brainer. Best all-around player in the draft. Special blend of size, speed, and strength. Plays with real tenacity and physicality at the point of attack, whether it's up on the line of scrimmage as kind of a heavy end, whether it's crashing down towards the line of scrimmage as an off-ball linebacker. I prefer him as an off-ball linebacker. Other teams prefer him as an edge rusher. The Giants announced him as an edge rusher. I think he's going to play all around the formation. It's the ideal scheme fit. They're going to do all the creative sim and pressure stuff. Think of some of the fronts they can roll out with Abdul Carter and Arvel Reese on one side of the formation together. You put the bigger bodies on the other side of the formation. They are going to have an absolute blast figuring out ways to use him. And they just brought in, I think, a special difference-making type player. John Harbaugh's first draft pick to reestablish and set what he wants his culture to be. And they just got the most hybrid, versatile, explosive player in the draft with the 5th overall pick.
Yeah, this is just an absolute home run and easily the place of the top 5 that I wanted him to end up. So I feel like we all want as football fans too. He goes to a really competent coaching situation, and I just think there's a real good chance he gets maximized maybe a little bit better. We'll see. I was worried about that with the Jets, just what they would do with him. Would they be creative enough with him? I think was a concern I had. I don't think you need to be creative with him, but it seems like teams are sort of the, well, we need him to rush. Like, to justify the pick, we need him to rush. And I don't necessarily think that they need that. By the way, the Chiefs got this pick. I think, what did they add? We are going to need to at least check the compensation to see what they got. I think it said they got, like, for this pick. How many spots would this be? 3?
Yeah.
3 spots. I wonder what the value of that is. We can find out compensation.
Are they going up for Bane to get ahead of the Commanders and Saints?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't think the Commanders spent so much in the offseason at addressing edge rusher, but maybe they don't feel like any of it's still having one on a rookie contract.
The last intel I had, and it could be complete smokescreen stuff, was that the Commanders really liked Tyson. They were going offense. They liked Tyson. Are the Chiefs trying to lead them for Tyson?
Yeah. There was, Jeremy Fowler wrote a lot about how Sonny Styles is like one of Dan Quinn's favorite players he's ever scouted, and like had a lot of, seemed like pretty direct insight in that too. So perhaps if they don't go wide receiver, the Commanders, that they could go Sonny Styles too. But the Chiefs moving up here is really interesting, Ollie. I just don't, I've told you, look at their roster. I know they don't think they're going to be picking up here very often, but that's betting on Mahomes, obviously just being a magic. But they have a lot of holes. Like, they are not by any stretch of the imagination just like a roster ready to roll. They need bites of the apple. And I'm just not convinced that this will be the right move, and we'll see who they take with this. But giving up picks to do that, I think, is just, I don't know. It's just, it wouldn't be a process that I would necessarily get behind.
Continuing the Brett Veach fraud alert. Is that what you're saying? Right. It's on fraud.
I think sometimes it is easy to call these guys frauds when they have the best player in football and they're not, as soon as they have a little drop off for a couple, I think that, but he's done a lot of questionable things, and I question this one a little bit for sure.
So they gave up a 3rd rounder and a 5th rounder and the 9th overall pick. Cheap. These are cheap deals to move up in this first round.
You're right about that. That's not a super expensive cost. I would say 3 picks. I don't have off the top of my head. I don't know what like the precedent necessarily would be. But yeah, I would say that's it's interesting.
If this is Sonny Styles, I'm about to sprint around the office. It's going to be beer season, boys. It's putting Sonny Styles and Steve Spagnuolo's offense. That would be a dream. Could it be Mansour Delane? Could it be Ruben Bain? Is it Jordan Tyson? Is it the first tackle off the board? I feel like they would be too rich to go up for the first tackle. What are you thinking? Let's make predictions.
I think, to me, your process of Jordan Tyson makes sense, but I do wonder a little bit, Caleb Downs, just the special player. Maybe you thought the Commanders would take him.
It's a wrap if it's Caleb Downs.
Is that what you're guessing? I'm guessing Downs.
Okay, you've convinced me. No, I'm going Styles.
Oh, wow. Mansour Delane. I got this right in my mock. I had him at 9, but did they need to jump the Saints then, or the Commanders for Mansour Delane?
Seems that way.
Wow. I love Mansour Delane. We didn't even mention him. Mansour Delane goes over Caleb Downs. All the GMs said they thought Caleb Downs is their favorite player. Don't tell me positional value doesn't affect things still. These guys all thinking that it does. Delane is this cornerback room is depleted. How often have you and I talked about it? They haven't been able to replenish the way that they did at the peak of their powers. They have lost guys and not been able to replace those with comparable players. Mansour Delane is by far the best corner in this class. Well, Jermod McCoy, I think, and him are in the same tier for us, but with McCoy's injury, he might not even be a first-round pick. So if you don't get Delane and you need a corner, you should be prepared to take on some risk or development or a specific scheme fits. There's some limitations with the rest. With Delane, just a player you and I absolutely loved on tape. How high was he on your board?
Incredibly high. I think he
Sixth
was like
for me.
I think he was the fifth or sixth player. Yeah.
Sixth for me too. So no doubt a really good pick. You and I obviously love Caleb Downs, so that's a part of this too.
That is a part of it, but I love this fit for them. Mansour Delane, I've said it throughout. People who've not listened to us before, I'm obsessed with Kamara Lassiter. I think that Mansour Delane is a quicker Kamara Lassiter. A light, well-rounded, but physical corner, really is active in the run game, really is active in the perimeter screen game, an unbelievable tackler, destructive into blocks, aggressive getting off of blocks, completely well balanced in terms of what he can do in zone coverage, sitting off, reading route combinations, driving and attacking the ball, has sensational press technique. I mean, it is full teach tape stuff in terms of press technique. The only real concern in his game would be what happened. Why was he a 1 year breakout guy where he went from being a liability down the field, matching vertical threats, to being one of the most polished cornerback prospects you will ever see in your life in terms of the combination of what he does in press and zone. Typically with these draft prospects, because of the systems they play in, they are excellent bump and run corners, right? Who look a little bit lost when they're playing out in space, or they're really quick trigger close guys playing from depth, and you question some of the press technique. I have almost no reservations or no questions about Mansour Delane. I think he can play in any system. I think he can play inside, outside. I think there's real potential there as a blitzer. He is so physical. He is so intelligent. And to get that toy to go with Steve Spagnuolo gets me all kinds of fired up.
All kinds of fired up to go with Steve Spags, like you said, especially just such a great fit. The player and the culture of the organization, what they've done with corners that are less talented than him, frankly, just for him, there can't be better. If you could just handpick where Mansour Delane could go in the draft, and you were just like, you can go anywhere, the money doesn't matter, the acclaim doesn't matter, all that stuff. Pick the system, pick the team, pick the coach. You pick the Chiefs, right? I mean, like, dream scenario for him, I'd say.
Dream scenario for him. Great scenario for them. I understand there's players we slightly prefer, but if you were in their spot, which is, as you said, we don't think we're going to be here all that often. It's not that crazy expensive to get even higher up in a spot we're not used to. And we think we can take a premier position with the only premium player because of Jermod McCoy's knee. We said this stat before. It's worth repeating again for people who haven't heard it. He did not allow 2 receptions to the same receiver in any single game last season. He is
crazy.
True lockdown, shutdown, shadow type player. I don't think he's quite the instinctive playmaker that Jermod McCoy is, but he's pretty damn good playing off the ball, triggering and closing, and he forces a absurd number of turndowns, which within itself, to me, is a version of playmaking. I know Steve Spagnuolo is with that same mindset. Turndowns are just as impactful as incompletions. Do you have to go always make the play at the catch point? He'll do it plenty for you. Maybe not as much as the best guys in the league, but it's going to be in the Lassiter to Satan type levels where it's just turn down after turn down and big physical hits, both after the catch and then setting the edge and rallying down to the flats.
Okay, the Commanders are picking here. Is this Caleb Downs? I mean, I think or Sonny Styles, since they're picking and not trading back, I would guess that they're really intrigued by what's on the board. I think the most unexpected player on the board is probably Caleb Downs. Would the Commanders have traded back? It was Jordan Tyson the pick here. Those are all kind of the names roll around our head. We were surprised by the last one.
It's got to be one of those 3, I think. If it's offense, it's Tyson. Defensively, it's got to be so hard. With Daronte Jones there running the all mugged up, all attack-based defense, you need 2 things. You need hybrid, versatile, nickel, safety, and you need all gas linebacker who can drop out and cover. They've got both of them available to them. Which one do they want to take?
Unbelievable spot to be in for them too, I would think. I know maybe people were like, oh, do they want Delane? But I mean, they need corners, but it's a great spot to be in for sure. Sonny Styles to Washington. Hats off, Jeremy Fowler. You were correct. Dan Quinn loves him some Sonny Styles. So Caleb Downs continues to slide a little bit here. I had predicted to you that Sonny Styles would maybe be the player that
Mhm.
slides, and maybe some would say that he did even getting to 7 is, but I thought there was a chance that he was going to go beyond this because I don't think the Saints will take him, and I don't. Who's at 9 now? The
The
Browns. The Browns
Browns?
won't take him,
No.
and so and at 10 the Giants may have taken him, but not after they got Reese. So this was really a stopping point for him, maybe potentially sliding into the teens. A really good player and obviously a huge position of need for them, right? They have Leo Chenal, Frankie Louvu's here. He's probably becomes more of a package player for them, would be my guess. But I think he does really help their defense. The just question would be, again, comparing him to other players on the board, but I think he's a massive boost for their defense. And now the Saints get a chance to take Caleb Downs here at 8.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the Saints will do that or not, if they're
I
gonna
don't
go
know either.
Jordan Tyson, and could Cleveland move down again? Say we just shuffle back a few spots or waiting on the lineman and auction the pick and say who wants Caleb Downs ahead of the Giants. I think that's completely in play. Sonny Styles, former safety turned linebacker, absolutely enormous freak athlete, just completely uncommon movement skills for someone playing. And he's got the prototypical linebacker frame with uncommon movement skills. The comb everyone has used is Fred Warner. I don't quite see that in terms of the instincts and physicality to the
Yeah.
degree that Fred Warner plays with. He is a one-on-one, once-in-a-lifetime type player, but it is a ridiculously good scheme fit. If they want to still dabble in some of the Dan Quinn stuff, and it's not just full Durante Jones, Brian Flores part two, I imagine it's going to be a hybrid of the two. Finding someone who can cross over between those two systems, the best way to do it is to have Sonny Styles. Immediate natural disguise. You can package the other linebackers on when you're getting into some other Durante Jones stuff, but you just want to play Rippler's match coverage over and over again. You need a linebacker who can run and move in space. Sonny Styles is the guy.
They really needed a 3 down versatile guy, didn't they?
Mhm.
Because Luvu's a nice player, but he's not that type of player. There are real limitations to him as a player. Leo Chenal is a player that basically has his the Chiefs have told us for years we think he's a limited player, and the Commanders signed him free agency, but not to a massive contract. They really haven't had anybody like this in the middle of the defense. What was the one thing I said to you over and over and over and over again every week when we talked about the Commanders in season? They are so slow.
So
They
slow.
are just so slow at every level. Their linebackers are the slowest in the league. Not anymore. They needed linebacker badly. They obviously did some things offseason. Maybe you're like, oh, Leo Chenal, maybe that's enough. But this was a huge need for them. And the other thing I think they needed, and Bobby Wagner not being on this team, they really needed leadership. They need a guy who's going to be on the field as the general communicator for the team. I don't think they have that in defensively. And so he gets a chance to do that as a rookie, which is pretty rare.
And Dan Quinn, one of the things he has been, just belligerent about is he really values guys in college who were the green dot guys who led the communication system and guys who come from a pro style communication system into the league. That there's not going to be this huge learning curve. Sonny Styles come from an NFL package based defense, called everything for all three levels of the defense. So it makes a ton of sense why he was the guy they would fall in love with. You've got all the crazy physical assets to go and be one of the best 3 down linebackers in the NFL and the stuff you were talking about in terms of what he can just bring to the huddle immediately.
Absolutely. It's a great fit and a nice pick for them. You do wonder, Caleb Downs, that defense, that'd be a big need for them as well. I think that's a player that could really help them too. So we're going to keep mentioning it, but at the same time, I don't think it's worth Downs is second on my board. Styles is fourth. They're tiered differently. I do have Downs a tier above, but we're not so arrogant in our boards as to say, oh, they didn't pick exactly the next player on our board. All these picks are getting an F. Like, no, that's not how we're seeing this. And so I think it's worth saying
Yeah,
like that we love Downs and it would have been a good fit here, but it's hard to say that Styles isn't a great pick here.
great. I mean, I'm the linebacker obsessive. He was the third overall player on my board. You get the third overall player at 7. Not a huge gulf in final grade between Caleb Downs, the number 1 player, and Sonny Styles, the third player. And it's just such a ridiculously good fit for them. That I just, frankly, nothing to criticize. The only thing I would say about Sonny Styles is I think that there's some slightly overstated diagnose and attack stuff with him.
Mhm.
The idea that he'll just step in as a great coverage player from day one, I think, is an unfair expectation. Most guys struggle in coverage in the league to begin with. He has all the tools, all the intellect to be really good at that down the road. It's just hard to say in year one, you're going to call everything in the huddle. You're going to be the best tackler on the team. You're going to be able to play as a blitzer, play on the end for us, mop everything up, playing sift and find football at the second level, and be a plus guy in coverage. Guys just don't step in the league and do that no matter how gifted they are as linebacker prospects.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I thought with Sonny Styles, because he's new to the position, there was signs that he's progressing in a lot of these ways, Ollie, but I don't think it was the same thing as watching Fred Warner. But Fred Warner wasn't the same thing as watching Fred Warner early on either. So, ceiling to hit some really high marks as a linebacker, I think it's definitely in there with him. Zach Bond, possibilities, tendency, things like that. Yes. The one thing with Sonny Styles is interesting to me is people ask throughout the process, Sonny Styles is huge. Why don't people talk about him being an edge defender with like they do Arvell Reese? Watch him play. I just don't think he's that type of player. I did not give him high marks for his pass rush ability in college. And so that's one area where I'd be looking for him to improve. It's been interesting. Washington, we've talked a little bit about weaponizing their linebackers as blitzers has been a part of this the defensive, I guess, change, but also like just when they went to the NFC Championship game, it was like a big thing, right? It was a big talking point for us. And then last year they ran up against limitations and just the whole thing kind of fell apart. But I wonder whether they see Styles as more of a, okay, we can return to not doing as much of this stuff, or if he is going to be a part of the pressure board, how they see him, and then how he progresses in that way, because it's big for linebackers in modern NFL. And I thought that was one thing that I have a question mark on with his tape.
He has to be part of the pressure game for them. He has the oh shit speed to be able to mug up and drop out, and he is mugged up and dropped a match middle pole running, high level slot receivers running down the field with him. That's just not normal. And he's got the blurry speed off the snap to just be a part of the game. We talk about it all the time. If you can just create panic, your job is done. You have to have all the moves in the back to be that kind of on ball pass rushing linebacker. And he can really rip it, I think, from depth as the second guy through. Dan Quinn is more one way. Dan Quinn loves the little cross dog stuff, the little 2-man games. He loves the single man plug. I question some of Sonny Styles' pop at the point of attack more than most people did, I will say. I still had him great as the third ice guy. I didn't think he was quite as physical as always suggested. I think a lot of that came post combine when you were trying to find reasons to explain the crazy athlete. I do think when he was given the trigger to go and it was pre-designed and it was a run blitz or a second man through on blitz stuff, he really, really did get after it. I think he wants to play a quick stack and shed, slip and slide, work underneath blocks type game at the second level, despite the fact that he's 6'4", 200 odd pounds. I think it's because he played a safety and is used to descending down and having to slip into bigger guys for the majority of his career. He can certainly improve at that physical side of the game. I think he can be a real weapon as a blitzer, just in terms of pure athleticism. I think he can create chaos for you. And he, to me, is a real nice transitive point between how Dan Quinn likes to get after it in the pressure world and how Durante Jones likes to get after in the pressure world. That he's one of the guys who can bridge those two divides, where it isn't just it's one guy's system, it's the other guy's system.
Interesting. The Saints selection is in, and here it comes Roger Goodell to the podium. This is the 8th pick in the draft. We are at 8:58. So at our current rate, Ollie, we're about an hour for every 8 picks, and there were some of the quick ones in this. So I guess it is moving quicker than it was. Maybe that started a little bit after 8. Did they get started a little after? Maybe so. So hopefully we're not going too late here, but the pace that we're on, we would be around midnight. Which is what, 5 a.m. there?
5 a.m. Yeah.
Here we go. The Saints pick. Jordan Tyson, offense to the Saints. Is this another pick right in my mock? I'm trying to remember now. I'm getting confused. I think I had this in my mock.
We definitely had it in our joint mock.
Yeah, I think I had this. I'll double check. But how do I feel about this pick? Not my next wide receiver. So I would say I can say Casey Concepcion as my next wide receiver. Omar Cooper, my 3rd wide receiver. Jordan Tyson, my 4th wide receiver. Is how my board finished out. He's a tier down. He's a green tier player for me. He's tier 3 player for me. Is he the lowest tiered player that's been drafted for me? Definitely. Yes, he and Mendoza in the same tier, but for a quarterback, obviously it works different. So definitely first player not in my first 2 tiers, and first player not in my first 17. So he was 21 on my board. Like him as a player. Here's my strengths for him. My strengths for Jordan Tyson: I think he can separate against press coverage at the line of scrimmage. I think he's explosive in his feet. Does it take sometimes too long? Is there a tendency for him to be inefficient in what he does? Sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it isn't. That inconsistency drives me nuts, because sometimes it's right and it's perfect and it looks so good. Other stretches of the game, he disappears. I don't think he is as versatile in terms of the overall usage of the offense as some of these other guys, but I think he can really move. I think when he's on, in spurts. You see you see the athleticism, you see the ability to go up and catch the ball. I think there's just inconsistencies in overall game, inconsistencies in how he gets off press, inconsistencies in finishing on the football, inconsistencies in contested or physical situations. As a blocker, I think he is very narrow framed, and I don't think he'll thrive in that role in the league. In 2024, he put his face in the fan more often as a blocker. I will give him that. I don't see him being super impactful in that way in the league. I know you can pull some college clips and talk yourself into it. I don't think he has the technique, the strength, or the consistent desire to go in there and make a difference. So who is he? He's a go get your own bucket wide receiver. That matters. Third down, low red zone situations. He can be helpful to a team. I really don't like him for the Saints because I think they already have one at home in Chris Olave. I think they're fairly similar players, and I'm curious to see how you would respond to that part of it. But I would say he's in a bucket of receivers for me with like Olave and Jerry Jeudy minus the drops and just I don't think he's quite the head case Judy's been, but those kinds of players who in isolated situations, even specific games, Judy, you can think about his 200-yard game or whatever, you can be like, oh my gosh, like this guy's a beast. The peak version of this player type, could he be Amari Cooper? Is it more likely he's Garrett Wilson? What is kind of your thoughts on a bunch of the names I'm throwing out there and how his game compares to them?
Well, it depends on which flashes you want to go to. There are flashes and maddening I find him to be maddeningly inconsistent, both in terms of effort and technique. He is really loosey-goosey. He can be really efficient off the ball. A lot of false stepping, a lot of like trying to get the clips for TikTok in terms of the footwork and release package. And then you can isolate unbelievable craftiness to get off the line of scrimmage. He has got the hezzy moves. He can shrink his shoulders. He's got all different kinds of foot moves to be able to get off the line of scrimmage. I think he can rip out at the break. Even that can be elongated at times. It really does come down to which play you're getting snap to snap. I think the main upside with him, really good on the backside dig stuff, really good on the deep overs when he can clear through the second level. And then it's just how acrobatic he is. And the thing I think that is most special about him, if you said, what's the most special trait? I think his spatial awareness and body control are different. And those are
I
skills
agree
that
with the body
remind
control.
me,
That's a good point. Yeah.
those remind me in certain grabs of Odell, that he has an ability to find the voids in zone, understand when two guys are converging on him, and he can kind of set where his body's at and be able to kind of turn around behind him, get away from the frame, and it's just really fluid. And then I think also when he's in phase with a corner along the sideline, he can really levitate, get up there, and go get the ball. I don't think he's a burner. I don't think he's going to take the top off any defense. I would say Olave can probably do more of the stack and get past leverage as not a true burner.
That's a good point.
I think Tyson gets more tied up and becomes more of your intermediate, short, quick in breaking stuff, red zone stuff that you mentioned. So I like it for Shook. I just because I think he can be a somewhat big play guy after the catch, and that he can always just go get you a bucket, as you mentioned. It's 3rd and 6. Pocket is imploding. If he's even, he's open because I can just throw it to the sideline. The guy can go up and get it off anyone.
I wonder if he's just the type of receiver that like has enough good games throughout the course of his career, like through the course of a season, that you're like, oh, he's good. But then when you're like, oh, where does he get paid in relation to other players? It's just like, yeah, it's not going to be the same.
I wound up with him thinking he's going to be a sensational compliment who has these crazy highlights and goes off, but he's not the kind of guy I want to design the entire offense around. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, they don't have to do that with the line they have in the run game. They can probably fuel, and then having Olave as well.
And then there's the players they didn't take as well. Here's the Browns on the clock. They take Spencer Fano, and Caleb Downs is continuing to slide down the board. The Browns take the first offensive lineman off the board in this class, and Spencer Fano from Utah with the 9th overall pick. Now, I will give the Browns this. They traded down, and that was so important for them. They are one of the, to me, long-term focus is the way forward that compared to anything short-term that you would do as a franchise. And so being able to add even any picks, 3rd and a 5th, great. Okay, you added something. And still be able to get the player that I'm assuming was top on the board. That is good process, at least, I would say. Spencer Fano is nowhere near here on my board.
You're the hater, so you begin with the Spencer Fano bashing.
Yeah, I think I just really question if he's a tackle, and that really matters, I think. And I think even people who like him question if he's a tackle. People have him high on the board, like he might be a guard. That's fine if you think he's going to be an awesome guard. The Browns aren't drafting him. They're drafting him because they think he's going to change the game and be a franchise tackle for them. That's what they need long term. it's just not the basket I would have put my eggs into. I think that he's really inconsistent out of his stance, even. I would say he has explosive traits, explosive flashes. I don't think he's consistently explosive in terms of how he moves out of the stance. I think he's kind of stiff and upright in a lot of his movements. I don't think the length is necessarily there either. He looks uncomfortable pass protecting on the edge. Like his set points, where they are, he relies a ton on just being an athlete and running people up the arc and kind of being able to turn them out. To the Giants, just
They ran a pickup.
they're going to get Caleb Downs and Arvell Reese, aren't they?
I'm about to have a party.
This is unbelievable. This is the fastest I've ever seen anybody turn in a pick. They can't believe they took Francis Maui Noah. Oh, Caleb Downs is on the board at 11. The Dolphins, the Cowboys.
The Giants said they were going offense, defense,
and they stuck with it with Caleb Downs.
and they were going to take the best lineman. And this is, we're taking Maui Noah because we're fine with the back, and we're taking him over Wenger because we want to have the flexibility to play you at right guard in the first year. Now, if Julian Illumino doesn't play up to the contract, or as the contract expires, we can kick you out to tackle. We are not forced to play you at tackle the way the Browns probably with Spencer Fano. We're going to try that early on. I really like Francis Maui Noah inside. That's where I had him graded out, was as a guard. I think he's going to play right guard for them right away. He fits the culture and the vibe of what they want to do. Big, powerful, imposing guard, can really strike people off the ball in the run game. So it makes sense for them in terms of what they're going for. I would have preferred to just take Wenger if you're just going to take a guard. I understand they're putting a premium on having the versatility to maybe play tackle and move on from Jermaine Illuminor in a year.
The picks are coming fast right now, man. Like we had the Browns make a pick fast, and then the Giants and the run on tackles has started early. This could affect some people. Talk to me about Spencer Fano and Francis Maui Noah compared to where you have them on the board, and now they're coming off the board. I think both best spot in the league is going to be as interior offensive lineman. For the Giants, that actually would be okay because they have Andrew Thomas at left tackle, assuming he's able to stay healthy. Jermaine Illuminor just signed a contract to play right tackle. You know, he's older. It's not going to necessarily stop you from doing anything, I think, but there's a real chance Maui Noah could play inside and then move outside, I think, in his career. And I actually like Maui Noah at guard. No way I would have taken him over Venga Ioane, though. So I pushed back massively against that decision because of that.
I think that what they would have maybe had as a deciding factor is Wenger is a left side guy, Maui Noah is a natural right side guy with the tackle flexibility that they've already got Andrew Thomas long term. Can they shore up the right side for one season, then have him go out to right tackle and have your two bookend tackles, rather than with Wenger, you know it's just going to be him next to Thomas for 8 to 10 years.
Would you? So Maui Noah at right guard, you're thinking? Who's the right guard right now? The left guard is still John Runyon.
It's Evan Neal and Daniel Falale, is it not?
Oh, I forgot Evan Neal's a guard now. So no, our lads on their game as usual. Our lads has Francis Maui Noah at right guard. They don't miss a beat, these guys, man. Unbelievable. They're as on it as it gets, and let me tell you, it is appreciated. What an unbelievable site, ourlads.com. So he would be the starter. You're right, it was Faalale. I mean, clearly a need for them, just not the player I would have chosen. Is it really come down to that? I don't see Maui Noah as a tackle, even short or long term. You want to take a guard this high, then okay. If you want to take a tackle, not the right one. If you want to take a guard, not the right one, I would say. Plus, there's a medical concern. I don't know. With Caleb Downs on the board and other offensive linemen, I think it's a miss.
I think they were just so committed to going offense defense, and they were probably hoping it was going to be Jordan Tyson or just take whoever they thought was the best lineman available. They must either have it graded out. If they grade Maui Noah as a guard, they just like him more than Wenger, which I think is not a completely ludicrous thing to believe. It's not what I believe, but I don't think it's completely ludicrous. And then probably the bonus points for he could play tackle for us, whereas Wenger's just going to be a guard.
Yeah, that part might have put over the top. I mean, I do agree at least that Maui Noah has a better chance than Wenger. The Cowboys at playing tackle. The Cowboys have moved up to 11 here.
No,
the Dolphins.
Aren't they just at 11? Oh no,
no, they're at 12.
Oh,
the Dolphins were at 11, right?
Did they go up for Bain?
Bain is still here. Downs is still here.
Thieneman?
Would they have gone up for Thieneman? They had to get one spot up. And the Dolphins, again, they're long-term focus, right? We talked about this on our
Mhm.
mock pod. Just trying to keep moving down, right? If you're the Dolphins, your long-term focus. Now, I will say the Dolphins having the chance to draft Caleb Downs here and not taking it definitely hurts. But at the same time, are they a franchise that is ready to maximize who Caleb Downs is? That's a very realistic way of looking at it. I think that'd be a hard place to come to, and I would give them a lot of credit for looking in the mirror and just saying, "Look, we're not there right now."
This Cowboys pick, they could do anything because it's the Cowboys. They just live to their own board. But the guys that are available to them right now, and the main one to me being Caleb Downs,
I think it's going to be Caleb Downs for sure.
it has to be. You ID someone who's fallen, it has to be Caleb Downs.
If you took Thieneman over Downs, I would.
Would you be comfortable with Bane over Downs?
No, I'm not comfortable with anybody over Downs at this point. I just think this is an unbelievable football player, and he's falling down the board. Kyle Hamilton, Derwin James. How many times are we going to watch this happen?
I
When
know.
these guys transform a defense. Brian Branch fell in the second round.
I know.
It's just like the league doesn't get it. I don't understand. It's like they don't understand how impactful these players are until they're in the league, and then once they're in the league, they go crazy.
Eamon Wari, you can add in there too. I know we disagreed on some of the evaluation of him, but the proof of concept in the league in the ideal situation
Petrie.
with an unbelievable infrastructure. Jalen Petrie, maybe the best, most impactful of all the guys we just mentioned. I know Kyle Hamilton is just a better all-around play, but in terms of impact to the structure, Petrie may be the number one guy. It's on and on down the board, and you go and look through the top 5 defenses by EPA per play. They all have one of these players. The league keeps saying, "Oh, we'll wait till the 20s. We'll let all the good teams get those players. We'll wait till the second round."
The Spencer Fano one is still one I keep coming back to in the Maui No ones because the Giants is like, well, you could have taken all these other players. The Browns, we knew were going wide receiver or offensive line. So did they take the correct offensive lineman is worth discussing, I think, for them because they're a long-term focus thing. So that makes the Fano pick make a little more sense to me because I don't think he's ready. Whereas a Blake Miller, who I've rated higher, and I'm one of the few, and most people don't, but I would have said he's more ready. But for the Browns, that's okay. But you just look at some of the other talents. What makes Spencer Fano a better prospect at tackle than Max Ihanichor? What makes him a better tackle prospect than Monroe Freeling? That's the part that I think I'm having a hard time understanding. They all have issues on tape. And Fano was barely in true pass sets. And when he was, he got cooked by the best team that he faced. He had all kinds of issues. And so what are we kind of basing our evaluation of him off of compared to what we're basing these other guys off of who faced murderers rows of players and, had their issues. Every tackle in this class has their issues, no question. There's no Joe Alt in this group. That's the thing I don't quite get. Why is Fanu just considered above these guys throughout the whole process? I'm confused about that part.
The thing why I think it could be for the Browns, and I'm not saying I agree with this, is he has the potential to play all 5 positions. And they are probably just going to put the best 5 out there. They did all the work in free agencies, but it's like, who are the best 5 guys? What's the best group? He can just go into any spot. If you take Monroe Freeling, you're trying to develop him as your franchise tackle for the next 10 years.
Yeah. And Freeling is probably the one with the highest upside. He or Max Ihanichor are probably the ones with the highest upside, I would say. So here comes the Cowboys selection.
This better be Caleb Downs. Caleb Downs.
Okay, Caleb Downs is a Dallas Cowboy. They are one of the massive, massive winners of round 1 in this draft. And they got a player that they really needed. Now, they signed Jalen Thompson in free agency. They brought him in to play one of the safety spots. Malik Hooker's still here. Downs could do a number of different things for this defense, honestly. They could do a lot of different stuff with them. What do you think about just the fit with, obviously, we talked about this yesterday in the show. Who do we give? We gave Mansour Delane in a trade up to 9. The Chiefs ended up trading up to get Mansour Delane. But we talked about this a little bit just in terms of the Cowboys needing playmakers in the secondary, perhaps versatile playmakers with a new defensive coordinator who, again, I'm not saying he calls the shots or anything, but Christian Parker's there coming from Philly. Obviously, they've had a lot of players like this in their secondary. Most recently won a Super Bowl in large part because they got Quinion Mitchell and Cooper DeJean, 2 game changers in their secondary. How do you think Downs fits into what we're expecting? We obviously haven't seen Christian Parker run a defense unless was he a college defensive coordinator? I don't remember.
He was not, no.
Okay, so we were guessing here.
No, it's more in the Fangio vein. I think he wants to be a little bit spicier in the pressure package world, which I think Caleb Downs slots too nicely. I think he's just going to roll into the Cooper DeJean role. I think that's who he's going to be, where it's playing more overhang football in the run game, playing in a ton of zone coverage where you can just kind of see it, feel it, read it, key it, attack it. play some wall coverage, some kind of bump to spot type pseudo man coverage, which is what Cooper DeJean does as well as anyone. Destroy the flats, your favorite thing in football. Cooper DeJean eliminates that stuff. To me, Caleb Downs is the number one player in the draft. A dynamic, versatile safety, plays all over the defense, deep half, post, box, line of scrimmage, can blitz the backfield, can play as the M man on the line of scrimmage, can roll from anywhere to anywhere. It's going to be a 2 to rotate system, and he can either be the roll man in the 2 to rotate, he can play on the deep half, or he can just go and play nickel corner for you. That's more like Brian Branch to me. And so I think that's going to be some of the usage. Either he's going to be Cooper DeJean or Brian Branch. And the great thing about him and what is not a dramatic rotation system is just by the fact he can do it all and do it all at an elite level. I think he's got an unbelievable feel in the box. His understanding of blocking mechanics, how to attack and deconstruct blocks, how to take on the run game is as good as I think you'll ever find from a college safety. He's really smooth rolling and reacting in coverage. The fact he can survive as a post safety, though that's not the strength, the fact he can play in the box, the fact he can play in the slot, the fact he can play on the half field or rotate just brings you natural disguise to your defense in a way Brian Branch does when they push him back to safety and out of the nickel. In it for a system that is not going to be all these quirky, wonky rotations, you've got to get some disguise element into the defense, and it's going to be looking around, IDing where is Downs? Where is Downs pre-snap? Where is Downs post-snap? More beats are coming in, pass rush starts folding in without it having to be all these crazy different movements of 3 safeties and this corner rolls back. It's a unbelievable scheme fit. They got the best player in the draft. What was it, pick 11? I mean, they crushed it.
How do you get the best player in the draft to pick 11? Oh man, we do see this happen. I think it's just a great pick for the Cowboys. I think he's going to make a huge difference for them. You said it, the run defense stuff from depth for him in the box, his ability to fly around in the short areas of the field where safeties are actually impactful. Everybody's always trying, oh, look at the ball hawking play from single high. That rarely happens in the league. Most of the league is played top down. It's played in the box. It's played out on the perimeter. That's where the balls go in the majority of the time. Nobody impacts the game more in the entire class in those areas of the field than Caleb Downs. So I think that stuff is critically important and why I would have taken him much higher than this. Washington passed on him. The Giants passed on him twice, technically, even if you're going to say the first time was very understandable. He plays in the same division now. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. We'll see who ends up better.
He really has elements of Branch and Hamilton, and then a lot of Buddha going on too in terms of just the chaos and the blurriness.
I thought that too, yeah. But a better player, I think better prospect than Buddha was overall, and a little bit better size too. But yeah, you're right. I think some similarities.
And just a true force multiplier. It's going to make everyone on the defense around him better. Will naturally disguise the defense some more. I thought all the way through, I had him as the number 1 guy because I just thought he was a foundational piece for any defense, any system in the league. You would have to screw it up to get it wrong with Caleb Downs in terms of your usage of him. Even if you just said you're just a nickel corner for us, I think he can be a high-end prospect doing that. And he's just so much more than that.
I still think, yeah.
I had here as my ideal scheme fits
for the Dolphins.
Vic Fangio for Caleb Downs, Vic Fangio and Brandon Staley, and he's gone to a disciple of those 2 guys.
Oh, and there goes the Dolphins. Caden Proctor is going to the Miami Dolphins. This run on tackles has started. Who wants to get it now? Who are the next 2 teams picking here? It's the Rams. Maybe they do take a tackle. The Ravens. I don't think so. The Bucs won't take one, but the Bucs need trade interest in tackles, remember, because they want to move back.
The Rams off the board. Are heavily interested in Monroe Freeling.
And very well could be the pick here, which would be another tackle off the board. And we know they're interested in Freeling and Mekhi Lemon. They've been linked to Kenyon Sadiq. That one would really surprise me. That would be a kind of a crazy pick. The Ravens like Kenyon Sadiq. There's a lot of Kenyon Sadiq spots coming up here in the next, before we get to pick 20, basically. Could be a lot of potential landing spots for him. We'll see if he goes to any of those places. What do you think of Caden Proctor in Miami?
I was a much bigger fan than you, as you know. He is a true specimen in terms of size, weight, speed. He's a big boy. I do prefer him, I think, ultimately at guard, but I think he can be survivable at tackle. I think if he plays at guard, he can be really weaponized. Big, heavy mitts in the run game, creates a real surge at the point of attack. A lot of it comes and goes. He is up and down. I would say the first 6 to 7 weeks of the season were borderline embarrassing for someone of his talent. Slow out the stance, slow off the ball in the run game, kind of just survived on, I'm too big You just either have to run around and it's going to take a while, or you can't run through the midline. When he's dialed in, I think he's more athletically gifted than he was able to show on tape last season, where he has just enough foot speed and range to be able to hang outside at tackle. He is so incredibly strong. He can reset the point single handedly. He makes unbelievable blocks from compromised positions where he's getting bent back and he can get full extension and drive and clean people over. That is a lot of the game when you're in the mosh pit, the line of scrimmage, and shit is just going off. And one of those guys is Myles Garrett and Mason Graham's trying to shoot the back door. It's not all going to look like teach tape stuff. It's not all going to look like you work in the bags. I just think he's got the body composition to be able to survive that stuff. So I completely understand for the Dolphins saying it's a long-term project, long-term rebuild. He is incredibly young. Do not love him necessarily in that city for some of the concerns we know about him, about like he likes to just eat and sit at home. That's not great. That's not great to be in Miami for that stuff. But taking a really young prospect who I think has franchise caliber guard upside and survivable tackle type stuff, when you already have Patrick Paul, when you've already got a great center, they could drop him at left guard and have all kinds of torque and juice off the ball and power off the ball on the left side of the line of scrimmage.
I hope that the culture is strong enough to boost him. That's my concern. I think he did grow on me throughout the process. I mean, I think there was a lot of early on in the process. I was just kind of always joking around and always saying like, "Oh yeah, Caden Proctor, like he's going to be this high in the draft," which I think is a mistake. But I do think there's real talent here, and for Miami, a team with long-term focus, I understand some of that too. To take him, you're going to assume to play right tackle for them, or do they see him as a guard? I don't know. I mean, you wouldn't move Patrick Paul with how he's playing on the left side and how he's developed there. So you hope Caden Proctor will go to the right side. I am blanking as to whether he played the right side at all in college.
No, he came in as left tackle, played the entire time.
Yeah. Okay. So, or maybe they see him as an interior guy like Maui Noah early on. It'd be funny if these three guys who a lot of people think are the top tackles in the class then kind of went three. Everybody thought, is Monroe Freeling jumping them or some of these other guys jumping them? Nope. 1, 2, 3. They're the top three. I don't know if two of them will play tackle or as rookies, at least. They'll be interested because Austin Jackson's still there in Miami too. Now he's not going to, he could beat Austin Jackson out. Austin Jackson's not very good, but that would be another question just as, where does he fit early on? And is he a guy that you want just sticking at one spot and developing there? Or is he a guy that you feel like could bounce around and be okay?
I would like to have him at one spot and develop in there. The environment and the fit is going to be so essential. I do think it's a really good scheme fit. I had in my scouting report, people can go and read it on the read optional, that if he's going to survive at tackle, it's going to be a double heavy system in the run game. And they're going to be able to protect the tackles with tight, condensed pockets in terms of just the width of the offensive line, tight and condensed formations, lots of chips and lots of tight stuff with guys slipping out and just getting little nicks and knocks on the way through. This is the ideal setup for that, where it's really going to be a downhill power-based run game where he can do his most damage and then will not be left exposed in an island over and over again in the system they're going to run there in Miami. So I do like that fit. Does match the timeline. I liked him a lot more than where the consensus wound up on him. I know the league, all the O-line coaches like, this is the guy I can fix. He's just a different caliber of athlete. We get the weight under control. We'll figure it out. If you're taking home run swings as Miami, I would have preferred it to be Maxi Onachor. I just think he's a natural right tackle. And then you've got him and Paul. I think he's got a chance to just be a better tackle. But I did really like Caden Proctor. And so I think you can make some sense of it.
So here's the question. If you get past the stuff with Caden Proctor that's concerning, I actually think there can be a really helpful player. And I had him graded as a good starter. How high was he on your board if you have it ranked out that way, that this pick would have been the reach? Because this might be the biggest. He's 40th for me on the board. So I don't think that's insanely low. But when you look at, this high of a pick, I think it is a little harder for me to stomach.
I had him graded out as my 5th tackle. I would say that the guys above him,
you didn't even do a vertical board, did you? I keep asking you that.
No, I didn't do a vertical board. It is on my site somewhere. There's a vertical board. I'd have to go scroll through. But my 5th tackle, and I would say that Onachor and Freeling, there's more of a project involved there. So if you were taking a young guy a little bit more developed, I think Caden Proctor's problems are more consistent than technical flaws. I think he gets dinged as technically flawed. I think there's some outstanding technical work in his tape when he's dialed in and committed to the play. And often I found in the film, When he gets burnt badly off the snap, he gets dialed in for the rest of the drive. And it's like really committed, didn't like being embarrassed, and then locks in. And there's some really good independent hand usage, really good feel of how to kind of reset and re-anchor and re-go and shuffle his feet. Really gets after it in the run game. If someone gets him in pass pro, he buries them in the run game. So there's like a real tenacity of like, I don't want to be embarrassed. Can you get to that guy over and over again, relentlessly, drive after drive? The conditioning really worries me. The weight worries me. The work ethic worries me. Has to be the ideal environment. Not sure that Miami one necessarily is the ideal environment. But I do understand the pick because for me, it would have been, would you take Blake Miller? Probably move down again. The value is not there. I had Spencer Farno graded above him. Spencer Farno's already gone. So then you're between, are we into the project of Monroe Freeling, natural left tackle? We got a natural left tackle. Maxi Iheanacho, probably too rich for that, right? The other one was Caden Proctor, who was going to go off the board somewhere in the next 3 or 4 picks.
Yeah, the switching positions thing too is a little bit throws me off a little bit with the Proctor one because I'm like, yeah, how much of a struggle is that going to be for him to go, with the opposite hand, opposite foot, and how will that take some time to adjust if he is playing tackle? If he's playing guard, I think it'll be maybe a more on the left side, maybe a little more Jonas Sav. He's got to beat out Jonas Sav, Ollie.
He has to be playing right tackle. There's no way if they were grading him out as a guard at left guard, they would have took Wenger.
You would hope. The Giants, I mean, maybe they think Mino can eventually play tackle, like you said, but yeah. I mean, maybe that's the plan for Proctor too, is to eventually play right tackle, and maybe that'll be as a rookie. But Austin Jackson not being long for that franchise is not surprising. So it's just going to be a matter whether he can switch to the right side of tackle, which will be interesting. All right, the Rams selection. Goodell is at the podium for the Rams selection at 13. Ooh. Are you thinking for Ty Simpson? Oh, shoot.
Holy shit.
Oh, buddy. Oh, man, they did it.
Everyone call Dan Orlovsky. Let's call Dan Orlovsky and apologize.
Wow.
Whoa. Wow.
Done. They said we're not picking this high again, so take our shot with a guy. Unbelievable. They already traded for Trevor Duffy. I thought this would be a win now move to try and put them over the top. And Ruben Bain's still on the board, isn't he?
He is indeed.
They would necessarily have needed him, but
this is an extend the window move.
So Ruben Bain is on the board, and Venga Ioane is on the board. Baltimore is on the clock. Tampa Bay is next. There's a real chance that if Ruben Bain just falls to the Bucs, that changes things for them. That would be interesting.
We're not discussing the Bucs while Ty Simpson just got drafted 13th overall to the Rams.
Well, there's a potential too for the Ravens are also going to have that decision as well as it goes. But this is obviously all long term when we're talking about Ty Simpson. I mean, it's all just about whether it works out long term. We won't see him play. I mean, did Stafford, did that get finalized, that contract, or was it just they're negotiating another contract with him or extension with him or something?
Yeah, I think it's one of those ones. The expectation is it'll be done.
Yeah. So guy who doesn't play is truly going to be a stash play, I would guess. I don't even know if he'll be the number 2 this year, if how they'll do that with the reps and stuff, but I mean, this is just going to be one we probably won't know about for a while, you would assume.
I would assume. I mean, it's really, really interesting and telling that the reason he came out to the draft was because Les Snead told him he was a first-round pick. And then it went so quiet for so long, and it started to pick up steam that LaFleur really liked him when they went through their summer scouting series. And so you put 2 and 2 together with the Cardinals. Les Snead called the shot. He picked up the phone to Ty Simpson and said, I think you're a first-round pick. You should come out. And that was the real rumor at the very beginning of the day he announced. And it went so quiet for so long. They kept it completely under wraps. And then to pull the trigger there is incredible. I like Ty Simpson. I was, because of all the Orlovsky conversation, it became this real dump on Ty Simpson situation because Dan had him graded higher than Fernando Mendoza. I think he is a really gifted boot action thrower. I think he's more accurate on the move than he is in the pocket. I have deep reservations about the body armor and can he sustain hanging in the pocket over a 17 to 20 game season. Now, they think they can stash him. Maybe you can work on some of that stuff. I would say the highest end outcome with him is Brock Purdy, nimble pocket creator, play on the move for you. He's got really good anticipation and touch and can drive it to the middle section of the field and further down the field. He wants to get after it as a vertical strike player. I'm not quite sure that can translate over to the league. I don't think he's quite got that torque in his arm to be a true vertical guy over and over again. But we've seen Purdy, we've seen Brady, we've seen Goff improve their arm power and arm elasticity in the league, and it just takes some time. And so handing him to Sean McVay and saying, we are extending this window out past Stafford, it's going to be a 6, 7, 8 year thing now, is my mind is blown, but it's incredibly fascinating.
Very fascinating. I kind of wish we were seeing it happen sooner, but for Simpson, it's probably good that it doesn't. Although the other part of it is for Simpson, 15 starts, he hasn't played, and so he needs to play. And now he's going to a place where he won't get really a chance to play. But when he does, you'd hope it will be a good situation. Obviously, coaching wise, it will be if McVay sticks this thing out, which you assume he will. And then roster wise, the way they've built the roster, you feel as good as any for him. It's a really great spot to be in because you don't have to play. You can develop. You have one of the best coaching staffs in the league, one of the best offenses in the league. I think his odds of being a good player just went way up, I would say. The question I think with him is just what the upside is in the tools. I told you I love the fact that he was an aggressive, anticipatory middle of the field passer who threw, I thought in his stretch of 6 games, and we don't have a lot to go off of before he got nicked up, it was really impressive stuff. Like he had some really great stretches of play in there, and I was really impressed. Then it just faded so fast, and he was so bad under pressure toward the end of the season. And there was a lot of running around and turning his back to the defense, which I hate. I'm always venting about that. And he missed gimmies. He missed gimmies in the flat, and he couldn't get the ball up, and the ball dipped on him like crazy. And I thought he had arm strength when he drove the ball down the field. But when he had to turn open up to the sideline, there were real concerns. And so maybe some of that stuff can be worked out mechanically, but it's concerning.
It's a concern for me because I think he's got to be aligned to the target. It's got to be in rhythm, and then he can drive it. And this is what I'm talking about the elasticity and the feel and just the natural arm talent that I don't know if he can make awkward throws yet. He can't make no laces throws. He doesn't speed up his delivery based on the pressure he's seeing. That to me is all starts, and it's just game reps. And can you get that without facing live ammunition in the league? And is it the best way to develop someone against live ammunition in the league? So it's a tricky development. People are banking on the pre-snap communication, his understanding of a pro-style system that he played in. But I think there's still a lot of work to be done in his game before he's able to be a starter in the league. I had him graded out as a solid starter. I think it's way more likely he gets that solid starter path with the Rams taking him.
It's definitely much more likely, and the Ravens have just selected, and they've taken Venga Ioane with the 14th pick. So a very popular pick to them in the pre-draft process. Now off the board at 14. I do wonder if that would have been the Steelers' target if they were trying to trade up to 15. We'll see. So that could be in a little interdivision exchange that we'll track for years to come. Great pickup for the Ravens. They get my 5th overall player in the class, the best player in the class left on my board. As they so often do, just hang out at your spot, have one of the best players in the class fall to you. It's kind of a perfect situation for them every draft.
Crushed it. They crushed it. Now, it's interesting because DaCosta has not been a draft the lines type player early in the draft. They really do believe they can.
He's never taken a guard in the first round.
Never. Now, Wenger, I think, is a different breed. I had him graded out as a tier 1 starter. I had only about, I think it was 7 tier 1 grades by the end of the pre-draft cycle. He was in there, fits an immediate need with a guy who I think will be an immediate impactful player in that spot. He is not in the Zach Martin, the truly like special guards that have come through in drafts over the last decade or so. Really, really steady, absolute nails in pass pro, stones, power rushes. He's quick enough and balanced enough, I think, to be able to stop guys crossing his face and to close off some of the speed rushes. Mauls people in the run game. Truly has explosive, jarring power in the hands, can just pop guys, can then grip them up and move them. Good feel on double and climbs, working to the second level. I think he can be a true force in the run game for you, and then he can absorb all the power stuff in pass pro too. So I do think that go look at the guard play around the league right now. I think in 3 seasons, he's going to be one of the top 5 or 6 guys in the league.
I completely agree with you. Easy and obvious pick. The Bucs pick is already in at 15. I think we're going to see Ruben Bain get drafted here would be my guess, Ollie. And so that will be very interesting because I don't think really anybody thought he would be still on the board. I don't think I saw a single mock draft where he was on the board in this range for them. So this will be interesting. We know they like to keep Mestor as well, but the fact that they turned this pick in right away, I mean, it tells me that they think they just got one of the best pass rushers in the class that maybe fell to them. So we'll see if it ends up being that. I have no inside intel. I've received no notification if anybody's wondering that. But obviously a huge need for them and a player that was expected to go way higher than this. So that will be pretty fascinating to see. But I think for the Ravens, they just improved a massive part of their offensive line. I think it maybe is a recognition from DaCosta that they didn't have a good enough group last year. And if he doesn't start taking it seriously in the way that the league is, it's a weak link system, too many weak links last year for them. And they need to find some way to improve the floor of the group for sure. And then this is an opportunity to really elevate the ceiling of the group as well. So I think it's going to be a real focus for them over the next couple of years of being good enough. I think they feel like maybe some of the guys, John Simpson bringing them back, Roger Rosengarten, like these guys can hold the floor up for us, but they're going to start churning for top talent. I think we're going to see them take a tackle at some point in the near future because Ronnie Stanley just getting up there in the injury history that he has. I don't think not feel like they have enough game changers in the offensive line. They lose Linderbaum, so you lose another one of those guys that they viewed that way at least. So I think it's just something I think we're going to see him take really seriously, rebuilding that part of their team, maybe even throughout the rest of this draft.
Yeah, and it's just nice to get a real dog in that group. You know, they had before a little bit more speed, a little bit more finesse. They were chasing, getting the big tackles and moving them inside, thinking they would have overwhelming power, and it was just a complete miss. And so just to get a true specialist whose speciality is just driving people off the ball in the run game over and over and over again, and then having the power to be able to survive in pass protection. I do think some of the speed, some of the awareness stuff is going to be a bit of an issue early on. I think teams will cue their pressure packages around getting him to turn one way and then quickly reset and go the other way. Does he have that kind of foot speed? Is he aware enough to pick that stuff up? But I do think he's a temp-hole building piece for them.
Yeah, I think there's a real chance that is true for them, and they really needed that as well. How he matches up with the twitchy interior rushers is like the big question mark for me. Like that was the one thing on tape. If I could have seen maybe more of that, he probably would have been in that elite tier. You know, he was fifth in the top. I had 3 guys in my elite tier at the top. But that would have been the one question that I would have had is just like, if he gets more of those types of players, how does he handle those guys as a pass rusher? So that's a big part of this. But Buck's pick is in, and Goodell's going to announce that here very soon. But I think the Ravens certainly feel really good about where they're at.
Yeah, I imagine this is going to be Ruben Bain, right? You going to get the top edge rusher in the class?
Again, I've received nothing. I've taken off my phone. I've not received any texts or anything. I've not looked at anything. That would be my guess. I think there was a thought for them that he would not be a player they trade up for, and that was the only scenario they were getting him. Is kind of what I heard. Is like we're not trading up for Ruben Bain if that's the scenario, that the only scenario in which we can get him. Which I think like I said, I haven't seen a single mock draft where he was here, but the fact that he might fall to 15 right to them, we'll see. I mean, his teammate is a player that they love a ton, you know, but Messidor is also 25 years old, and like that matters a lot when you're thinking about these things. He's got more of an injury history, and so there are more questions there, I think, for sure.
If he goes here, he's surprised the Lions didn't move up a few spots to go get him. It's not very far.
I'm kind of just surprised the Lions. I guess we should never be surprised that there isn't as much trade.
I'm sure
trades are shorter distances, right?
I'm sure they called.
Yeah,
and just the offers weren't worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah, let's see what the pick is, and then I'll offer some more thoughts here as Goodell comes out to the podium. But their biggest 2 needs are linebacker and edge rusher. So if you're just basing off needs, and then the fact that I think pretty much everybody's best player on the board right now is Ruben Bain, you would just be like, oh, this makes sense just as a
take Thieneman, do it.
Blow our minds. Ruben Bain is a Buccaneer.
Wow.
So I mean, it's just a case of we have this massive need, and this player just fell in our lap. Now, there's the off the field questions with Ruben Bain that are interesting, and I think you're going to hear the Bucs maybe talk about these things a little bit because they are an organization that will meet these things head on, and they've been such a character matters organization. Jason Licht and I've had this conversation, and I've talked to him about this before and asked him, what are the types of exceptions that you'd make? And he said, at edge rusher, if he specifically, like that position being one that is a little bit like you got to have another level, physicality, aggressiveness, nasty to your play, that kind of stuff. But it can't cross the line. And I think they are an organization that would have done all the digging into him and his background and personality. I know that happened. I've had those conversations. I know they dug a ton into a lot of that stuff, the situation, what happened in that car accident years ago when that girl passed away that was in the car. Like they would have done all of that stuff all of that digging into that stuff and felt comfortable to take him here as an organization that probably cares more about that stuff than any other organization. So hopefully they think that's a sign that this is a player headed in the right direction on the personal side of things. But I do think it's a risk, Ollie, and I also wonder what kind of trade opportunities were on the table to be able to move back. I've said if the Bucks are going to be an organization that prides themselves on building a team almost exclusively, not exclusively, but almost exclusively through the draft, the only way to sustain that, I think, is to continue to add picks later in the draft, to continue to stockpile draft resources. They haven't done that. They've basically had their picks, and that's great, but you have to hit basically every single one to do that. So trade down opportunities would have been really interesting to me here. Having said all that, if we're just talking about the football side of this, and I want to get to your thoughts on it too, if we're just talking about the football side of this, Ruben Bain is the 11th player on my board, and I thought very much in the conversation for best edge rusher in the entire class. To get that player at 15 at a valuable position, I think, pretty hard to pass up from a football standpoint, at least.
Incredibly hard. He was the eighth overall player on my board, the number one edge in the class for me. I just love the violence he brings to the position. The physicality is off the scale. He's also got speed and bend. He can sequence moves together. He's got almost everything in the bag to beat up on guys one-on-one. I have so few reservations about him with the arm length because of his play style. I think you can place him inside for you. You can place him outside. You can do some fun stuff with him and Kalijah Kancey. I understand what you're saying about the reservations of they needed picks. If Bain wasn't there and the idea was to go get Messidor or Lawrence, sure, move back. But when the top edge rusher in the class falls into your lab and he fits the kind of profile you need and the play style you need, it's an absolute no-brainer to just run the pickup and go get him.
Yeah, I think they'll be seen as one of the big winners of the draft. I think the biggest thing is what do they do with the rest of these picks and how do they move around the board? If Bain hadn't fallen, I feel pretty confident they would have tried to move back. It's really just a question of whether they would have been able to do that or not based on what kind of offers were out there. I mean, this is truly a situation where you're getting a player who has unbelievable raw power, could probably rush inside for you if you needed to, might even be able to play inside situations. He can play inside the tight end, not be the end man in the line of scrimmage and survive and run defense. So it gives you some flexibility too with your personnel and who you walk up on the edge. Who do they walk up on the edge? Well, they kind of like Tyke Smith walking up on the edge or Antoine Winfield or a lot of players like that. So I think just overall, like he is, and then talk about being the twist heaviest team in football, right? Defensively.
He is maniac on stunts and twists. No one turns themselves over to the play design or for his teammates as much as Ruben Bain on the field. It's just he gets after it. He is so tough. He has legit knockback power. Always a question with the knockback power guys. Will it kind of move up to the next level as you face bigger, better players? Will your knockout shot take down Trent Williams? Like that is difficult to do for these guys over time, but I think he's got so much else in the arsenal. He can dip around the corner. He does have a bunch of counter moves to work with. He can move inside and rush over guards and beat up on those guys. I think he's got the physicality to really beat up on guards when moved inside. So it's a unbelievable value. Number one edge rusher in the class, getting that guy at 15, you couldn't really draw it up any better.
And he will immediately start for them as well. So the Jets are selecting here, and they're taking Kenyon Sadiq. So the Jets go Kenyon Sadiq at 16. A lot of people thought the Ravens could be interested, the Vikings could be interested, the Panthers could be interested. Instead, it's the Jets at 16 that take him. And so Omar Cooper's still on the board, who I think almost everybody at Mock I read today had Omar Cooper to the Jets. Makai Lemon's still on the board. He was another one that if he was still on the board, I think people would have had to the Jets. So the Lions are going to pick at 17, and they didn't even have to move. And so we're going to offer some predictions, I think, as to which tackle they'll take, because that'll be an interesting part of this conversation too. But let me just ask you this, Ollie. Kenyon Sadiq with the Jets, what the heck do you think about that fit? Are they ready for a player like this? It's not the landing spot I would have picked for him.
It's not
Frank Reich's offense.
Frank Reich at least is going to have all kinds of quick flash RPO stuff built in there with Geno, right? There's going to be one read and go, get the ball out, arrow screen, bubble screen. That's not what I want for Kenyon Sadiq at all. But they clearly think he can be a playmaker with the ball in his hands. I just want him to play a lot more traditional tight end stuff because I think he can do that. Crazy athlete, unbelievably explosive, really physical, gets after it in the run game. gifted blocker on the move. I would say not quite the best radar, but the physicality and the understanding is all there. I think he can improve on that side of the game. He's not going to drive anyone off the ball, the point of attack. That's not who he's going to be, but he can move around the formation for you. He probably will be a matchup threat. We'll have to see how defenses respond to him, whether they respect him as a true tight end or whether they just view him as a explosive receiver. But it is tough to find that kind of vertical push from the tight end slot, and he has true ridiculous, laugh out loud acceleration off the ball. Can be a true seam threat for you, can be a deep portion of the field threat for you in a way you just don't normally see with these guys. So do not love the Frank Reich fit because I think it's going to play into the worst instincts of who he could be as a player. That it could be a little bit Jatavian Sandersy, that it could be a little bit early Evan Ingramy. And I just think there's more to the play than that.
Oh, man, I hope not, Ollie. I hope not, but I hate this. I hope it works out, and I hope Frank Reich does some cool stuff, and I hope this whole Jets regime gets it. I just have serious doubts. And this is a player I thought I love the skill set. I think he's really raw in some ways, can really help a team. But I think where he landed was really important. Rooting for the Rams, or I think even honestly, like the Panthers would have been kind of fun, maybe like had fun upside
Yep.
at least like in their system. I would have been cool with that. Obviously, the Ravens too could have been fun. I don't know how I feel about this one. The idea of it, I like. I hope that it can be good. I think if I were the Jets, I would have been closer to probably taking like a finished playmaker. But again, I get it from their perspective. They're trying to be an upside team. They're not going to say, "Oh, we're going to suck with this player. We're not going to know how to use him best." They're going to think their plan is great. If I could have picked a spot for Sadiq, it would not have been this.
No, this would have been like a bottom 3 spot for Sadiq if I was
Yeah.
just picking them.
Oh, that's tough to stomach. Okay, give me this, Ollie. The Lions, 17. They didn't move a spot. They didn't come up for Ruben Bain. Maybe they tried and they couldn't. I don't know. We'll find out later. Do they take an edge rusher here to go with Aiden Hutchinson? Do they take a tackle here to replace Taylor Decker as they reportedly move Penei Sewell to the left side? But that might not be set in stone, but it's worth noting who's left. Blake Miller, Maxi Onachor, and Monroe Freeling. So Freeling a left tackle, the other two right tackles. I'm going to tell you, I think this pick is Blake Miller.
I think I agree with you. He fits
It
every
could very
single
easily
thing.
be Monroe Freeling. It's one of those two, I think.
Monroe Freeling, I don't think that Blake Miller doesn't have high end upside, but Monroe Freeling as a cornerstone tackle type piece just fits that model a little bit more to me. I have him graded as the number one tackle in the class. I really love Blake Miller. And as I said in my report, he's the physical embodiment of a Dan Campbell football player. If Dan Campbell can go get him, having just stayed at 17, it would make all the sense in the world. I do hold out a little bit of reservation that they could just look for an edge rusher. They desperately need it. It's just we've all been mocking over and over again that it's going to be a lineman. The thing that would give me some pause is Ruben Bain fallen to 15. They could have moved up to go get him for not a crazy cost. If they were like, we are just sewing on an edge defender, we'll go get that now. The edge class is so deep on day 2 when we do this show tomorrow. You can go and grab 2 situational pass rushes tomorrow to try and help you out. You're not going to be able to work this tackle class tomorrow. So go and take whoever you think is the best one. Left side, right side, doesn't really matter.
Would they have maybe they did try to get up for Ruben Bain. That is the other thing. We don't know. I mean, these picks have come in quick since the Cowboys selected and moved up to 11. Maybe the Dolphins didn't want to move down further. And then the Rams obviously didn't want to go anywhere. They were taking Ty Simpson. They're not risking anything.
They probably could have moved down.
They could have. That is a good point. We probably should have criticized them more for that. You're assuming, but unless they knew something we knew, they could have played with the board and gotten Ty Simpson. I'm really surprised they didn't at least do that. That would have made me feel a little bit better about that, I think. But Blake Miller just screams lion to me. He screams lion to me, and the people I trust the most tell me that they really enjoy him.
How could they not enjoy him? He is all kinds of physical, got real pop in his hands, a crazy, freaky athlete, insanely durable. Will start in and plug and play from day one. Allows them to move Penei to the left side, or they could try him on the left. They got complete variation in what they want to do. I don't see why they wouldn't love Blake Miller as the number one guy, unless they just have Monroe Freeling graded out higher with a potentially higher ceiling.
That would have been, that would be like the developmental arc type of thing. But again, we talked about this with Blake Miller. He's an ultra elite athlete and he has the experience. So there is real upside in there, I think, too. So Yeah, okay. Goodell's at the podium right now for the Lions selection at number 17. This would be the 4th tackle off the board if they go that way direction. I guess if you consider Reese and Bailey edge rushers, this if they go that way, it would be the 4th edge rusher off the board, right? I think that's right. I don't think I'm forgetting anyone. Edge rushers would be Messidor, Falk, somebody we don't expect. I
Probably
think
of those, it would be Falk, I think.
that would be interesting. They have been more of the size truthers. Okay, somebody else is reading the pick.
Here we
Sorry, I don't
go.
know who these. Watching on mute is killing me. Blake Miller.
We got
Ah,
it. We got it.
my sources never let me down, baby. Let's go. Just the most Lions-y player. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is an A+. I think he's the best tackle right now in the class, and this team needs to get a good player right now in this class, and I think he's just a perfect fit. I think he has really good upside, but I also think his tape is really good right now, and they'll move, you would assume, Sewell to the left side now, which will be interesting. I mean, I don't think that's automatic. Even Tristan Wirfs, I think, is a better pass protector than Sewell. There were little bumps, not compared to, normal players, but for an elite player, there were little bumps for him. And I think there could be for Sewell, but this is just when you look at they needed this type of player. They need to get this unit back to being a really special group. They got the most pro ready tackle in the class, I think.
Completely agree with the most pro ready, and I think does have that high upside you're talking about. He's a crazy athlete. I don't think he's quite as twitchy off the ball out of his stance as he tested. I think he's good out the stance. He's pretty quick out the stance. I don't think he's crazy as all get out. What he does have, I think, is excellent an excellent base and balance to be able to shuffle and match guys throughout the rep. He really moves at speed once he's out of the kick, to be able to close off both inside outside. The anchor is just good enough, I think, to drop it and not have guys run through the midline. That can be up and down at times. I'm not in love with some of the hand technique that he uses, some of the hand placement, some of the way that he strikes,
Mhm.
but I do think that he was the most pro ready to go guy. The durability is huge. The feel in space is impressive. He can be an impact guy in the run game for you. So yeah, made a ton of sense all the way through that. Those like the number one player to scheme to culture type fit that I had on my board was Blake Miller to the Lions.
Yeah, absolutely love it. And now the Vikings are already making a pick. Oh, please don't tell me. Is this
Don't
going to
tell me
be
it's Tiedemann.
Caleb Banks? Oh, he made it in the
What?
first round. Big
18.
Dog made it in the first round. Let's
Let's
go.
go.
I really liked Caleb Banks, Ollie. And the
I
more
love
tape I
Caleb
watched,
Banks.
the more I thought this could be a really good player in the league. He was clearly my number one D tackle. If you're not incorporating the foot concerns, which actually moved him down a tier for me. I mean, I have him in the good starter tier and not higher than this because I was just really concerned that medically he wasn't going to be able to roll. So you're assuming he just clears in that way. They really need interior pass rush help. This is one of the only guys in the class that's going to give it to you. So it's just maybe they think his foot will fall off, but it just doesn't matter because they need interior pass rush help so much. They made the moves last year with Hargrave and John Allen. It just didn't work, right? They move on from those guys. They've got Jalen Redmond, and then they need more guys, basically. And we'll see what happens to Jonathan Grenard. But they need pass rush help, and Twitch on the interior was an offseason priority. They didn't get it when the guys that they hoped. So now time to go to the draft. And I think easily the best player in that ilk in this class was Caleb Banks.
Yeah, not even close. In terms of upfield pass rush from the interior, Caleb Banks was comfortably the best, the most explosive, the most violent off the ball. Up and down, inconsistent throughout the games. You mentioned the injury concerns that he had, but he was the second ranked D tackle on my board. He's the 37th overall player on my board. And if you were shopping in that market, that was the guy to go get. He can really demolish the pocket on first contact. He has incredible length, size, and burst off the ball, can win and cross face, can just flatline people and erupt the thing on his own. He doesn't really get moved out of his gaps a whole bunch against the run just because he's so big and so long. He can kind of figure it out on the fly. Don't think the instincts are always there. Don't think he's always tied into what's happening. It's a lot of just, I will out athlete you at the college level. But in terms of just getting burst off the ball inside, that was what they were shopping for. He was the number one guy in the class to go do that.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, and I think that it's surprising because of the injury and what you were heard about the injury. In fact, I don't remember who it was that reported, but it was multiple reporters, but one really reported, I forget who it was, that said the only defensive tackle who might go in round one is Caden McDonald. Everybody else was not going in round one. So we'll see. But already Caleb Banks going off the board at 18 is going to be a surprise to some people. But from a talent perspective, I totally get it. I think Caleb Banks is really good. When you watch him in true pass rush situations where you can tee off and go, I am scared by how much it reminds me of Chris Jones. I really am. Now, he's not that player across the board. Not everything he does is that player across the board. Not many guys this big can play with that pad level and that extension at the point of attack. Now, his awareness to the overall game, there's some ugly plays here and there. There's still those plays with Chris Jones, by the way. Like, that's never been weeded out of his game. But the upfield twitch, the overall hand uses of pass rusher, the stringing moves together that you see in flashes that I saw way more of with Chris Jones, but in flashes with Banks reminds you of that. So upside, if it hits, is awesome. There's a downside here in that this guy might not even be healthy and might not be able to stay healthy. He's had a real hard time staying healthy. Just to go through the history of it, Ollie, was it throughout his career? I know he's had the foot injuries, but he's dealt with them the last 2 years a ton. Hurt last year in camp, tried to come back week 3 and play, I think it was, got injured after 2 games, maybe was it, or 1 game was it, and then had to have a surgery, came back at the end of the season, speaks to his competitive nature, and played the last 2 games of the year, if I'm remembering right, then got hurt at the combine, tested like a complete freak, and apparently hurt his foot when he did that or something. And so the reports 2 days ago, maybe medically were positive. So that's a good sign. But there's just been a lot of injuries for a really tall, big dude. And we're not doctors, so we're just not going to say much more about it than that, I think. But it is a big risk for a team that really needs draft wins. Like, they just have not had many draft wins. It's a big risk for them.
It's a big risk, but it's an almighty home run swing, and I love it. I love this going for it. Let's get the biggest,
Today,
longest, strongest, quickest
Yeah.
dude in the draft, the position.
Today, I love it.
And
tomorrow, I mean, not tomorrow, but like in the future, we could look back and be like, oh boy.
And I will say, beyond just the foot concerns, my comp on him was Chris Jones, you mentioned, then Joel Embiid, where it's like the talent is so obvious, but big guys with foot problems really concerns me. The staff reports from him from Florida were not good. That concerns me too. I think just as a player, his block recognition is poor. He has a insane lag transitioning run to pass rush that he doesn't play with that appropriate feel of when it's going from one to the other. In true pass situations, which is where he's going to thrive, as you mentioned, you go back to 2024, of everyone in the country, he led the league in pass rush win rate on 3rd and 4th downs. Must have it downs, must have it situations. He can get after the passer with size, strength, length, speed, whatever you need. And he's played across the formation. So we're going to get Brian Flores with this big twitched up dude inside. Redmond can fly off the ball. All these exotic pressure packages, can play him outside, you can play him inside. Flores is going to have some fun with him.
Gonna have a lot of fun with them. So now it's the Panthers that are on the clock here.
Lemon?
Okay, Lemon? Yeah, Lemon. It could be a wide receiver. This is your dream scenario for Lemon, isn't it?
It is my dream scenario.
Monroe Freeling. There goes Monroe Freeling. This is getting interesting for the teams right behind them, right? Who is it? Cowboys? Has there been a
Philadelphia?
Oh no, the Eagles just moved up. Did the Eagles just trade with the Cowboys? They did. The Cowboys just moved back 3 spots. They said, we got Caleb Downs. We don't care if we pick again in this draft. That, boys. All right, Monroe Freeling to the Panthers. This is your guy, Ollie. You're a huge Monroe Freeling guy. Just to set the stage for you, and then I want you to go off on your guy. Ike Ekwonu, dislocated, was it patella tendon or something?
Patella tendon, yeah.
In the playoffs, wasn't it? It was against the Rams.
Out for the year.
Out for the year, not going to play this year. They signed Rasheed Walker, stopgap 1-year deal. Obviously, long term, the position is just a huge question. Ekwonu's going into a contract year. I think play was up and down enough that you could have made an argument for him getting a second contract, but now with the injury, just probably feels like starting over again with a rookie CL deal is the way to go with where they're at. Moten on the right side, getting older, obviously, too. So if Ekwonu does bounce back, potentially return at some point next year, it's a possibility. Freeling is going crazy, isn't he? Oh, wow. But yeah, so the stage is sort of set for them to be able to take a player and move them into this without having to start them right away, which is probably good for Freeling. But at the same time, now the Phillies moved up, and you wonder if it's another tackle here, and the run that was anticipated is truly happening. Now, Goodell's already going up. But what do you think of Monroe Freeling
Oh,
here?
we'll get to Monroe.
Yeah.
Is it Max? Is it Caleb Lomu? Is it Lemon?
Is it a wideout? Yeah, because they might not have AJ Brown soon. Lomu here would be pretty wild, huh?
Is it Max?
Ihanajar would help me get another one right in my mock. Oh, it is Makai Lemon. Makai Lemon is a Philadelphia Eagle. These are two of your guys back to back, Ollie.
Back to back.
Take the stage. These picks were so close together. I don't want to bypass Monroe Freeling in case there's Panthers fans tuning in here. What do you see in Monroe Freeling that you like with this? And then let's talk about Makai Lemon.
It's truly a bet on the traits. An enormous, explosive left tackle, ideal physical traits for the position, big, tall frame, really twitched up out of his stance. Now, he can be late and slow, and there's a lot of technical refinement that needs developing with him. And my comp with him has been Colton Miller, where it's all these crazy athletic traits. Can he, over time, with the learning curve, become solid starter to plus starter? And then is there anything more beyond that? It's truly a bet on the traits. I thought he dramatically improved over the course of the season. There's still some really poor reps. Explosive in the run game when he plays with proper technique, when he plays with forward hands, he throws them early, gets his legs underneath him. It's a lot of ducking his head into contact. It's a lot of leaning in the run game, but the natural power is in there. The feet are really agile, really balanced, really steady for someone of his size. He can both explosively kick out the stance of the set, then he can match and dance with people once he's out of the stance. It comes in flashes. It's not always pretty. He's not quite there. And you've really got to work through it and say, we're just going to bet on upside and traits and the flashes that we've seen. But I had him graded out as the number one tackle in the class because I just think that his potential to be a cornerstone tackle with the physical tools that he has is above the other guys who I just see mostly moving inside to guard.
Yeah, the tools part of it was the really convincing argument with Monroe Freeling, and then the mentality of the player, just how much he gets after it. The high end reps are pretty amazing. He's pretty sloppy, I think. And I know I was a little bit lower on him than you. I still liked him. I still had him, just to give people an idea of where I had him. We haven't said a whole lot where we've had guys on our board, but I had him 30th in the class. So for this positional value, I would just say that I had Ihanajar higher. But I totally understand this with Freeling. I think he can develop for sure into this role, and he's not going to have to start right away. So I can see the vision for him too. Is there any way, just with the strike stuff, I think guys get into him and get into his pads and stuff too often. And I'm worried about that the next level because he's probably always going to play kind of upright. He's a really tall pass protector. Is he just always going to have frame issues? Or guys always going to be in the frame? I worry about that. Probably one of my number one things with the pass protector is just whether guys are going to be in the frame all the time and knocking them around. Does he have the anchor? Can he reset? Can he keep guys out of his frame? So that's my biggest concern with him, I think, developing as we move. I know you want to talk about Makai Lemon too.
No, but I'd say on Freeling, I agree with you. That's all there on film. I mean, he's got the length to offset some of that stuff. And if he can start throwing his hands early, I just think he's delayed and late in a lot of what he's doing. He got by on pure physical talent at the college level that he could allow guys into his frame. And then if they couldn't knock him off the spot, he could mirror a match with pretty much anyone, including high-end competition. He's going to have to just be more aggressive in everything he does. He does have the right mentality. He does want to get after in the run game. But in terms of when he's actually throwing and moving, he's just a little bit slow and late in what he does. Can you quicken that up? Can you time that up? And can you develop that playing against the truly elite competition in the league in real time? That's a big question mark. But he certainly has the tools and the frame that if he can start quickening some of that stuff up, as Colton Miller did, to become a plus starter.
Makai Lemon was your ideal fit for the Panthers, so I'm sure not seeing him go there just because of the fit. You said that like on the pod. You were like, "This is my fit. I'm calling it," and then it had a chance to happen, and it missed by one pick. What do you think about Makai Lemon and whatever the heck Philadelphia's offense is going to look like this season? This is a different type of player for them, is it not?
Different type of player. You could maybe say Smith and him have some overlap, some parallels, but Lemon is more in the Amon-Ra St. Brown mold, where it's linebacker mentality, playing at slot receiver in the league. They've signaled throughout whatever the ESPN piece says about Jalen Hurts, right? With the changes and bringing Sean Mannion in, we are going to try and gravitate towards what the rest of the league is doing. Tight, condensed formations, big emphasis on play action, guys who can play close to the formation. I think that Makai Lemon can do that stuff. I think he's explosive enough to just play static football in the slot, which is the way the Eagles traditionally play. But I also think he's got the skill set to be able to go in there and attack and dig people out in the run game, to slip out and react on a lot of these drags and crossing routes which would, I think, map up pretty well with the Eagles, that if we've got to pivot from one system to the other, week to week, drive to drive, that he can actually be a matchup threat for you one-on-one in the slot, and then just form part of the passing concept if you're playing more of the tight, condensed stuff.
Yeah, it will be interesting to see if they do more tight condensed stuff, if they do change some of their approach to the team. Talked about this when we did Mekhi Lemon's profile. He actually doesn't have like a ton of production in the middle of the field, like he's not like doesn't quite profile that way. There's a lot of vertical stuff, a lot of quick game stuff with him. And so I think he could fit into a lot of what Jalen Hurts likes, but there's also seems to be some sort of existential crisis going on in Philly where they might just be like, we're doing something different offensively, whether you like it or not, Jalen Hurts. Buy in and play this way, or we're moving on after this season. So I sort of feel a little hesitant to like say much about the scheme fit part of it, because I want to see what they look like this season. And then I want to see where they're going long term. Maybe they just think this is the type of guy long term to get where teams need to go offensively in the league. So we're going to take him. And if our quarterback can figure out a way to maximize all those things, great. If not, then maybe we need a new quarterback, and maybe that's where they get to. But I like the pick. I mean, he's my fifth wide receiver, so I like Omar Cooper more. But I mean, it's the same tier for me. I can easily be talked into all the configurations. I also have Casey Conception higher, but he would be a tier higher. I'm curious to see where he lands and just kind of what teams envision doing with him, because I think there's buzz for him in Buffalo. We'll see if he gets there. Pick is in for the Steelers at number 21 here.
The Steelers are up here. It's your moment to shine. I'm going to go and get a beer to celebrate with you. It's time, people. It's happening. The people are clamoring. They came here to see John Legend.
Let's see who they pick.
What the Steelers
let's see who they pick before we
see if it's time to celebrate.
Yeah. Let's see who they pick before we do it. Any guesses from you? People have heard my guesses.
Who's on the board?
The only tackle left, Ihanachor and I think it would be Caleb Lomu. This would be high for him probably.
Too early to go guard. Basantis?
Omar Cooper would be Basantis could be an option. Omar Cooper would be my bet here.
Okay. How do we feel about that with Aaron Rodgers? I apologize, Omar Cooper. Good luck.
All right, let's see who it is. This is in Pittsburgh. It's going to be electric.
John's looking nervous.
Could it be just a shocker pick, Ollie?
No more Tomlin. Tell us, Jerome.
Jerome, if they draft a running back. I've been hurt many. Artie Burns, Terrell Edmonds. I like Najee Harris, but come on, not in the first round. Bud Dupree. Jarvis Jones. I was hurt many times. Oh, Britt texted me they're playing Renegade leading up to the pick. I'm obviously watching on mute. That's kind of cool. The crowd's probably hype.
So give us your official prediction.
I think Omar Cooper Jr. is who they're going to take here. Maxi Ihanachor. They took my top tackle in the class. Really interesting. That would have been my other guess here, but this is.
I'm going to go get a bit to celebrate. Let's go.
Go crack open the ice cold one. Let's go, Ollie. Yeah, Ihanachor, my top tackle in the class. I think just has unbelievable upside and ceiling. I think Blake Miller's a better player right now, but I would have taken Ihanachor over Monroe Freeling. I think he is the better play. I think he has less bad habits, less habits that really concern me. Better anchor, really physical, aggressive player. I think the upside is through the roof with him. All the tools you want in a future tackle prospect. And I think really his peak play reminds me of Teron Armstead. That's the player I talked about with Ollie on the podcast. Reminded me of that. But yeah, 5 years, I think he's played football, period. And the last 2, I think he started for and played really well. There's bumps on the road. The tape is far from perfect, but the developmental upside is actually absolutely what you want. It fits the athletic profile part where they're just looking, who are the high-end athletes? Who are the people wired the way we like? Broderick and Troy Fautano, that's what we're going for, a tackle. The Steelers have now taken a tackle a lot in the first round. What is that, 3 times in the last, is that 5 years, 4 years? 5 years, I think, maybe, in the first round. So they're obviously intent on addressing this position. But with Broderick's neck injury, I think they just felt like there's just like they couldn't let the position ride necessarily. So I think they got the best tackle in the class and the guy with the highest upside. He won't be the best tackle in year 1. He might not even start in year 1. We'll see how it goes. He won't be the best tackle right away. And he might now maybe Fautano will move to the left side and Ihanachor will move to the right side. That's probably one of the things I'm most curious about is what they do with Troy Fautanu. Like that, will they move him after the season he just had? And Ollie comes back with beer in hand.
Here's to Omar Khan.
Product placement. Can we get an advertising deal?
A vocation brewery.
I know you love this player too. There you go. Okay.
There you go.
I know you love this player too, Ollie. But one of my big questions is actually, and I know I'm always thinking big picture sooner than I need to. Does Troy Fautanu move to the left side? Back to where he played in college?
I think more natural to the left side would make sense.
Even after he just had this awesome season, this really good season, I think, at right tackle.
I think Iheanacho can play on the left side. When I watch Iheanacho, I adore the player. He was the guy in the draft of the tackles I wanted to come away with. I put that down my report. Like, there are guys I've graded slightly higher just on the film. The guy I want to come out with is Maxi Iheanacho. He moves differently to all the other guys. He moves like the great ones. He looks and reminds to me, just movement skill wise, the balance, the footwork, as Armand Membu, who I thought was the best tackle in last year's class. He's not quite the strike artist and the knockout player in the run game, but in pass, bro, he can dance with anyone. He can cut off speed. I think he's a little bit more technical and advanced than he's given credit for. There are fundamental footwork issues in how he's able to access what he's doing. But in terms of the mental understanding, in terms of being able to offset pass rushers and disrupt their tempo, rather than it just being basic strike over and over and over again, I think the fundamentals are pretty sound for a guy who's not played a ton of football. There's a little bit more advanced work than you would expect, and he just moves better than anyone else in the class.
I said my comp was just that I think he moves a lot like Teron Armstead, and that developmental arc made sense for him. And I think that's a plausible outcome, at least. I mean, it may you're not betting anybody to have the career outcome necessarily of Armstead being one of the best, and obviously he was injured a lot. But I think like that's that kind of ceiling. It exists for Iheanacho, and I don't think it exists for some of the other guys in this class at tackle. So I would have taken him over a lot of the first three guys that went, and then I think Freeling was my third guy, and Blake Miller was my second guy. Blake Miller, the best guy right now, so I actually like him for the Lions, I think, the most. I think it was kind of the perfect fit for them. And I think that, in this situation, obviously, the Steelers, I think, get a really talented player. The Chargers, picking at 22, have just taken Akeem Messidor, and I love it, Ollie. I love it. I think it's a great fit for them. I think he's one of the best pass rushers in the class, the best one left on the board other than Malachi Lawrence, who I think teams are just targeting, obviously, a little bit later in the class. But even then, you could say, and I know I have Lawrence first, but I had all Lawrence, Messidor, and Baines grades were basically the same. So I basically just set a bet on traits, who was going to be the best guy eventually for it to turn out. And Messidor probably, honestly, might have been my number one guy if he wasn't 25 and there weren't the history of the injury stuff with him. On 2025 tape, I think he was the best pass rusher in the class. He and Bain, just 2025 tape, best pass rusher in the class from a college standpoint. Now, there's other parts of the profiles that matter a lot, but that has to matter quite a bit. And the Chargers, they don't care about that age. They don't care about that. They're just trying to get guys who want to crush people on a football field.
No, you're right. The tape is the best of anyone in terms of what works at the pro level. Speed, bend, burst, violent hands, power, can play inside, outside. It's every single thing you want. I think he can convert speed to power. He can push the pocket. Really gifted second surge rusher, can arrive with speed to power, and then he's got such great fluidity in the lower half to sink and bend around the edge. It doesn't just have to be speed around the arc as a dip guy. It can be engaged with a ball and then sink and get under the pad level. And these guys like Monroe Freeling, these 6'7" towers who can't quite sink and re-anchor as well as other guys, you can slip under the frame, accelerate off contact, which I think is one of the A+ skills in his game. And it's how the speed bend guys, the way you get Chop Robinson out of the league is even when you get under the pad level, you can't slingshot off the contact and gather speed to close the quarterback. He fires off blockers at a crazy speed and then is always attacking the ball. He might not be a constant pressure guy in the league compared to what he was in college, but he will be a splash play guy. He will get sacks. He will force fumbles. He can play out in coverage and he can play inside. It's a wonderful scheme fit for the Chargers.
It really is, and they needed juice so badly. They needed somebody with juice off the edge, really, and he has that. His explosiveness, first step explosiveness, I thought was absolutely outstanding this past season. Late in games, as a closer, he just closed people out all the time. I thought on tape was really impactful player between the gaps, relentless motor, really good dropping into coverage. I was stunned by that. And I think I said this to you in our podcast at the time. People can go back and listen to. I couldn't believe how good his reps dropping into coverage were. He doesn't look like this, he's not this freak long arms, all this stuff. Like that you'd be like dropping into coverage. You want this guy in space, blah, blah, blah. But he has some really great reps in coverage where I'm like very excited to see kind of what he can do as an all around player. I told you that part of the game reminded me a little bit of Alex Highsmith. And then I think just the fact that I think he's probably maybe a little bit even twitchier than that. So I really like Messidor, and I'm kind of glad they went a pass rusher. They just haven't addressed enough. I think in trading away, or trading for OA was a good step, but obviously now need to kind of, it helped you a little bit last season, but I think that now there's a need to really reset at that position in a pretty big way.
Yeah, and the thing about Messidor is he has those physical gifts. He's a true technician, and I get that he's older than the guys playing in college, but he's moved positions a bunch. He's moved defensive systems a bunch. As just a pure one-on-one pass rusher, you see him win with speed to power. You see him go full bull. You see the push-pull. You see him cross-face. There's all kinds of swipes. He can dip and rip around the arc. There's heavy hammers. There's the cross chop. There is a nasty, nasty ghost rush, and he ties the moves together all the time. And if one doesn't hit, he's got the flexibility. He's got the violent hands to be able to shake someone off and snap back inside. I really do think you can isolate him one-on-one day one in the league, and it is just going to be a constant menace flying off the edge. You don't know what's coming. You know it's coming with speed and ferocity and some nastiness to his game. The run game stuff is where there'll be some question marks, right? More of a gap shooter. I think he can get off the point. He can get caught on the point more than you would want. But with the 22nd pick, if you get a guy who can be a splash play creator in both run and pass game, you're pretty comfortable of, hey, it's not Keldrick Folk who's like a slab against the run. Like, that's totally fine. It's what they needed, as you said. They needed more gas off the ball. He does bring some versatility to the rush game as an inside guy, as a guy who can drop out. They're going to be a heavy sim pressure team. You need guys who can do some part of at least 2 of 3 of those skills, and he can do all 3 for you.
Yeah, I think so. And I think that their need for guard, I'm actually, when do they, because that is the one thing that you could say, right? If we're going to complain about it, it would just be, okay, this is a team that literally their quarterback gets destroyed every single season when they play, and they have the 55th pick, the 86th pick, 123, and then not again until 204. So they don't have that many picks. And so would they be, something that, I'm trying to wonder if there could be a move up. A 55's high to move up, back into the first for sure. But if you're thinking about later in the draft, that Pregnon could be at 55. Do you like it? I mean, I know you and I aren't as high on him fit-wise.
Pregnon is incredibly hardball coded. I think they really like Pregnon. I mean.
Yeah. Very fit, very, very much a good fit. Will he be there at 55? Basantis, will he be there? Rutledge? The stock has been up for these guys. So we'll see. That's the question, I think, is just like, and not that they shouldn't have done this, but that will be the question moving forward. It's just like, okay, well, what's the plan on the offensive line? Because the tackles are going to be gone, and that's fine. Alton, Slater, you're just hoping are healthy, and you have to hope that at this point. If they're not, all this is for naught. Okay, the Cowboys selecting at 23 here. Malachi Lawrence, all the way. DJ had it
all the way.
So Caleb Downs and Malachi Lawrence. Jerry,
go off, King. This is your top edge rusher in the class and your second overall player in the class.
Yes, Downs being my second overall player in the class. Yes. I absolutely loved Lawrence's tape. I think the upside is through the roof. Daniel Jeremiah had this all the way. Shout out Daniel Jeremiah. He has been saying for a while now, they love Malachi Lawrence, and they could have stayed at 20 and taken Malachi Lawrence. Give the Cowboys a ton of credit because they've nailed the first round. Move up 1 spot, get maybe the best player in the class. Move down 3 spots. I don't know if we've had on the screen. The one thing we're missing in this draft show is just going over the assets for these trades. That'll be something we have to do in a follow-up, and maybe we'll start our show tomorrow by going over some of the trade details from these and seeing who helped themselves. But they've just handled the first round unbelievably well. Hats off to them. And Lawrence isn't a player. I think there's explosiveness off the ball. I think there's real talent and upside to his game. How he handles himself at the top of the arc encouraged me significantly. As a guy who I don't think is ever going to look like Cassius Howell or look like Von Miller in terms of how he rushes, but there is some real physicality, hand fighting, getting into guys' frames, finding ways to trim the edge, and then like vaulting his body around the arc in very unusual but unique ways, movement patterns that reminded us, and we talked a little bit about movement patterns of Donnell Hunter. Not the same player exactly. Obviously, Hunter has become he's one of the most unique pass rushers in the league. Lawrence, I think, has some ability to be that type of a player. Not that he'll ever, I don't know whether he'll ever get to Hunter's peak level. I wouldn't have had him graded like that special of a player. I didn't have him in that tier, but I think that there's some similarities in there, some Chandler Jones-esque, and I don't think he's big or strong yet, but he's also just added weight. Like he's just, his body's just like developed. They played him at 4i a lot, and they played him like he was in, I thought, just really kind of tight alignments as a 5 a lot of the time, didn't get to really tee off all the time. And then there's the other part of it. People are going to look at the sack production and be like, why didn't he have more sacks if he's a lower level competition? The guy missed so many tackles. And this was a problem with Jared Verse, the problem with Ruben Bain. This is a problem with so many of these guys. And maybe I'm just paying attention to it more, Ollie, or I'm looking at the stats more than watching the tape and being, oh my gosh. I mean, how many sacks would he have if he could just tackle a quarterback in the backfield? Like he just kept, and it wasn't like he couldn't get guys in space. He would get them and they would slip out of his grasp. And so he has to get better at finishing. But I just don't think that's like, you can't just look at the box score number and be like, well, he was in there all the time. He just got to finish a little better.
I agree with you. He's got really impressive traits, crazy juiced up first step, incredibly explosive third and fourth step, just gather speed on tackles. They just can't keep up with how quick he can move. I think he's way more developed in terms of his hand usage and knowing how to use and optimize his length than he's given credit for at all. He's kind of been billed as traitsy guy, tested really well. Go back to the tape, isn't quite as impressive. I just could not disagree more. I think he has a chance to be the best pass rusher coming out of this draft. I think that you can make a fair case that Messidor is a level ahead in terms of refinement right now. He's kind of on a different tier to most college guys. That Bain with the violence and the all-around game is just a more quality defensive lineman across the board. But if you said to me, it's 3rd and 6, we got to go make the playoffs, we need a sack, the guy I would pick out of the class is Malachi Lawrence. I don't think he's got crazy knockback power, but he's got grip strength. He gets after it in the run game, as you said, playing in these tight alignments when really he should be a wide 9 outside the edge rusher. That's where he should be over and over and over again. Try and hold the point if you can, but rip off the ball time after time. It's a really nice scheme fit for him. It's an unbelievable pickup to me for the Cowboys. I just really liked the feel he had for how to get through and win the rep. Another guy who accelerates off contract, he can really sink to the floor for someone of his size. Can maintain his speed throughout the rush. Aggressive in everything he does. Another guy, we talked about it with Ruben Bain. No one will be like Ruben Bain outside of Messidor for the next couple of years in college football, of the understanding and willingness that if I'm a master on a stunt and a twist, I got to bring it all. I'm going to fold the house of cards down. That's my job. I'm going to try and take 2 or 3 with me if I can. And if it all falls apart, someone will come through clean. He's playing with these guys who frankly stink. His defense is awful. He's never allowed to tee off. And they say to him, hey, buddy, on this one, we have the 20th overall pick in the draft. Our defense stinks, but we're going to call another stunt to get you to pick the center on this play if you're good with that. He should have checked out. And he said, I will run through the face of that center, draw in the right guard, and I will collapse the thing on my own. So I just really, really admire the player.
I do too. And I thought the physicality he played with this season, the way he grew as a leader, they talk about in the room. I think the fact that he has all the physical and athletic traits you're looking for, the testing being off the charts for a guy who didn't always face the best competition every week is absolutely huge for me, just in terms of making the projection to what'll be in the league. I'm telling you, man, the Texas Tech game, the Baylor game, these dudes they're asking out. They can't handle he is killing these guys. They just can't handle it. So I just think absolute monster type of tape against guys that he did play. He didn't play a lot of top guys. Some people go back to the Hanachor tape from 2024. I don't know if you've seen this, Ollie. I just don't think the sample size of plays where they're matched up. Sure, there's a couple good reps for Hanachor, and maybe people say he won that matchup, and he probably did. But I still think there's a lot of rushing from tight, read first, or run read first, not really teeing off. I don't think you're getting a great sample of who the actual player is. And the Browns go KC Concepcion. Another one that I called, Ollie. Another one. Let's go.
This is not a let's go.
Zay Flowers.
I mean, we've all called this. We both had this in the mock draft. He is kind of a weightier version of Zay Flowers. It's an ideal, perfect scheme fit for that fact. I think Casey Concepcion can fry people at the next level. And I don't love the situation he's walking into. With that offensive line, with that offensive line, with that quarterback situation, I like Shador more than people who memify and shit on Shador online.
Sure.
But I was really hoping Concepcion would go to a place with like a proven good quarterback because I thought he had a chance to be the offensive rookie of the year. He would just rip people apart.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would have been absolutely awesome for him to go to a place like that. Now, I will say he's going to get tons of run because they don't have other people. So he's going to get lots of opportunities in Cleveland. So if you're just looking for opportunities, sakes, I bet the betting odds still have him up. We'll have him up decently high. You know, it's interesting because they're going to know how to maximize them. Their top three receivers right now are Jerry Jeudy, Cedric Tillman, Isaiah Bond. I mean, there's no, like none of those guys are like locked in. I would say. I mean, if they could trade Jerry Jeudy for anything worth, they probably would. They might still now, but it's just a long term outlook at this position. Where are they going to go as a franchise? But I absolutely love Concepcion. I thought that they would be in on him. It's an interesting offense, right? Judkins, if he's healthy, Harold Fannon's here, Concepcion's here. It's unclear how it all comes together to me, but they're adding explosive talent, and I think you have to give a lot of credit for that. I question the Fanu pick quite a bit, but I think this pick is really. I mean, he's the best wide receiver left on the board to me. He was my number 2 wide receiver in the class. I will tell you exactly where I had him. I had him 9th overall for me, so he's probably, other than McCoy, who's hurt, the best player in the draft left on my board. And Malachi Lawrence was 10th, by the way. So just back-to-back great picks.
Back-to-back great picks. I had Concepcion 15th on the board. All through my report, I kept noting Zay Flowers, and I had in my report that I think the Browns will take him because he's so like Zay Flowers. It fits Greg Roman so well. The thing where it would be, is there any concern? We don't need to talk again about the drop rate. People can go listen to the evaluation part if they want to. We get deep into some of the drop rate stuff there. It would be more the free access release work, so much design stuff at Texas A&M. I guess we go into the Browns, the receiving core you just mentioned. We're building the whole plane out of Casey Concepcion. I'm happy with that.
That's a positive way to look at it, right?
Fast motion, lots of, now maybe the ball doesn't hit you in the hands. Okay, we'll deal with that. But you might be wide open all the time. And we didn't talk about a great amount when we did our evaluation on him. If you go back to NC State, he carried the ball 34 times on designed runs. And it's not just jet sweep nonsense. You can do, he is so electric. He roasts people. First stage of the route, quick, hezzy move, snap back. I think on that quick break stuff, and I don't want to be blasphemous towards you, and I have had a 10th of a beer. There's some Antonio Brown-like movement skills. I don't think he is a true vertical stretch, like, oh my lord, off the snap type player, but he creates chasms of separation because of the body control, the leaning, then the exploding. He can do the quick twitch and break on quick break stuff, can decelerate and flatten down the arc and rip out the break like nobody. Comebacks, deep break, digs, breaking into the middle of the field. And then the deep down the field stuff is purely he can tilt and weave whilst gathering speed that guys get off balance. They lose their leverage. They start panicking. They tie themselves up. And then when he flashes and does the nod and rips across their face, he flies. And it's like 7, 8, 9 yards of separation. And if you grade in the curve of who was the most open in college football with the worst quarterback playing college football, it's Casey Concepcion. I think he's going to be an absolute superstar. I don't love the fact that he's not going to catch passes from Arch Manning or whoever for another 18 months.
Yeah, that is a real big question. Now, if they get a quarterback in here, it could be pretty exciting in the near future. But it's sort of one of those hard things that we wish the player was going to a more competitive situation. Buffalo would have been awesome. That was my dream. I had that in my recent mock. I don't think you and I did Concepcion of the Browns yesterday, right?
Yeah,
we did, if I remember right. So this was the fear kind of for him, but I do think from their perspective, it's pretty smart. And I think they got a really, really good player. If you're Buffalo, you wonder, what did they miss out by not moving up for him? I think that's
Brandon Bean is out. He's going to do some nonsense coming up here. Where he takes Caden McDonald.
Yeah, we'll see. It doesn't. I think that you and I are going to be skeptical. Yeah.
Bears at 25. What do you think with the Bears at 25? Who's the highest graded guy left on your board? We should probably do that.
Yeah, that's a good call. Let's do that. Highest graded player left on my board. Oh, has Dylan Thieneman been drafted?
Dylan Thieneman's not being drafted. He's the 9th overall player on my
Wow,
board.
that hype was wrong, huh?
He's a great fit for the Bears, so I could certainly see it here. The other top guys on my board, CJ Allen would be next up. Chase Besantis is there. Chris Johnson is there. Barham's not going in the first round. Barham probably can go in the second round based on what I'm told.
The only tier 1, tier 2 player left on my board is Dylan Thieneman. Everybody else has been drafted other than Jermod McCoy, who's the injury. So Thieneman would be my pick here probably for them. I think the fit's great. I think he's a really good player. Really like him. Totally understand if you think there's more valuable in some other things. The next player on my board would be Omar Cooper Jr. I would like that for the Bears.
I would like that a lot for the Bears.
That'd be great. Jordan Tyson's gone. CJ Allen's probably 22 for me. Jacob Rodriguez, 23. Chris Johnson could be in consideration here.
Chris Johnson could be in consideration.
I had Malachi Lawrence going here in my mock. Could Keldrick Falk be in consideration, even though he's further down the board for me? 52 for me for Keldrick Falk. Caden McDonald's another one.
Come on, Raj.
Go. Good L at the podium. Waxing poetic. I don't even know what he's talking about. Dylan Thieneman. There it is. All the blue players off my board. The top 17 are gone in the first 25 picks for my board, I think, except for Jermon McCoy. Is that right? Let me check.
That's right.
Ioane, McCoy is the only one. Conception just went off the board. Lawrence just went off the board. Yeah. Except for McCoy, who obviously would be gone if not for injuries. So actually, Maui Noah and Mendoza would be top 19 on my board. So top 19 players for me went in the first 25 picks. Am I chalk? Chad, am I just a chalk analyst now? Or is the league ended up being closer to my always very outside the box analysis?
You're chalk in terms of the number of players, but within those tiers, your favorite players have been going off the board in the teens and the 20s.
Yeah. I mean, some of these guys were not, it was not a lock. The Casey Conception was even going in the first round, or Malachi Lawrence, and they both went in the first 24 picks. It wasn't a lock that Max Ionichor was going to go in the top 21 picks, and he went there. There was questions about where Kenyon Sadiq would go, I think. Yeah, I think it is somewhat justification for being high on those players. We'll see if they actually work out in the league. Obviously, that's the most important part. But who is the lowest ranked player that's been drafted so far? And I know we want to talk about Thieneman, who, by the way, is going full rock star here with this.
The lowest graded player I have that's been drafted so far would be Ty Simpson, but you have to factor in the quarterback value of it.
Right.
I know I had Caleb Banks as a tier 2 player. He went way earlier than people would have expected.
I had Caleb Banks on my board at 26, and that was just with some of the concerns. I still had him there. I had Mekhi Lemon 27.
Am I locked into the league here? What is happening? Proctor's higher than consensus. Lawrence is higher than consensus. Banks is higher than consensus.
40 for me with Proctor. Where was Proctor in consensus? He was pretty high for consensus.
Was he high up there?
I thought he was. I think he was just lower for me. Consensus. So you're spending too much time talking to me. That's the problem.
I don't track anything that happens with
the draft. I think he's pretty high on good. I'll check the mock draft database board that we've been going off.
We haven't had all the guys we were really low on.
That. Sorry.
We haven't had all the guys we were lower on throughout the process. Keldrick Falk, TJ Parker, Peter Wood, Zion Young, these guys who were consistently put somewhere from 19 to 25. Now, maybe they rattle through here at the end of the round, but I feel pretty validated that what we see and identify as what will work in the league with where the league is at just macro trend-wise, that those guys have not gone yet.
Yeah, really do feel validated about. We'll see how this thing finishes up. Dylan Thieneman to the Bears. You said you love this selection. What do you really like about it?
I love everything about Dylan Thieneman. Really savvy, switched on safety, crazy explosive. I think he tests a little quicker than he actually plays. Everything that I love about him is top down. Played as an auxiliary linebacker for Oregon in 3 safety sets. You go back to Purdue. He's playing deep middle of the field safety, post safety, split safety. The read and react time is absolutely off the scale. He just understands what's happening at all times. Incredible open field tackler, angle tackle, straight on tackles, just makes a ton of plays with range all over the field. I don't love him, and where I wasn't with the people who were pushing him up to 12 and 11, I think the off coverage stuff is pretty sloppy. gets tied up when he's on the half field too much for my liking. The up in press or latch and grab coverage in the slot can be pretty gnarly at times. I don't think he reacts to that stuff as well. He, to me, is more of a roll man, heat seeking missile. Use him in the blitz game, use him in the run fit. That is so pure Dennis Allen. It could not be a more seamless, cleaner fit. Oh, did we lose John? Uh-oh. Chat, I think we lost John, and they're asking questions about the Steelers. And I'm in the beer.
I think I just lost you for a second there, but you're back now.
I lost you too.
You said you were pure. He was pure Dennis Allen. That was the last I heard, and I was like, "Heck yeah!"
Yeah.
And then I didn't know what to say. But no, I mean, you're 100% right. And they also probably never thought they'd get him. We're talking about Emmanuel McNeil-Warren because Thieneman would be long gone. There was talk of would he be right outside the top 10, and then he goes all the way down to them. And just now it's he and Kobe Bryant together in Chicago, which I think is interesting. They've really gone a new direction with the safety room. Those guys were decent last year for sure. And here the Texans trade up and they take Keelan Rutledge. This is such a Texans pilled move. I love it. I don't know what they gave up. They probably shouldn't have traded up for a guard. I just want to be on the record. Process wise, we'll see what they gave up.
It's making me very happy that if the people listening to this live stream just listen to the pods throughout the draft season, you get away from the cycle of what do you say now to try and denigrate places you would work for if they offered you the money? Do you call it corporate media? What do you call it these days? I'm not sure. Where they got to churn out the content. We have been on these player to team fits and the guys who are going to go in this range. Keelan Rutledge is, I think, a good fit for the Texans. I really like Keelan Rutledge. He was my third overall interior lineman in the class. All kinds of power, all kinds of nastiness, gets after it in the run game. I think there are real fair question marks about what he can do in pass protection. Really wanted them to get a slick feet type lineman inside. I know they're trying to get the nasty streak. We've discussed many times the way Caserio does the draft board. It's guys who look like Keelan Rutledge. It's the team captains. It's the mature guys. It's the guys who have the wife and kids. That's why he values in round 1 and round 2, and particularly guys with that kind of like get after it, nasty, violent streak, which is what Keelan Rutledge has. He can really drive people off the ball. Where their offense is at right now, that they want to be more of an imposing downhill 12, 13 personnel type offense with heavy play action stuff. I still remain almost 14 months on from us first discussing this, more convinced that they'll be better as a shotgun spread point guard based offense. And I think that's part of the contention with Nico Collins of seeing where the way things are going beyond just the money. I think that's part of the concern with CJ Stroud, that I think their offensive coordinator and the offensive principles of the GM who worked with the offensive coordinator eons ago back at the Patriots is slightly out of step with what would best help the quarterback they're going to have to decide if they want to pay $220 million to in the next few months.
Yeah. They have a lot of questions. I think the offensive line being one of them, obviously, where they're at crossroads wise organizationally, Nico Collins, CJ Stroud, what's going to happen with those situations. I think you could debate a lot of different things. We talked about this too. They've sort of set themselves up for, if everybody takes a leap this year, other than offensive line, we're kind of going to be a better spot offensively, right? And especially the young receivers that they drafted in Jalen Nolan and Jaden Higgins last year. But they need those guys to take a leap. Nico Collins needs to stay healthy. That didn't happen this past season. He needs to stay happy. They need to figure out what they're going to do with him. CJ Stroud's contract, is he good? End of last year was really concerning, and we're huge CJ Stroud guys, but the end of last year was really concerning. The offensive lines remained a question. They've done a lot of work on the margins. It's not a lot of long-term pieces. I don't think you look at that group right now and say, they got a long-term piece. They think Keelan Rutledge is that long-term piece now. I would have gone Chase Bisontis there. And I thought that was the direction they would go. I thought he was maybe a little bit more Texan-y. Now, I think Keelan Rutledge is still very Texan-y, so I get it from that perspective for sure. I understand it. I am really curious to see what happens in pass protection with him. I thought at times in his college tape, how is this process working, like in pass protection? But it really was. Like, he gets stood up and there's some bent back to his game, but then he just locks down. And it's like, okay, is he just going to look ugly and he's going to win? Those guys tend to give up some stuff in the league. So I have some questions there. Having said that, this guy physically destroys the pocket because he can put people on the ground. And then in the run game, the stuff on the second level has my jaw on the floor.
Yeah.
He just crushes people.
The combo I use with him, both for the demeanor and then the style you're talking about, unorthodox in pass protection, was Richie Incognito. Just an absolute killer in the run game. Just mauling people, grip strength, both to establish position and just throw people out of the way, coming off the ball and just plastering people, driving them to the sideline, having all the chippy and nastiness throughout the rep. In pass pro, Incognito got by on that same stuff of like, he would get beat for pure speed. You put him up against Ndamukong Suh, it was lights out. Gerald McCoy, lights out. Like, he just couldn't handle those kind of players, but he would battle and fight through the rep against the best ones, and he would shut down and eliminate the good to average players in the league. So I think that's the kind of outlook for Keelan Rutledge. What I will say as well is, in pass pro, we talked about this in the evaluations pod, I'm not a huge fan of his setup and stance. I don't think it aids him in playing traditional pass pro football in the league. But it did, as you said, work for him, the unorthodox style.
Yeah.
And they are not a team that's going to change the setup. So it's at least a team where he's going to look like he did in college, and we'll just find out if it can work, right? It's a little bit like Jonas Sav in Miami. Will that just work? Will it not work? They're not going to try and overhaul his mechanics, and then he's feeling uncomfortable about how he's supposed to move and overthinking and overcomplicating the game. So to drop him in year one and just be the player you want him to be, which is create huge vertical push in the run game and just try and survive and battle through and stone people in pass protection, I think it makes sense. I agree with you that scheme-wise, I would have preferred Bisontis, but I understand why they went with Rutledge.
And now the Dolphins have moved up to the 27th pick, and they've selected Chris Johnson. So Chris Johnson does go off the board in the first round. There was some talk he might get into the late teens. I had him in the late teens in my mock, just kind of thinking that maybe the cornerback class was going to fall off. And is this the second corner?
Yes.
Because McCoy isn't gone. Hood isn't gone.
Nope.
Yeah, it's the second corner.
Mm-hmm.
So I had said to you, I think only 2, maybe 3 will go in the first round, and McCoy would be the third. Just depends on the health. But Johnson and Delane were going to be the 2 that went for sure. So the league seems to be in lockstep with us on the corner class so far, and just our evaluation of how we've seen it. We'll see if anybody else goes in these last 5 picks. What do you think about the potential fit with Chris Johnson and a corner going to the Dolphins, and what you think they're going to run this season with Jeff Hafley?
I find this fascinating, less so for the Hafley thing, and we can discuss that if we have time. But that speaks to me of, we wanted a corner that was like a premium priority for us, rather than just on the board, Chris Johnson's the best player available. And we've heard all about Green Bay. It's a massive source of need for them. So I get why they would have it built that way. And with the way the board is right now, and we don't know outside Jamont McCoy's injury status and whether your medical team will sign off on him or not, I get why Chris Johnson would be the next guy up. He would have been the next guy up for me if you weren't interested in the D'Angelo Pons outlier situation. Really smooth, excellent, I think, in both press man and off latch and grab and zone coverage. So you get an all-around type player. I don't think he's ever going to be a superstar, but a solid foundational starter type player. But it's interesting to me that they seem pretty wedded to whichever corner's there. We're just going to pick the best corner we want, rather than our timeline is skew. It's different. We're building for the long term. We'll just go best player available. Maybe they had Chris Johnson as the best player available, but that's not the read that I get in it.
I'm curious, because I don't want to criticize him too much. I like Chris Johnson a ton. I mean, just to give you an idea where he is on my board, he's 24th on my board, so that's totally fine. And the Patriots are selecting here now. I'm like,
traded up.
Out of whack. Did the Dolphins traded up? Did the Patriots? Patriots also traded up.
Yep.
Are they going to take a defensive lineman here? Caden McDonald here. Peter Woods sneaking in.
Don't do it to me.
Caleb Lomu. So there goes your 7th tackle in the first round, right? 7? Yeah, 7 in the first round. People are not wrong.
Welcome to center, Will Campbell.
Oh, no. Oh, No,
If
Ollie.
there's anything we can
Lumu's arm's not that long either, but
if there's anything we can take away from whatever is going on with Mike Vrabel, that means he can't be at the draft on the third day to actually run the organization that he's the leader of. When he told us that Will Campbell is sticking at left tackle and you got to believe him, I'm not so sure we got to believe what Mike Vrabel says no more. So I think drafting Caleb Lomu tells me there's a real chance that they could move Will Campbell.
Zachary, I'm opening up the chat again just to take a peek for a second after that pick. Zachary says, wow, the Steelers were on the phone with Lemon when Philly picked him. I don't know if that's real or not, but that's pretty interesting.
Wow. Could they
One
move
smart
back in for Cooper?
They
They
could move
should
back
do.
in.
They
They
should
have
do.
that. That would be a.
They got
I mean,
the three third rounders.
yeah,
They should definitely
right.
move back in for Cooper.
And 2/4 too. Where are they at in the second? Let's look at that real quick. I want you to talk about Caleb Lomu too, but I thought with Caleb Lomu, you and I said this about him, maybe the worst. They're at 53, by the way, the Steelers, and so it'd be a ways to come back up to get in the first round. They'd have to give up quite a bit. Maybe the first player, or maybe the only player in the class we said this about, probably not the only one we said it about, but I remember it was like leading our conversation was that, is this guy the worst offense for him in college football?
Yes.
Or like not a good at offense, because he strikes me as smooth, balanced, pass protector, going to win with finesse, not going to physically overwhelm you, make him the best technician you possibly can. The feet are pretty smooth. I don't think they're unbelievably explosive, but that's not going to be the biggest issue for him. The base stuff, I think you can work with everything there. What happens up top? How fast do the neurons fire up top in terms of the pass game? How many different things are you seeing? How do you handle your 1v1 exchanges, your strike timing? How nuanced are you with your hand usage to get guys off balance without being able to physically dominate people and overwhelm them? His game is just different than other people in the class. You questioned some if he was up for the fight. I thought he was up for the fight, but just isn't going to be a dog. Like, he's not your tone setter. He's not your smash people into the ground or whatever. But I think there's real upside for him as a pass protector, just needs to be developed. And in his college system, it was like smash people, run the ball, hardly any true pass sets. And it was just kind of like, this is ill-fitting for this player.
I thought so too. And I think with McDaniels, where they do play with a lot of that heavy personnel, they want to run the ball, but really at heart, he's a spread tempo, vertical shot type player. And so getting a guy who's big and smooth, I agree with you. I don't think Caleb Lomo is very sudden, but he's got really comfortable change of direction skills. He's got a beautiful base. Like, he just looks like a passing camp, get out of your stance. Like, what does it look like on the practice field? It's all picture perfect. It's really beautiful the way he can move. Excellent change of direction skills. My two big reservations are, yeah, is he up for the fight? I don't see tenacity or aggressiveness in his game. And I'm not talking about they're double and climbing, or it's a front side combo. Can he just smash someone at the point of attack, then peel off and go get it? Because that's a big portion of their offense, as you mentioned. I'm not questioning that. It's the general tameness and timidity in how he operates. And can you unlock that in a player? That would be my question. Even when he has some real great technical, true technician stuff. Okay, I'm going to go and grab the offhand. I'm just going to throw the hand out there, grab the offhand, rip it down, throw off the temp of the pass rusher. When he does it, it's just kind of fluttered out there. Snatch traps. It's just kind of.
There's not a lot of sudden violence to his game.
Exactly. And I think particularly in the run game, it shows up. And that's what we said in the evals, is because that's how I view his game. And that's 80% of the offense. You see it a lot over and over again. Can he play keep away and pass protection and balance and have the base to match with anyone? I do think that's where he'd be at his best. I think in a vertical based offense, if he went to somewhere like the Panthers, really spread out, or in drop back situations over and over again, I think he can play keep away football. And maybe has a couple of bad L's here or there because he's not quite violent enough to handle Will Anderson or Myles Garrett flying in. That's fine. There's way worse tackles than that in the league. And so if the Patriots want to become more spread out based, they're about to trade for AJ Brown. We'll see if they move on Kayshon Boutte or not. If they want to move in that direction, and we've said this now for many years, if you're facing these two to rotate and these mugged up and attack-based systems, you got a couple of options. Two of the three options are empty and tempo, speed. We're not going to allow them to set. We're not going to allow them to communicate. If they can't communicate, they can't get to all the fun exotic stuff. If you get to empty, they can't rotate. And if they're blitzing, they tell us exactly what they're doing before the snap. And we can just boom, boom, boom down the field. I do wonder that, do they want to be a little bit more spread? Will Campbell light, finesse, springy type pass
Mm.
protector. Caleb Lomu, not quite as springy, but balanced and smooth and just keeps things in front of him. That speaks to me of we're getting back to tempo and empty. I know that that's not how Mike Vrabel, if he's the head coach, wants to necessarily play football, but McDaniels has that deep in the background. And you look at the receiver room as it's going to be with AJ Brown. I kind of like the idea to kind of hide some of the vulnerabilities their offensive line, put it on Drake May's shoulders. Say, we are a heavy, empty team. We are playing point guard football. Drake can drive it down the field. He can take off in the run game. And then when we want to get tight and condensed, we'll do it and we'll bring tight ends in. And tight ends will help out Lomu, and Will Campbell can get after it in the run game.
Hey, all the things we talk about on this pod, never wrong, just a little early. And we'll see. We're wrong plenty. That was a real report, by the way. Matt Laskowski says that Rap reported it. The Steelers thought they had Lemon, and Philly
Wow.
traded up and jumped them for Lemon, so they thought it was a done deal. I prefer Ionachur for them, and I think there's a real path that Lemon's a better, more impactful player right away. There goes Peter Woods to the Chiefs. He sneaks into round one. So we're gonna have to find who reported that. Only defensive tackle with a chance to go in round one was Cade McDonald. And you and I said, what? Like Cade McDonald? We're gonna do the Tyreek Williams thing again. And Cade McDonald, solid player, but the role is just what it is. Like, we don't need to pretend like it's more than what it is. Peter Woods is a player I would not have had in this range. So to me, this is one of the big reaches of the draft. I think one of the most fundamentally misunderstood players in the class, Ollie. He is talked about like he is an upfield penetrating, explosive Kalijah Cansey, peak Aaron Donald would be the peak, mold. Kalijah Cansey, Milton Williams, like he's these types of players. Side to side wiggle, pass rush ability. What are you laughing at?
I'm watching the NFL Network cut up where they put the
Is it the
phrases.
LSU guy?
They're putting the phrases of what DJ, and I love DJ and he's an excellent evaluator, but putting what he says the strengths of the player are to the film, and the things DJ's saying about Peter Woods in his eval does not track with the film they then show about Peter Woods.
Yeah, I think he's just totally fundamentally misunderstood. I think he's seen as this penetrating side-to-side pass rush guy, got wiggle, undersized defensive tackle, has wiggle and juice, can beat guys on their edge, and none of that's true when you put on the tape. So you totally have to reinvent the way you think about him. He's not the player he's talked about being. Is he still a useful player? This is the process I went through with him. As he's not the player at all that people want him to be. He can't rush the quarterback really at all, and the numbers reflect that. He's not been a good pass rusher. Even when he has one-on-V1s, he should absolutely dominate. He doesn't do that. He can't get to the side on people. I think he's really tight. He struggles to drop the pads and dip and bend around people. Just not the player he's advertised to be. Who is he then? I think he's a pretty decent, hold the point, fall back into two gaps. I think he can do that kind of stuff, slide off the side of blocks, but he's a hold the point first guy. He's not a gap shooter. I don't think he's that type of player. I think he has pretty good strength and leverage in the run game. He needs better awareness for blocks. And I think he needs to take guys on better sometimes. Like, he gets confused. He gets reached. I think it was the Texas game. I'm trying to remember now off the top of my head. I haven't looked at my notes at all while I've been doing this. But, like I think one of the games he gets scooped a bunch. He's not recognizing things fast enough. He's playing too slow. So what's the upside with this player? Just not what people think it is, in my opinion. Can he be a helpful part of a rotation? I think he could. And I think he could even be like an average pass rusher, but is just not going to come in the way that people kind of envision him being. It didn't happen that way at any point in his college career, not in 2024 either. The idea that he was this player once upon a time,
I was just going to say that the idea that the 2024 drop off been that it's the same player. The production was just better. It's the same profile of play. It's not like he was some amazing gap shooting player, twist speed off the ball in 2024 that declined in 2025. He's the same play you just described in both seasons.
Yeah, exactly right. And so I just don't think that it's the player that people think that he is. So it's going to, and the Jets just traded up and got Omar Cooper. So they did what the Steelers should have done. So the Jets come away with David Bailey, not the player we would have envisioned, but a good player. Kenyon Sadiq, not the player we would have envisioned, but a good player. And Omar Cooper, who is the player we thought they would take in the teens. I had him mocked there. So I'm going to count this as a win for myself in the first round. Thanks. I had them taking him in the teens.
They have all kinds of juice.
They do.
That is them looking at their roster going, we are slow. And we talked about that in free agency, that we looked at their free agent haul and said, why are they getting so slow with their free agent additions. They were not a quick team to begin with. They keep adding these like savvy veterans who get by on understanding of the system and tenacity. They don't have NFL speed on their roster. They do now. At least at 3 positions, they got all kinds
On
of get off with
offense,
David
on
Bailey.
defense, they're ancient, but yes, on
Hey,
well, now they have
David
Bailey.
Bailey. All kinds of get off with David Bailey. It's one player. McDonald's got get off and juice. Yeah, there's other concerns with his game, but he's got get off and juice. I love Omar Cooper to the Jets, and I think that
Yep.
I don't love the Kenyon Sadiq fit with Frank Reich. I feel more comfortable that the 1, 2, 3 in the progression goes Wilson, Cooper, Sadiq. That's kind of exciting.
I feel better about the Sadiq thing now that they have Cooper.
Yeah, me too.
Because Sadiq's gonna actually get to play tight end in their offense, I think. And that gives me a lot of hope. I'm a little intrigued. So it's not always the players I thought they should take at the positions I thought they should take. And I do criticize them a little bit for that. But at the end of the day, the Jets have 3 first-round picks, and they came away with 3 players in my top 20 in this class. Omar Cooper's my 20th player in the class.
The Titans have traded back in.
And who could this be for? Who's the top player on the consensus board still falling? McCoy would be one possibility here, right? If you're just trying to get him. Other players fall. I mean, Keldrick Falk, if you feel like that's a fall, he's in danger of not going to the first here.
He would fit for Salah as an interior guy.
Interior guy. That would be a really interesting part of the fit, I think.
He would fit what he would like.
And there's a lot of talk this week, if you talk to these guys, that Lance, Zierlein, and some of these guys are like, he's just starting to bulk up. He's going to bulk up more. I'm like, he's just going to be a D tackle, isn't he?
Mm-hmm.
And they start to pull out the Armstead comps more than ever before. And I'm like, hold on a second. Are we just like, is he just, I mean, he was 270 some pounds. And now you're telling me he's going to be a D tackle full time for you. And he can actually carry that weight. Like,
I'm interested. All these trades have happened, and we've not heard from the Jags. We're not following along on social media if anyone said they tried to get there, but they were really eager to get into this range. The guys they wanted have not gone. Maybe they feel comfortable with it as the board's gone the way it's gone.
I want to just say this before the Titans pick comes in here, but unbelievable showing by all the subscribers today. I mean, we have 400 some people in the like watching the show right now on Substack. There's obviously a million places you could be watching right now. The fact that you're watching with us is just awesome to us. Sorry, we cannot engage too much with the chat in this just because we're trying to stay focused so much on the analysis. We will make it up to you with answering questions and all that kind of stuff in future shows. Have no concern about that at all. But y'all have been unbelievable. Continue to share this stuff. We're going live tomorrow, baby. So just get ready. We're gonna be going live again. We're having too much fun. And so Ollie hasn't even got drunk yet. Like,
no, it's not even through a beer. This is so fast. I knew the 8 minutes would go so quickly. Tomorrow I just got to start from the second the clock begins. We got 2 rounds.
It's really picked up. We were on pace for midnight, and it's really picked up. Like the teens, it started going crazy. And the Titan selection is in, but you guys have just been unbelievable, and the engagement, the chat, and everything. I hope this is analysis that you guys enjoy, and we'll be back tomorrow. But check out both of our Substacks too, the Read Optional and Audibles and Analytics, and we podcast like this all the time. So if you're here listening for free, you can subscribe for just a couple bucks to both of our podcasts and get this kind of analysis year round. All of our scouting reports, super in depth, all of our super in depth scouting report podcasts that we do tons of that stuff, and you can go through and pretty much find any player that certainly it's been selected today and throughout probably tomorrow too, and find our evaluations of those players on our website. So go check all that stuff out if you guys are into this type of content. There goes Keldrick Falk to the Titans, and as you said, Ollie, a fit for Robert Saleh as an interior guy, and that could be the type of future that they're envisioning for him as perhaps moving. I think he's going to see this and think, did I just get Arik Armstead? Now, I think there's some very important comparisons here, but just in terms of, I don't know that they're the same body type right now. The selling point for Keldrick Falk all along has been he can become that player. He can become that body type. And I think that's something that's going to be fascinating to track. We do not see that happen very often with players where they suddenly just get way bigger and change their body type and their position in the league. But I would assume that is how they see him.
And I think change the mentality too. The Keldrick Falk, the thing that frustrated me with him, beyond just some of the physical stuff that he's late off the ball at times, does he have real sizzle off the edge? When I watched him as an edge defender, he is really keen to play the finesse game. right? To string moves together, to use his hands, to try and play up and around the arc. He has to just be a through your face every single time guy, and then use that length to get some forward lean from the protector and start using the length to be able to swipe away early. He's got a good heavy club or to do some of the push pull work and just play in that box over and over again, snap after snap, bang it away against the run. He does have, I think, this inside outside flexibility in a way the guys usually talked about like that don't really fit the moniker, because I think his best stuff is as a heavy end in base fronts outside the tackle. That's kind of the A plus skill that he has. Then can you unlock some of the pass rush stuff inside? But it's going to require, to me, do you want to run through someone's face over and over and over again? Keelan Rutledge stood up on the other side of the field. You got to go through that guy 40 times over and over again. That to me is a bit of the concern. I think he plays a really crafty finesse game, and some of it's really sweet. Some of it is really, really nice. It's nowhere near NFL speed for the way he wants to play out on the edge. I would imagine for that team, for that staff, they will view it exactly as you said with Buckner and Armstead of you're outside early on, we move you inside, we put a sub rusher off the end. On passing downs, we get some real juice behind you, and you are just long and strong inside.
Yeah, I think that's the hope and the dream. I see it honestly having a path of working out, and I'm kind of excited to see him with Saleh. I want to see what the body type becomes. Eric Armstead was 292 pounds and may have even played heavier than that, but that's what he was when he came out. And it's going to be the comp that gets thrown around a lot. It was the comp that gets thrown around a lot leading up throughout this week, and maybe even during the pre-draft process. We don't really pay attention until the last 2 weeks, but I would say that it's just not where it was with Eric Armstead. Now, I also was lower on Eric Armstead, so perhaps he can just be that type of a player. I think that the hand usage stuff is very interesting with Keldrick Falk. When he had played his best, he could slip on the side of blocks as a pass rusher. He slip on the side of blocks, and he was a side-to-side rusher that got it punch and slip, punch and slip. Everything was punch and slip. The Oklahoma game, his best game probably in college, punch and slip everywhere. By far, right? And that was his game. That's how he played. And I think that's hard to live that way in the league, I would say, all the time. But without the juice off the snap, I wonder how he becomes that player. And that's what I think he needs more of. Can he get that in his game? If he gets heavier, is he going to get that? I have real questions about
The
that.
thing that gives me some encouragement is you mentioned the hands. He has really quick hands for someone that long.
He does have really quick hands.
It's just that the get off is slow. And I think he's got real torque in the hands too. Like he can really pop people, and it's on like a slash and like throw them away. So if you move that inside, I had all through my report, his best work is in a 4-point sprinter stance inside. And it's about 45 to 50 reps for Auburn. But that is by far the best timing up, naturally deflates his leverage. And it's all, I can reach you before you can reach me. And my hands are really quick and they're going to shock you. You're not expecting me to be that quick with my hands. That to me just works way better inside. And then I do like some of the run defense stuff. I'm not as high on it as other people who just think he's a complete killer in the run game. I think if the league thought he was a complete killer in the run game with some potential inside, he'd have been a top 10 pick in this draft or top 15 pick.
What would you say if he did what? He would be in top 15 pick?
If he was truly the killer that some people think he is in the run game.
Yeah.
I think he's blind too often. I think he gets pinned all the time. I think he's not got great block awareness. And he's got the physical profile and the length to keep guys off his frame to stack and shed and be comfortable doing that. Just as an end player, sending a heavy end, keeps the outside arm free, reads it really well. It's when things start coming into his vision from outside, when it's not locked in one-on-one, where I have some concerns. But I do think as an upfield rusher playing inside, that's where I predict him as best. And I think this is the ideal spot to try and find that player. That is what they will do over and over again. 4 down and go, 4 down and go. First down against a heavy set, Keldrick outside, late downs, tee off and go, and just battle and fight.
Mykel Williams, but I think Falk showed more pass rush potential in college than Mykel Williams. Now, was it working with Mykel Williams? No, I don't think so. We'll see. But then he got hurt. So, it's obviously too early to say. I think that's the vision, though, of what they're going to try and do now in Tennessee. And I think Falk is better positioned to do that at a high level than Williams was. So I'm more optimistic his landing spot was going to matter to me. I feel a little more optimistic than where he is on my board, which is like 51st, I think, 52nd. So, But I think this could be a good role for him. The question is just what will he be as a full-time player, I think has always been the
Yep.
question. Will he be able to be effective all 3 downs, or does he turn into a bit role player? But the floor I think is still like not I don't think his floor is like so low, especially because the character stuff gets rave reviews. Seattle is stuck and picked at 32. I freaking knew this was gonna happen, Ollie. John Schneider gets up there, he's like, yeah, we're for sure
Taking
wanting to
Jamal
trade that.
McCoy.
Yeah, that would actually be helpful for me because I have him in the first round. Would be nice to see. This is the last pick of the first round, by the way. Here,
This flew by. You mentioned before how
Flew
great the subscribers would be, and I agree. I feel like we haven't even had time to analyze all the picks. I forgot until you mentioned it. We were doing a live broadcast, and we weren't just on FaceTime together. So I'm glad you reminded me.
just doing the pod like we normally do. Here goes the Seahawks pick.
This guy's electric.
He looks electric. I can't hear him because
When Goodell is doing a belly laugh, you know it's
oh no, he's
electric.
just yelling to the fans. Okay, sorry. Goodell's cracking up. I'm hesitant to like because I can't hear anything. I don't want to make fun of any of the people that are announcing picks.
That's
Kadarian Price.
No.
What? Oh,
we
that's
should have Lance. I don't know if he's ever been wrong about a Seahawks pick. We should have known.
Did he have it in his mock?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
This is probably the roughest pick in the first round, but
to me, it
they did
is
need a
by
running back.
a good distance. They needed one, and if you're looking for Kenneth Walker in this draft as a Kenneth Walker replacement, and you have no shot at Jeremiah Love, this is the way to do it, right? Burst, speed, big play, home run potential, little inconsistent. I think he's way better on a straight line flying downhill than he is reading and pressing the hole as a zone scheme runner. That's a
They
little
don't
bit
really
Kenneth
care
Walker
about the
too.
back in the pass game, do they? We found that out.
No, they'll sub him off. They don't care.
Yeah.
So I understand why for the thing that the most devastating thing they lost in the offseason was Kenneth Walker. So replacing that one-to-one, I understand. But with what's available on the board, I just think that's a bit of a reach when you could have gone and found running back on day 2.
Maybe not. This class is tough. It's just you can't reach for running back. I get that. I get it. You need one, but you can't reach for running back. It's just bad business, man. At least trade down. At least trade down. I mean, he is the second best back in the class, and it is a bad class. And I watched some of these guys even after we potted Ollie, and Kalen Black ended up as my third running back in the class. I don't know if you saw that.
No,
I actually think he's a little juicier than some other people do, but that's tough. I love John Schneider. But this feels like a harken back to the dark days.
the dark days.
It's like peak Rashad Penny in the first because the backs are going and you need
Even
one.
just resource wise, they
We
lost.
thought it was always Pete, and it was Pete, but it was also John.
Yeah, they lost Reek Woolen, who played as many snaps as any other corner on their roster. I'm not a Reek Woolen fan, but he played a whole bunch of football for them last season. And you could have just said with the 32 pick, either Jamal McCoy, okay, we're not comfortable with the medical, I accept that. But you could have gone with Colton Hood. You could have gone with D'Angelo Pons. I know you're not a huge Colton Hood guy. I'm not either. He's a tier 3 play for me. But use of resources and assets, I'd rather have taken the swing on Colton Hood for what they need than take a swing on Jadarian Price, who I've graded out as a better player than Colton Hood. But I just think use of resources, I would have gone with Hood there.
Yeah, I mean, all the things you said about Jadarian Price are true. He's not a bad player, but I find him eminently replaceable in terms of his skill set. And the fact that what he can give you in the passing game is an unknown, I would say. And the fact they probably won't even try it. It's not like they're like, we're taking him because we just think he's going to be awesome in the pass game and we can figure that out. They're not even going to probably get that out of him as a player. It's like, okay, well, what's the real impact here? Like, how big is the impact?
I guess looking at the board, if it was going to be corner, there's a lot of corners coming up tomorrow. A lot of corners with real talent. Compared to the
corners went off the board in the first round, Ollie.
How many was it in the end? I'm spinning. Is it 3, 2? It's 2?
2 corners in the first round.
I think I would have bet on that.
I told you it was going to be 2 or 3. It was McCoy was the question mark. He's one of the few I had him in the first round. He didn't go in the first round. I had Denzel Boston the first in my mock. He didn't go in the first. Chase Basantis didn't go in the first. R. Mason Thomas didn't go in the
A
first.
tough beat for the Traden Stukes fan club. Those guys had him up to like the 20th overall pick coming into today.
Oh, I did not have him in the first round of my
I
mock.
thought that all the NFL GMs had said they liked Traden Stukes more than Caleb Downs. Weird that he didn't go in the first round.
I loved him so much. Well,
So
Caleb Downs almost didn't go in the first round. I'm just kidding. I think is that really the only players I missed? Is it just 4? Did I have 28 of 32
wow,
in the first? In my mock?
that's pretty
Just didn't
good.
have all the picks right, but yeah. Going through it, R. Mason Thomas, Chase Basantis, Keelan Rutledge, Denzel Boston, and Jermon McCoy because of the injury.
You had Denzel in there. You bought the late hype.
Yeah, Chiefs. I mean, it's been early hype, right? Denzel Boston's been like in the first round for.
But there was late breaking stuff. There's like, oh, the Rams are so interested. It's like, okay.
I had him with the Chiefs at 29. I think I just want a big bodied receiver for the Chiefs, and it's just not going to happen. They just don't care.
They just don't care. Come back and get Elijah Surratt tomorrow. Mahomes and Surratt.
So the Raiders got to do that. We talked about that one. Typically, at the top of the second round, wide receivers go start flying off the board.
Yes.
And
corners.
And corners. McCoy's going to go. Hood's going to go. Let's talk about, before we wrap up here, who are the best players on your board that are still left? And while you're thinking about that, I'm going to tweet out that we are kind of just going over the first round here real quick.
Okay, best plays on my board still left. I'm just going to go through position and look through the tiers. Chris Bell, obviously you got the injury flag and the injury designation there. Still a huge fan of Elijah Surratt. He'll go. I think he's going to go in the second round. Late tomorrow, could be early third round. All the tackles have gone. There's only one tight end in my top 2 tiers. Kenyon Sadiq went higher than I anticipated. Interior lineman, Basantis didn't go, right? Am I blanking?
He did not go, right?
So Basantis still there, but Maui Noah and Rutledge went. Kristen Miller, just a personal favorite of mine. I think he's the most technical run defender in the class. I think there's a little bit more pass rush source there than he's possibly given credit for. Totally understand why Caleb Banks would be the first one to go. The explosive upside, has a chance to be a difference-making player on third downs. In the edge class, everyone in my top 2 tiers went except for Jay-Sean Barham. I knew Jay-Sean Barham wasn't going today. Jay-Sean Barham might not go till one of the final picks tomorrow, but I still believe in Barham. CJ Allen has not gone yet. Vikings, Jags, really interested. Are they going to do that in the second round rather than the first? D'Angelo Pons, one of our favorites in corner. I think he'll be off the board really early tomorrow. These teams have a thing in their head that size profile can't go in round 1, but 4 picks later, when you call it round 2, all of a sudden the size isn't so much a consideration. I think Pons will be off the board early tomorrow. And I think safety room is going to happen. McNeil Warren will obviously be one of the first 4 or 5 picks tomorrow. I think AJ Horsey there too, Keontae Scott, Traden Stukes. I think there'll be a big safety run to open tomorrow.
Top players left on my board. First 21 players on my board all came off the board in the first round, except for Jermon McCoy. So he goes without saying, just depends on the injury, obviously. CJ Allen with the 22nd on my board, and Jacob Rodriguez at 23. Those are 2 that I expect to go. I think the linebackers will pick up also in round 2, and I would expect those 2 and maybe Josiah Trotter to go in round 2. Cassius Howell for me is high. I know there's some stuff just with this history for him, and the teams are going to have to be comfortable with the person. And so, that could be a day 2 at some point. Hard to predict when exactly when it'll go down with him and his draft selection. Caleb Banks, you said, is gone. Mekhi Lemon is gone, so he's next on my board. Pons, as you mentioned, another good shout. He's a player that's one of the top for me that I think is going to go in the first 15 picks of the second round. Won't surprise me. So he's a consideration there. McNeil Warren, as you said, you mentioned Chase Basantis as well. Kieron Crawford and R. Mason Thomas are 2 that I'm very curious to see where they go. 32 and 33 on my board. I really like both of them. See what the upside and the potential is there. And then I'm fascinated to see what happens at wide receiver. How many do we have in the first round? We had Concepcion, Lemon, Tyson, Tate,
Cooper.
and Cooper. Is that just 5? I think 5 in the first round, right?
Just 5, yeah. So we
And
got
those
coming
were
up tomorrow. We got Chris Bell tomorrow, Denzel Boston tomorrow, Brazel if people are
and
cool
we
with
have some of the players who we could look back at this class and say, wow, Chris Bell, Chris Brazel. I think Boston to a lesser extent, probably, but there's guys that have like crazy upside at this position that I think Dazon Stribling is probably going to be a second round pick. I think
Yeah.
he's got significant upside to be a playmaking type of player in this class. And then there's Elijah Surratt, who we just love.
We love Elijah Surratt and Ted Hurst. Ted Hurst could go in the 3rd round, late in the
Yeah.
3rd round. Someone takes a
That guy
flyer
moves crazy.
differently. I said this to Greg Rosenthal in NFL Daily. He moves like Julio Jones. He's not nowhere near the player
Yeah,
Julio
right.
Jones was, but just the movement at that size, so jacked up, and just it's a full sprinter run, which most pro receivers don't run in a full like sprinter stance and sprinter gait. That's how Ted Hurst runs. Someone's going to take a flyer probably in the late 3rd round because these guys are going to fly off the board early.
Yeah, I think there's a real chance that happens. But there's plenty of good players left on the board. Plenty of players that are really like really funny though to see so many of my top players really come off the board in that first round. Don't really have anybody that I'm like,
I know.
like I knew exactly what's happened with McCoy, and everybody else is pretty much exactly what I would have anticipated. So not necessarily a lot of surprises for me. Round 2 always starts to surprise me. It's just usually goes this way though. I think round 1 I'm always like, man, I'm in lockstep with the league, and then round 2 I'm like, what are they doing? They just took Ryan Anderson in the 2nd round. What is going on? And so, yeah, I'm very curious to see how round 2 goes. The pass rushers, a lot of movement there. Wide receivers, a lot of movement there. Corners, there's still some linebackers. I mean, it was so offensive line heavy in that first round. We had Rutledge, we had Ioane, we had the 7 tackles. That's 9, right?
Yep.
Anybody forgetting? I think it was those 9, right? I don't think
9,
those centers and none of the other Pregnon and Basantis didn't go in the first round. So those 9, I think, in the first.
Everybody in my top 2 tiers outside of Basantis went in the 1st round.
Okay. And McCoy.
Yeah. Just to the lineman, I mean, that plus.
Of the lineman. Oh,
yeah,
sorry.
Of the lineman. Then Caleb Lomu went in as well. So
yep.
It's been cleaned out. So there's not going to be a whole dose of them tomorrow. I only have
a couple guards, and we'll see who reaches. Yeah. Who's the next tackle to come off the board?
I have Caleb Tiernan, but I got a feeling it could be either Jude Bowery, Markel Bell, or Austin Barber.
Jude Bowery, so intriguing to me. So intriguing. Man, I don't even know. I have Austin Barber, Jude Bowery, and Markel Bell as my next guys, all in tier 4. It's just a massive drop off. The consensus board at a big drop off. I have Caleb Tiernan even lower than you do. Some people like Travis Burke. He probably has the best chance to go just based on what people are saying in the next 32 picks.
Yeah, Diego Pounds, maybe just for the size. I don't see the play the way others do, but the way the league thinks, the size and the movement. We're in that range of those guys now where someone's 14th guy is going to be someone's 9th guy.
Yeah. And I know we're nerding out a ton here, but I am just fascinated to see what happens with the centers. I can't wait to see it. It might not be till round 3, but I like Sam Hecht a lot. I think he's awesome, and I want to see what happens with all 4 of them. What order they go in. I think there's just a lot. Everybody has a different order that's out there. That doesn't happen very often, so there's just tons of fascination.
Can you let the books community know to stop messaging me, thanking me for Ruben Bain? I had nothing to do with that.
Shit, are they doing that? That's wild. Yeah, that is crazy, dog. Bugs, I didn't even think about that. Absolute savages. Sometimes you got to get your laughs out at the end of the show. Connor asks, will we be able to watch this back when the live ends? Yes, Connor, we will be. It usually takes a little while to upload, right? I think, or
yeah, in the next 20-25 minutes, it'll be up as a video you can watch, and if you're listen to the podcast, it'll load up immediately as a podcast you can listen to.
Yeah. So you could check that out. Obviously, Connor and anybody can watch that back too if they want and get our thoughts on each pick. We'll have wrap-up thoughts, and we'll do like wrap-up pods and stuff more, but this is going to kind of serve as our pods because I got to do some Buck Steelers stuff. Always got to do some writing and eventually get some sleep, I think. So, but as always, y'all are amazing for joining us, and everybody that's jumped in here. If you jumped in tonight and you're like, man, who are these guys? Who the heck are they? What do they do? We podcast in this level of depth about the class throughout the entire last 4 or 5 months, basically. And we talk really detailed podcasts on all these prospects, watch a ton of tape, talk through the details of their game, what scheme fits are best, all of that kind of stuff in the league. So if you're interested in that kind of analysis, if you're interested in the X's and O's, the scheme fits, player evaluations, coaches that like certain types of players, and the game within the game type of stuff, that's really what we do. And we do it year round. We do it in the NFL season, and then we pivot and we cover the off season. We have the trade podcasts that we do. We do extensive free agency podcasts. We went live during free agency, then covered fits and all those details. It requires a ton of tape and a ton of numbers work to do the kind of stuff that we do. So we just hugely appreciate the people who support us in doing this stuff, and are here really for quality content. And Nathan says the dunked on of the NFL, without a doubt. You don't know how high of a compliment that is, Nathan McClellan. I appreciate you, my friend. That is a massive compliment, because those guys do an unbelievable job covering the NBA, and that is kind of the dream with this. And so that's the kind of content that we do, and so we super appreciate everybody tuning in. But if you want to subscribe, doesn't cost much to subscribe to either of our Substack and support us on the monthly basis or on a yearly basis. I know for mine, it's like $4.17 a month. Basically, it averages out to if you do the monthly rate. So check those things out. Check out the Read Optional Substack and get access to all of Ollie's scouting reports, detailed film breakdowns, and all this kind of stuff on the players. He's got clips in his scouting reports, all this stuff. You can see our boards. You can see how we stack up the positional groups. I'm going to update mine tonight and cross off those that are out so people can kind of see on one glance who's left. You can get access to all of that stuff. And if you're Steeler or Bucks fans tuning in, I cover both those teams as well and do podcasts with Josh Capo on the Bucks and with Derek Bell on the Steelers, probably around once a week too, in the non-summer months. So you can check out all of that content and get access to all of it. Everything comes with just one rate. That's how we roll. So pay one rate, get access to everything that we do in one fell swoop. I think it's a pretty good deal, and appreciate you, Courtney and Zachary, and all the kind comments on the show. You guys are truly the best. This is a blast, and I can't wait to do it again tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to be even better.
Tomorrow is going to be even better. I don't have to write tomorrow, and I do want to give great analysis. We've done such amazing work, I think, during this draft season, but I don't have work on the Sunday, on the Saturday even. So tomorrow might be the day goes down. Same time. Let's do it.
Yeah, Adam says the media is murdering the Steelers on the Steelers pick. I think they just can't say his name. Steelers media, they can't say Maxi Honachor. Like you got to be gentle with Steelers media. This is all new for them. Pronunciations, and they didn't expect a player to be drafted, and he gets drafted. Oh, it throws them off to such a great degree. Don't worry, we'll help them, guys. We'll help them. We'll get them educated. Don't worry. All right, guys, appreciate the heck out of y'all. Y'all are amazing. We'll be back tomorrow night, probably about a half hour before round 2 begins, to start breaking things down for you and set the stage. And maybe we'll get a chance to go over some of these trades, though. Until then, that happened today, at least. Until then, appreciate y'all. Thanks so much for listening to a live draft show in round 1 of the Read Optional podcast.